On March 7, 3058, of the Blue Star calendar, Blue Star was no longer the vibrant planet it once was. Instead, it was a desolate wasteland, engulfed in flames of war. A massive shadow loomed from outer space, descending upon Blue Star. It was an endless tide of beasts. Survivors, this is the Blue Star Terminal Channel, broadcasting for the last time. It is with deep regret that we announce Blue Star's forces have been utterly annihilated in the Celestial Domain War. Not a single warrior survived. Blue Star will become a stronghold of the beasts, forever erased from the universe. But for the sake of Blue Star's civilization, do not lose hope. If there are any living souls left, remember this dawn will come. Outer Universe. Lin Yu opened his eyes, greeted by a hellish scene before him. Broken limbs and corpses littered the ground, spaceship debris strewn everywhere, and the horrifying sight of giant beasts feasting on the living. He wanted to save them, but he was powerless. His heart had been pierced through, leaving behind only a trace of his lingering divine consciousness. Blue Star had truly perished. Suddenly, a tender voice echoed in his ears. "Old Lin, wake up. Wang Peng is coming after you." Lin Yu snapped his eyes open, gasping for breath. The alien battlefield vanished, replaced by a vast martial training ground. He had been reborn. It was now the year 3001 of the Blue Star calendar, 1 month before the martial exams. His identity? A high school student at Zhonghai No. 2 High School. Today was the student combat test, and his opponent was none other than the school's arrogant troublemaker, Wang Peng. Why is Lin Yu just standing there? Is he scared stiff? Obviously. He's only a D rank, lightning, while Wang Peng is a C rank, beast transformation. They're on completely different levels. Lin Yu smiled calmly and reached his hand out to his friend Shinifei. "Give me a spear." Shinifei froze for a moment before tossing over an iron spear. "Ha! You loser. So what if you have a weapon? I'll give you 3 free moves." Wang Peng taunted disdainfully. But before he could finish his sentence, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his abdomen and was sent flying. Lin Yu held the spear firmly, its butt end having struck Wang Peng's abdomen with precision. He spoke coldly, "You lost. If I had used the spearhead, you'd already be dead." The onlookers erupted in shock. He sent Wang Peng flying with just 1 move? Before they could recover, Wang Peng roared and climbed to his feet. His body swelled, black scales covering his arms, and his eyes turned blood red. He had triggered his beast transformation. "I'm going to kill you," he bellowed, leaping toward Lin Yu in a frenzy. Lin Yu sneered. "You really think I'm just a D-rank lightning?" Black lightning crackled in his hands. He punched forward, the electric surge piercing through Wang Peng's body. Wang Peng screamed as he was sent flying once again. Impossible. Wang Peng's face was filled with terror, sensing the looming threat of death. Lin Yu's gaze was icy. "That's twice. If you want to try again, I don't mind killing you for a 3rd time." Terrified, Wang Peng fled in disgrace. The training ground fell into a dead silence. The crowd exchanged stunned glances, utterly speechless. Just, what kind of monster is Lin Yu? Lin Yu gripped the black lightning in his hand, his eyes deep with determination. He knew this wasn't an ordinary D-rank lightning, it was the cosmic law of thunder from his past life, Chaos Divine Thunder, the strongest lightning. "In my past life, Blue Star was destroyed by the beasts, demons, and monsters. In this life, I'll make them all pay." His eyes burned with resolve as his vow echoed in his heart. The beast tide at Qingfu Mountain, the sea sacrifices in Pingchuan City, the Celestial Domain War. As long as I'm alive, Blue Star will never face the same fate again. "Old Lin." Shinifei ran up to Lin Yu, panting and visibly astonished. "What's with you? Moving so fast without even waiting for me. I thought we were close, but here you are acting all mysterious. Spill it, when did you get this strong?" Lin Yu's performance on the training ground today was extraordinary, even to the most oblivious observer. This was far beyond what a D-rank martial artist should be capable of. "My martial arts talent underwent a secondary awakening," Lin Yu casually fabricated an excuse. The power of the cosmic laws was extremely rare, a key determinant of whether a martial artist could ascend to the level of martial god. Martial talent was clearly related to this, but revealing it too soon would only bring unnecessary trouble. Currently, his vitality value was a mere 5, not even enough to qualify as a first-tier martial artist. It was not the time to draw attention. A secondary awakening? Are you serious? Shinifei's eyes widened in disbelief. Believe it or not. Then what's your new talent level? S rank. What? Shinifei almost bit his tongue in shock. S rank? That's national treasure level. Old Lin, are you planning to ascend to the heavens? Are you for real? Do I look like I'm joking? Lin Yu's expression remained calm as he met Shen Yifei's gaze. Wow. Bro, you've got to take care of me from now on. Shen Yifei was overwhelmed with emotion. His own C-rank talent, Rock Turtle, was strong defensively but lacked combat power, making him no match for Lin Yu. At that moment, a mocking voice interrupted them. Well, if it isn't Lin Yu, what are you doing wandering around out here? Lin Yu looked up to see Zhao Tianran standing before him, boasting a vitality value of 8, a near first-tier martial artist with a B-rank talent, gravity manipulation. In the resource-strapped Zhanghai No. 2 high school, he was the third strongest student. Oh, right, I almost forgot, you're just a D-rank talent, aren't you? Are you planning to surrender as soon as you step onto the field this time? Zhao Tianran sneered, his lackeys laughing along. Shen Yifei bristled with anger, about to retort, but Lin Yu stepped in front of him and signaled for him to stand down. If you want to test me, go ahead. Lin Yu pointed toward the training ground, his tone indifferent. To him, it was nothing more than a waste of 2 minutes. Zhao Tianran was momentarily taken aback before smirking. Such big talk. Fine, I'll show you what a real gap in strength looks like. The two of them entered the training ground, and the match began. Lin Yu, I have no idea where you got this confidence, but since you're here, don't blame me for being ruthless. Zhao Tianran scoffed. With a wave of his hand, gravity manipulation activated, tripling the gravitational force within a 5-meter radius. Lin Yu remained unfazed, even smiling faintly as he stood still without a word. Frustrated, Zhao Tianran barked, "What's the meaning of this, Lin Yu? Why aren't you making a move? Why rush?" Lin Yu replied calmly. "I just finished a match. Isn't it fair to rest for a minute?" Zhao Tianran's face darkened instantly. However, Lin Yu knew Zhao Tianran's talent had a fatal flaw: it drained energy quickly. With his vitality value of 8, this area-wide ability could last no more than a minute. Sure enough, Zhao Tianran lost patience and charged at Lin Yu, his right fist swinging with full force. Lin Yu simply snapped his fingers. Boom! A thunderbolt descended from the heavens, striking Zhao Tianran directly. With a deafening crash, Zhao Tianran fell to the ground, charred and unconscious. Lin Yu had held back 70% of his power, but the might of his S-rank talent was still overwhelming. After a brief silence, the crowd erupted in chaos. He one-shot Zhao Tianran? This Lin Yu is simply too powerful. From today onwards, he's my big brother. The corners of Lin Yu's mouth curled into a faint smile as he walked away calmly. He knew well that showing strength appropriately was the best way to deter those who lacked the sense to understand their place. Exiting the school gates, he headed straight for the heart of Zhanghai City, toward the Heaven Rank Martial Hall, a place belonging to the strong, and soon to become his new starting point. The Heaven Rank Martial Hall was named after its founder, that Heaven Rank martial artist, whose reputation resounded like thunder. On Blue Star, 7th rank martial artists could no longer break through and had all ventured to the cosmic battlefields. Only a handful of top-tier experts remained on Blue Star, and the strongest power in Huaxia was none other than the minister of the headquarters of the Heaven Rank Martial Hall in the capital, Heaven Rank martial artist Su Tianlei. The martial hall he personally founded was renowned far and wide. The Zhanghai City branch of the Heaven Rank Martial Hall was located in the city center, symbolizing its lofty status. The hall was open to all martial artists, whether for practice, combat, or purchasing martial techniques and artifacts. Lin Yu had a clear purpose for his trip: to obtain cultivation resources. Having been reborn with his memories intact, Lin Yu found himself in an unprecedented predicament. His martial god realm had collapsed, leaving him with a pitifully low vitality value of only 5 points. Resources were scarce, and cultivation seemed like a distant dream. Worse yet, he was utterly broke. With his parents deceased, his grandmother aging, and his younger sister still in school, all household expenses relied on Lin Yu's part-time work. At this moment, Lin Yu was nothing more than a poor boy. But he had ambition. He decided to challenge the genius rankings, where monetary rewards awaited those who made the list. The higher the rank, the greater the rewards, and there was even a chance of gaining the favor of high-ranking officials. For this reason, he stepped into the Heaven Rank Martial Hall. Name: Lin Yu. Vitality value: 5. Dear prospective martial artist, welcome to the Heaven Rank Martial Hall. The mechanical broadcast voice echoed as Lin Yu entered the martial hall and headed straight to the 3rd floor. This floor housed exclusive training rooms, with silver-white walls made of special metals designed to absorb the aftermath of martial artists' attacks and protect the room. At the center of the training room stood various instruments, including a strength tester, a virtual combat pod, and a vitality detector. Lin Yu stood before the vitality detector, gently placing his palm on it. A number popped up on the screen: 5. As expected. But he paid it no mind. So what? If his vitality value was low? He possessed an S-grade talent, Chaos Divine Thunder. Even with the lowest vitality, his strength was not to be underestimated. The testing continued. Name, Lin Yu. Vitality value, 5, prospective martial artist. Mental power, 20. Martial talent, S-grade. Martial skill level, unknown. With a mental power of 20, Lin Yu was already a first-tier psychic. As a reincarnated martial god, controlling the Chaos Divine Thunder required immense willpower, so such mental strength came as no surprise. Testing complete. Next, Lin Yu's gaze shifted to the virtual combat pod. The Genius Rankings evaluation consisted of 5 criteria: vitality, value, mental power, martial talent, combat skills, and martial skill proficiency. The last 2 required testing through the virtual pod. Entering the pod, Lin Yu felt his vision blur and found himself in a desolate wasteland. Welcome to the combat skill test. Would you like to begin? Pressing yes, Lin Yu selected an iron spear and waited calmly for the test to start. Streams of data surged, and a leopard-like shadow beast gradually materialized. Beast rank, none. Shadow leopard. Vitality value, 3. Combat start. As the system prompt fell, Lin Yu stood motionless, his expression calm. The shadow leopard crouched in preparation to strike, but the human before it remained indifferent, even showing a hint of pity in his eyes. Roar! The shadow leopard grew enraged and pounced, its sharp claws gleaming as they slashed toward Lin Yu. Yet in the next instant, splat! The spear pierced the shadow leopard's abdomen, and the beast dissolved into streams of data. Lin Yu raised his spear slightly and murmured, "The shadow leopard is fast but impulsive. A single strike to its abdomen is fatal." His knowledge came from the Beast Codex and the countless battles of his past life. First round complete. Score, 10. Would you like to continue? Lin Yu did not hesitate. Continue. In the second round, he faced a Gale Falcon, swift but defensively weak. Lin Yu unleashed his Chaos Divine Thunder, obliterating it with black lightning in an instant, earning a perfect score. The third round, the fourth round. 10 battles passed in the blink of an eye. Lin Yu used 9 spear strikes and 1 thunderbolt, each fight lasting no more than 10 seconds, utterly crushing his opponents. Combat skill, 100. Would you like to proceed to the martial skill proficiency test? The corners of Lin Yu's mouth lifted slightly. Proceed. On the 10th floor of the Heaven Rank Martial Hall, in the director's conference room, a cold and elegant young woman in a white short dress, Gu Qianxue, stood by the door, waiting silently like a statue carved from ice. When the door finally opened, she spoke, "Well, I discussed it with Lao Su. You can go," but before the speaker could finish, she interrupted with a pout, "Stop. Just remind me to be careful. You don't have to nag every time. I'm not a child anymore." Gu Junhua shook his head helplessly, while the man beside him, Su Yaowen, laughed heartily. "Old Gu, this personality of hers is exactly like yours in your youth. Ha ha ha." Gu Qianxue, a prodigy among prodigies, awakened the Frost Arrow talent at 18 and climbed to the top of the Genius Rankings. By her early 20s, she was already a 4th-rank martial artist and captain of the Kyoto Splendid Squad. This time, however, her target was the newly discovered secret realm at the Jianghai border, rumored to contain origin crystals, treasures coveted by rule-controlling martial artists. Her mastery of the ice rule might reach a new height with them. However, Su Yaowen's expression darkened. The entrance to the secret realm is sealed with powerful lightning elements. Its strength is immense, requiring at least a 7th-rank martial artist to face it head-on. Unfortunately, Jianghai's high-rank martial artists are all on missions, so this task is up to you. Gu Qianxue turned to her father, Gu Junhua, who decisively looked away. "Don't look at me. This is your mission." "Fine." The young woman sighed in disappointment but showed no signs of retreating. Just then, a staff member rushed in. "Director, there's a newcomer on the Genius Rankings. Top 100 nationwide." "Nationwide?" Su Yaowen perked up. "Who is it? Someone from Jianhai number 1 high school?" "No, it's from number 2 high school. Lin Yu. His vitality value is only 5. 5 points? You've got to be kidding me." Su Yaowen's eyes widened. "Let's go take a look." Meanwhile, Lin Yu exited the martial hall, clutching 3 bottles of Bear Essence blood and 2 vials of pure heart dew, his heart brimming with joy. Drawing from his past life's experience, he had already mastered the beginner martial skill Thunderbolt Spear to the proficient level, securing 2nd place in Jianghai City and 51st nationwide on the Genius Rankings. This ranking system is so lenient for beginners. Mastery equals a perfect score. Lin Yu's lips curled into a smirk. But that vitality value really drags me down. 5 points is pitiful, but no matter, the goal has been achieved. He looked into the distance. The Thunder Mountain Range, Origin Crystals. Interesting. Things are about to get exciting. On the 9th floor of the Heaven Rank Martial Hall, in the monitoring room, Su Yawen stared at Lin Yu's combat footage, his mouth agape in shock. An S-grade martial talent. A first-tier psychic. Perfect scores in combat and martial skill testing. This kid is a monster. The only flaw is his low vitality value. He made a swift decision. Immediately contact Zhanghai No. 2 High School. I want Lin Yu's complete file within 10 minutes. Zhanghai City must focus all resources on nurturing him. Standing aside, Gu Qianxue exchanged a glance with Gu Junwo, and they muttered in unison, "That's the law of thunder." 10 minutes later, Lin Yu had already returned to Zhanghai Second High School, heading straight for the training room he had prepared for himself. He needed to absorb the essence blood immediately and break through his current level. Why not complete the breakthrough at the Heavenly Martial Hall? Because the hall was filled with surveillance cameras, and being constantly watched made Lin Yu uneasy. He carried secrets that he didn't want exposed. The school's training room, on the other hand, was much safer without any surveillance, making it a better choice for him. Entering the training room, Lin Yu sat cross-legged and downed an entire bottle of essence blood in one gulp. An intense burning pain spread instantly throughout his body, as though his entire being was about to boil over. The Beast Clan's innate advantage in vitality made their essence blood a precious treasure for human cultivation. However, most people were extremely cautious when consuming essence blood, taking it drop by drop or refining it before absorption. Lin Yu's approach of drinking an entire bottle in one go was exceedingly rare. But Lin Yu was confident. He was a first-tier psychic with a mental power score of 20 and possessed the indomitable will forged on the battlefield in his previous life. With such advantages, he dared to directly consume an entire bottle of essence blood. The sharp pain gradually subsided, replaced by a sensation of swelling in his muscles. Feeling the change, Lin Yu was overjoyed. He had succeeded. The energy of the essence blood had fully integrated into his body, and the powerful effects of the Tier 1 barbaric bear essence blood were evident in him. Without hesitation, he continued to consume a second bottle, then a third. 15 minutes later, Lin Yu stood up, savoring the surge of power coursing through his body. His vitality had skyrocketed to 16 points, officially marking his entry into the ranks of Tier 1 martial artists. From this moment, his martial aptitude would truly begin to shine. Following this, he consumed a Tier 1 spiritual purity elixir, pushing his mental power to 30 points and steadily progressing toward the Tier 2 threshold. Just then, a knock at the door interrupted Lin Yu's thoughts. He cracked the door open slightly and peeked out, only to be greeted by the sight of two towering peaks. "Hello, are you Lin Yu?" a soft and youthful voice asked, sending a tremor through his heart. Lin Yu looked up to see a blue-haired girl clad in a martial arts uniform that accentuated her graceful curves. Her high ponytail cascaded down her back, and her delicate face still bore a hint of youthful innocence. "I am Lin Yu. And you are?" Lin Yu asked, snapping out of his daze. "My name is Su Wanqing," the girl said politely, bowing slightly. Upon hearing the name, Lin Yu was momentarily stunned. From his memories of his previous life, he knew that this girl was the top student of Zhanghai Second High School, possessing an A-grade talent called the Devouring Moon Sword and immense potential. Though they had little interaction in his past life, he later learned she had become the war goddess of Jiangnan district before mysteriously vanishing. There was no doubt that this girl was a prodigy worth paying attention to. "Miss Su, what brings you here?" Lin Yu asked. "I heard you awakened an S-grade talent," Su Wanqing said calmly. "That's correct," Lin Yu replied candidly. After all, one of his purposes for visiting the Heavenly Martial Hall was to publicize his S-grade talent under its banner, thereby reducing unnecessary trouble. "And you're now ranked second on Zhanghai City's genius list," she continued. "That's right," Lin Yu confirmed again. "I want to challenge you," Su Wanqing suddenly declared. "Ha?" Lin Yu was taken aback, staring at the girl whose face was now filled with a determined aura of battle. "Why?" he asked. "Because I'm ranked third," Su Wanqing replied coldly. Lin Yu was speechless for a moment. So that's what this was about, a rivalry over rankings. It had finally come. "Alright, give me a moment to change into something more appropriate. I'll wait for you at the sparring arena," Su Wanqing said, turning to leave with a resolute stride. Lin Yu glanced down at his sweat-soaked training outfit and let Out a helpless sigh, though he couldn't help but chuckle inwardly. Fine, he thought, I'll take this as an opportunity to teach this overly ambitious girl a lesson. By the time Lin Yu arrived at the sparring arena, it was already buzzing with excitement. The stands were packed with spectators, and even the principal and teachers had shown up, observing the scene from a transparent room on the upper level. Upon hearing of the impending duel, they had rushed over, eager to witness the clash between Lin Yu and Su Wanqing. Who do you think will win? Isn't it obvious? An S-grade talent is on a whole different level compared to an A-grade. But Lin Yu's vitality is only at 5 points, while Su Wanqing's is at 20. She's a Tier 1 martial artist. Talent alone isn't enough, you need strength to back it up. Amid the lively discussions, Lin Yu strolled into the arena, dressed in casual attire and exuding an air of calm confidence. Taking in the noisy crowd, he simply smiled faintly. After this battle, everyone would understand the vast chasm between an A-grade talent and the untouchable might of an S-grade talent. What seemed like a minor gap on the surface was, in truth, an insurmountable divide. As Lin Yu approached, Su Wanqing frowned and asked coldly, "You're going to fight me dressed like that?" Lin Yu smirked, gripping his spear casually as he replied, "It's more than enough." He raised his left hand slightly and said softly, "After you." Su Wanqing snorted, "Your arrogance will cost you dearly." Before her words had fully faded, a purple mist began to form around her, enveloping her body. Her longsword quivered in her hand, its energy steadily building. Lin Yu glanced at the scene and couldn't help but shake his head with a hint of amusement. This girl was actually preparing her power right in front of an opponent. He had already read up on her Mountain River Sword technique on the official website. While its momentum was impressive, the build-up was far too slow, practically handing opportunities to her enemies. Charging up your attack in front of your opponent isn't exactly a good habit, Lin Yu said with a chuckle, stepping forward with his spear. However, he soon sensed something unusual about the purple mist. It carried a familiar devouring energy. Interesting, Lin Yu murmured, a glint of surprise flashing in his eyes. Dark matter? While its intensity was low, the girl's potential was undeniably remarkable. Even so, Lin Yu didn't stop moving. "You can't get in," Su Wanqing said coldly. Lin Yu halted, smiling faintly. "Who said I wanted to step in?" With a snap of his fingers, black lightning materialized, piercing straight into the purple mist. If it's a devouring energy, let's see what happens when it's pushed to its limit. The chaotic divine thunder transformed into sharp spikes, stabbing into the mist. Though the devouring energy tried to diminish the lightning's power, it ultimately failed to withstand the assault, and the mist quickly dissipated. Su Wanqing was stunned. This was an unprecedented defeat for her. Since awakening her talent, she had never encountered a peer capable of neutralizing her mist, not even Xia Zichen, the city's top-ranked genius. Just a bit more. Su Wanqing gritted her teeth, her sword trembling as she felt her energy nearing completion. But suddenly, she realized that Lin Yu had no intention of interrupting her. Even the lightning hadn't been directed at her directly. "In that case, take my sword." Su Wanqing roared, swinging her blade. Sword energy surged forth like a mighty river, rushing toward Lin Yu. Yet Lin Yu merely smiled. His figure was instantly enveloped in black lightning and disappeared, reappearing several meters away. Everyone knows that S-grade talents are powerful, but few understand their full scope. Who says thunder magic is only for destruction? Lin Yu chuckled. It's also excellent for evasion. The sword energy missed its mark, and Su Wanqing's painstakingly prepared attack was rendered useless. Her expression darkened, but there was nothing she could do. Lin Yu raised his hand and said calmly, "It's over." Black lightning descended with a deafening roar, striking the ground beside Su Wanqing and leaving a deep crater. Staring at the scorched battlefield, Su Wanqing lowered her head and admitted softly, "I lost." The martial arts arena erupted in thunderous cheers. "Brother Lin, you're amazing. Victory in one move. Senior sister Su lost. But she's still so beautiful." Amid the clamor, everyone saw the truth. This was not a balanced battle but a complete domination. Lin Yu walked over to Su Wanqing's side. His tone was calm yet tinged with a hint of amusement. "You don't understand your own power well enough. If you want to know more, come to my room tonight, the training room." With that, he turned and left, leaving the blushing Su Wanqing standing there, stunned. She bit her lip and muttered under her breath, "This guy, why does he talk like that?" Lin Yu quickly made his way to the transparent private room above the arena. The situation had already caused a huge stir throughout the school. He was an S-class talent, known across the campus, and perhaps even the entirety of Zhanghai City. It was no surprise that the old geezers at the school would come looking for him, so he decided to take the initiative and meet them first. Sure enough, the moment Principal Wang Guodong saw him, he immediately stood up with a warm smile. An S-class talent was a rare resource in China, let alone in Shanghai City's second high school. Black barriers rose around the private room, isolating it from the outside world. Haha, Lin, such a huge event as a second awakening, and you didn't inform the school in advance? Wang Guodong's face was full of wrinkles from his wide grin. The school will absolutely do its utmost to nurture you. If you need anything, just say the word. Just some basic cultivation resources will suffice, Lin Yu replied flatly. He knew full well that Shanghai Second High's resources were limited. For higher-end training materials, he would have to go to the Tianjie Martial Hall. Very well. From today onward, the single training room on the far left of the third floor is yours. If you need any resources, just contact the school directly, Wang Guodong said generously. Oh, and Director Su asked me to pass this on, reach out to him when you have time. Here's his contact information. Lin Yu nodded with a simple response and then turned to leave. That night, in the training room, Lin Yu was organizing his thoughts. The first day of his rebirth had gone smoothly, but questions lingered in his mind. Rebirth? Could such a good thing really happen? He had seen the unfathomable depths of the universe and had witnessed powerful beings who mastered the laws of space and time, reversing the course of history, restoring destroyed star systems. Such divine feats made him wary of his own rebirth. His gaze fell on the faint circular mark on his right arm, and he seemed lost in thought. Knock, knock. A knocking sound broke his reverie. Lin Yu stood up, casting aside his doubts. What was meant to come would come, what mattered now was seizing the moment. He opened the door to find Su Wanqing standing outside. She was dressed simply, yet her graceful figure was hard to conceal. Her long legs and short skirt were particularly eye-catching. Come in, Lin Yu said, maintaining an impassive expression. The two walked into the training area and sat facing each other. Do you know about my ability? Su Wanqing began directly. I do, Lin Yu replied calmly. The purple mist, it's my innate ability. I call it corrosive mist, Su Wanqing explained softly. Since awakening, you're the first person who has been able to counter it. That's because your ability has a devouring characteristic, but it's not invincible, Lin Yu said bluntly. Su Wanqing was momentarily stunned, her gaze lighting up. Lin Yu's words proved his extraordinary insight. When the corrosive mist devours, what do you feel? She asked. A slight warmth in my abdomen, Lin Yu answered simply. Even he was somewhat surprised by his own words. That warmth was the feedback effect of the devouring characteristic. Su Wanqing's ability had immense potential. She could convert the absorbed substances into elemental energy for her own use. The thin elemental energy on Blue Star was no limitation for her at all. Lin Yu looked at Su Wanqing with a hint of envy. Such an innate ability was truly extraordinary. Su, just call me by my name, she interrupted. All right. Su Wanqing, I might need to make physical contact with you, Lin Yu said. Su Wanqing blushed and turned her head, clearly uncomfortable. But she took a deep breath and closed her eyes. Go ahead. Lin Yu chuckled softly. Relax your body. He extended a finger and lightly touched her abdomen. Even through the fabric of her clothing, he could feel the softness of her skin, smooth and warm like jade. Ah! Su Wanqing let out a soft gasp, her eyes tightly shut, clearly nervous. Lin Yu could sense the abundant energy fluctuations within her, a result of her devouring ability converting substances into elemental energy. However, Su Wanqing's low cultivation level prevented her from fully mastering it. Relax. Focus your attention on your abdomen. Sense the golden energy cluster inside and try to grasp it with your spiritual will. I see it, Su Wanqing said. Capture it. Try to integrate with it, Lin Yu instructed, applying more pressure with his finger and releasing a sliver of his own elemental energy to assist her. Warm, very comfortable, but I feel a little dizzy, so sleepy. Su Wanqing murmured. Lin Yu knew she had succeeded. Absorbing elemental energy often caused warmth and slight dizziness. Watching her collapse to the ground and fall into a peaceful sleep, her face adorned with a contented smile, Lin Yu couldn't help but chuckle. This girl. So beautiful, yet utterly lacking in any sense of danger, he muttered under his breath. It's a good thing I'm a gentleman, otherwise, she'd be in real trouble. The next morning. Su Wanqing rubbed her sleepy eyes as she slowly woke up. Looking around, her eyes widened in surprise. Instinctively, she glanced down at her clothes, they were still intact. She bolted upright in bed, only to find Lin Yu lying on a makeshift bedroll on the floor beside her. She was on the bed, he was on the floor. The sudden commotion startled Lin Yu awake. He opened his eyes and scanned his surroundings warily, a habit honed on alien battlefields where enemies never gave him a moment's peace. Their eyes met. You, me, I. Su Wanqing stammered, her finger trembling as she pointed at Lin Yu, then at herself. Lin Yu's expression remained calm. You looked like you were sleeping soundly, so I didn't wake you. The two stared at each other, wide-eyed, for a full 15 minutes. Don't just sit there. You absorbed a significant amount of elemental energy last night. Check if there are any changes, Lin Yu said. Hearing this, Su Wanqing quickly closed her eyes to sense her condition. Moments later, she exclaimed in delight, my vitality has increased to 40. Realizing her outburst, she quickly covered her mouth and shyly glanced at Lin Yu. Thank you. No problem. It was a small effort, Lin Yu replied with a faint smile. From now on, you can use your devouring ability to absorb elemental energy, which will significantly enhance your cultivation efficiency. After a pause, his tone shifted. Of course, my help doesn't come free. As he spoke, he slowly leaned toward her, a mischievous smirk playing on his lips, like a predator closing in on its prey. What are you doing? Huh? Lin Yu cleared his throat and turned his head away. We'll talk about it later. I need to head out. Take this time to stabilize your cultivation. Advancing too quickly can lead to chaotic energy flow. Before she could respond, he was already out the door, leaving Su Wanqing bewildered. In the outskirts of Jianghai City, at the Lin family's old residence. Is this Lin Yu's home? Su Yaowen stood at the door with a few plainclothes officers. Behind him were Gu Junwu and Gu Qianxue, silently following. Yes, he's my older brother. A lively voice answered. A cute little girl peeked out from behind the door. And what's your name, young lady? Su Yaowen asked with a warm smile. My name is Lin Xiaoxiao, and this is my grandmother. Has my Xiaoyu caused any trouble? Grandma Lin asked, leaning on her cane, her steps unsteady as she emerged. No, Grandma, you've misunderstood. Lin Yu is an exceptionally talented child. Before Su Yaowen could finish his sentence, Lin Yu's figure appeared at the doorway. He looked at Su Yaowen and the Gu family father and daughter helping his grandmother with household chores, and a slight smile touched his lips. If the higher-ups at the Tianjia Martial Arts Hall saw this scene, they would likely be shocked speechless. However, Lin Yu was not surprised, as he had arranged to meet Su Yaowen at the old house last night. These faces were ones he couldn't be more familiar with. Su Yaowen, the head instructor of the Tianjia Martial Arts Hall in Jianghai City. Gu Junwo, the deputy head instructor of the Tianjia Martial Arts Hall in the capital. And the Gu family's prodigy, Gu Qianxue. After some brief pleasantries, they all entered Lin Yu's room together. Lin Yu, I'll get straight to the point, Su Yaowen said bluntly. As a genius with S-rank talent, we in Jianghai City are prepared to fully support your development. Vitality elixirs, spiritual force potions, martial techniques, weapons, whatever the Tianjia Martial Arts Hall has, you can name it. But you understand, we need your loyalty to the Tianjia Martial Arts Hall and to Huagua. An S-rank talent, once fully developed, could alter not just the balance of power on Blue Planet but even the fabric of the universe itself. Lin Yu placed his right fist over his chest, his gaze resolute. I was born a Huagua citizen, and I will die as a Huagua soul. Su Yaowen nodded in satisfaction. Good. That's all we need. He turned and left, smiling as he spoke to Gu Junwo. Old Gu, you and your daughter better say whatever you need to say quickly, but let me be clear, don't even think about poaching him. Gu Junwo and Gu Qianxue exchanged glances before closing the door. You possess the power of laws as well, don't you? Gu Qianxue asked first, her eyes burning with intensity. Lin Yu was momentarily stunned, but he nodded shortly after. The essence of lightning. That's perfect. Gu Qianxue exclaimed, standing up in excitement. She explained the matter of the sealed lightning mountain range in detail, her tone earnest. Lin Yu, I need your help. Lin Yu didn't hesitate. When do we leave? This afternoon, at the martial arts hall, Gu Qianxue replied, her face lighting up with joy. Lin Yu nodded. All right. After seeing off Su Yaowen and the others, Lin Yu gently patted Lin Xiaoxiao's head. Big brother has to go far away for a while. During this time, Xiaoxiao needs to take good care of Grandma. Xiaoxiao will. After arranging matters at home, Lin Yu returned to school to request a 2-day leave and then headed to the Tianjia Martial Arts Hall. Lin Yu. Gu Qianxue, dressed in a snow-white combat suit, handed him a space ring. A storage pouch is too cumbersome. This ring has a larger space and is much more convenient. Inside, you'll find a combat suit and a white-grade token. The Lightning Mountain Range is classified as a green-grade chaotic zone. Due to the special nature of this mission, you're allowed to enter despite your level. But remember, you're mainly there to assist. Stay close to us and don't act recklessly. Lin Yu was already familiar with such warnings. He nodded in agreement but felt a faint hostility emanating from several gazes behind Gu Qianxue. Captain, is this the helper you brought? A team member scoffed dismissively. He looks like a little kid. What can he even do? Lin Yu responded with a calm smile. These people were members of Gu Qianxue's Allure Squad, all elite students from the Capital High Martial Academy. What they didn't know, however, was that this naive little boy would become someone they could never hope to rival. Passengers, we have arrived at the southern border of Jianghai City. Those disembarking, please prepare to get off. Lin Yu followed the Allure Squad off the vehicle, his gaze locking onto a military outpost in the distance. Along the way, he had already memorized the names and abilities of the team members. Captain Gu Qianxue, mid-4th tier, A-rank talent, Frost Arrow. The twin-tailed Yun Yan, early 4th tier, B-rank talent, Exquisite Heart. The tall twins Zhang Lingxi and Zhang Lingyue, early 4th tier, B-rank talent, Crescent Blade. And the quiet, bespectacled Shangguani, early 4th tier, B-rank talent, True Sight. At the entrance to the outpost, soldiers stopped them to check their credentials. Gu Qianxue presented a blue-grade token, and the soldiers immediately allowed them through. He's our mission support member, she said, pointing to Lin Yu. The soldiers nodded and asked no further questions. As they entered the Lightning Mountain range, the air grew heavier, and mutant beasts could appear at any moment. Gu Qianxue occasionally glanced at Lin Yu, noticing his steady steps and utter lack of fear. A hint of surprise flickered through her heart. Newcomers entering a chaotic zone for the first time were usually jittery, but Lin Yu was as composed as a seasoned veteran. Along the way, the squad easily took care of several 2nd and 3rd tier mutant beasts. Suddenly, a group of late 1st tier bloodthirsty bats locked onto Lin Yu, who appeared slightly isolated, and charged at him ferociously. Lin Yu, dodge! Gu Qianxue cried out, her figure darting forward. But in the next moment, Lin Yu simply waved his right hand. Several streaks of black lightning struck with precision, instantly reducing the bloodthirsty bats to charred remains. His expression remained calm as he turned around. The Allure Squad was stunned. A 1st-tier martial artist had just one-shot multiple late 1st-tier mutant beasts? This was the terrifying power of an S-rank talent. Yun Yan's eyes sparkled as she sidled up to Lin Yu, her voice coquettish. Lin Yu, little brother, I'm just a support type. How about protecting me? Lin Yu looked awkward. Oh, don't be shy. I can even help you find a girlfriend or, if you'd prefer. Yun Yan blinked mischievously, her smile playful. Yan. Gu Qianxue coughed lightly, her tone displeased. Yun Yan stuck out her tongue, waved at Lin Yu, and rejoined the team, not forgetting to throw him a flirtatious glance before leaving. The group pressed onward, gradually nearing their destination. Along the way, Lin Yu's display of skill and precision impressed even the most skeptical squad members. His mastery of the Thunderbolt Spear technique was swift and decisive, without the slightest hesitation or wasted motion. The Allure Squad began to re-evaluate this white-grade newcomer. Finally, they arrived at the entrance to a cave, its surroundings sealed by a faint purple barrier. This barrier is the seal. The true target lies above it, Gu Qianxue explained, pointing to the top. A cluster of purple light radiated an oppressive energy. Its attacks are something even 7th-tier martial artists fear. Lin Yu, can you handle it? She asked tentatively. Lin Yu's lips curled into a confident smile. Piece of cake. You guys focus on covering me. Before she could respond, lightning coiled around Lin Yu's body as he shot toward the barrier. The purple light cluster sensed the threat and rapidly expanded its energy, preparing to counterattack. All lightning belongs to me to command. Lin Yu murmured softly, black lightning streaked with purple patterns surging around him. The power of universal laws flowed through his body. The light cluster's energy was immediately suppressed, unable to unleash its attack. Gu Qianxue watched with bated breath. Lin Yu, retreat if you can't handle it. No need. It's done, Lin Yu said calmly. The light cluster's energy dissipated, leaving everyone stunned. Lin Yu, you're amazing. Yun Yan cheered uncontrollably. Quit the chatter. Break the barrier quickly, I can only hold it for 15 minutes, Lin Yu barked sharply. The team wasted no time, each displaying their unique abilities. Yun Yan activated Exquisite Heart, the Jiang twins swung their blades, and Gu Qianxue drew her bow to its full extent. Blue arrows rained down, and within 3 minutes, the barrier shattered with a resounding crash. Go, move in. Gu Qianxue immediately led the team. The depths of the cave were shrouded in mystery and danger. Gu Qianxue took the lead at the front, deliberately having Lin Yu follow closely behind her. As for the reason, she didn't want Yun Yan to bother this promising newcomer anymore. Standing at the back, Yun Yan pouted and muttered in a low voice, "Such an interesting little brother, the captain really doesn't get it." Inside the cave, the group walked for about 2 minutes before the space ahead suddenly opened up. The walls and ground shimmered with a crystalline luster. Primordial crystals. Gu Qianxue's eyes lit up. Everyone breathed a slight sigh of relief. At least the journey wasn't in vain. Wait! Gu Qianxue suddenly became alert, her gaze sharp as a blade. She turned to Shangguanyi. "Xiaoyi, scout the surroundings." Shangguanyi nodded, removed her glasses, and her eyes began to gleam with a faint light. Moments later, her expression changed slightly. "Captain, this isn't good. Ahead, there are dozens of mid-tier third-rank thunder rats. Lingxi, Lingyue, take the front and block them. Xiaoyi, maintain visual scouting. Yenner, reinforce our state." Gu Qianxue issued orders decisively, her gaze like a knife cutting towards Lin Yu. "Lin Yu, protect Xiaoyi and Yenner at all costs," she commanded in a low voice, her tone carrying an undeniable authority. "If the situation becomes critical, retreat with them first." Lin Yu nodded, responding crisply, "Understood." The thunder rat swarm finally appeared within the group's line of sight. The massive rodents, each the size of a fully grown dog, emanated an aura of crackling electricity, sending chills down their spines. "Engage!" Gu Qianxue shouted coldly. The bowstring twanged, and a blue arrow streaked through the air, striking down the first thunder rat with precision. The battle erupted instantly. Zhang Lingxi and Zhang Lingyuan moved in perfect harmony, their twin blades swirling like the wind, cutting down any thunder rats that charged toward them. Gu Qianxue, stationed at the rear, loosed arrows with unfailing accuracy to finish off the wounded. Despite their efforts, the swarm pressed forward relentlessly, bearing down on them like an unending tide. At a critical moment, the Zhang sisters unleashed the power of their crescent blade technique. Their blades intersected, and a white barrier shot up from the ground, forcibly halting the swarm's aggressive advance. One thunder rat seized the opportunity to dart toward Gu Qianxue. In a flash of lightning, Lin Yu's figure moved like a phantom. The thunder rat fell instantly, slain in a single strike. Thunder rats have strong defenses, but their lower jaw is a fatal weak point. "Aim for it and kill them in one blow," Lin Yu said with steady composure. Gu Qianxue's heart trembled slightly, and she whispered, "Thank you." Yet inwardly, she was startled. Lin Yu's calmness and decisiveness far exceeded her expectations. "Little brother Lin Yu, I'm starting to like you more and more." Yun Yan teased with a playful smile. "How about we have a deep talk about life when we get back?" Lin Yu's mouth twitched, and he inwardly groaned, feeling overwhelmed. In his previous life, despite his invincibility, his only regret was not having a wife. Now, facing someone as fiercely flirtatious as Yun Yan, he found himself utterly at a loss. Thanks to the Zhang sisters' barrier, the situation began to stabilize. However, the thunder rats suddenly halted their assault and retreated as one. "What are they doing?" Yun Yan asked, puzzled. "Something's wrong. They're preparing a combined attack." Shangguanyi's face changed drastically as she exclaimed. At the center of the thunder rat swarm, a massive energy sphere was rapidly forming. "Lingxi, Lingyue, retract your weapons and prepare to retreat," Gu Qianxue ordered decisively. "Lin Yu, take Xiaoyi and Yenner and leave first." But as she turned to look, she saw Lin Yu walking straight toward the swarm. "Lin Yu, what are you doing? That attack will turn you to ashes," Gu Qianxue shouted angrily. Lin Yu smiled faintly, his eyes flashing with confidence. "Thunder magic? Playing with this in front of me?" Black lightning crackled from his fingertips and shot into the energy sphere, merging with it and vanishing without a trace. "Has he gone mad?" Yun Yan's eyes widened in disbelief. In the next instant, a shocking transformation occurred. The original thunder energy was devoured by the black lightning, gradually becoming entirely controlled. "Detonate," Lin Yu said softly. The energy sphere exploded instantly. A massive shockwave swept across the area. The thunder rats didn't even have time to let out a cry before they were all reduced to ashes. Lin Yu calmly returned to the group, completely unharmed by the explosion's aftermath. Are you okay?" Gu Qianxue couldn't help but step forward, her voice trembling slightly. Lin Yu lightly brushed off his sleeve. "I'm fine, just a bit of dirt on my clothes." At that moment, everyone fell silent. They, fourth-rank warriors, had fought with all their might, only for a first-rank youth to resolve the situation effortlessly. The disparity between individuals was truly beyond comprehension. Since the danger has been dealt with, then. Gu Qianxue was about to relax when, "Captain!" Shang Wanyi's voice shattered the calm. Her face was as pale as death. 30 meters ahead, there's a large beast approaching. It's level. I can't discern it. Gu Qianshue's expression turned grim instantly. If even the true sight eyes couldn't see through its level, that meant its strength far surpassed Shang Wanyi's. A 5th-rank beast. An utterly insurmountable threat. Within 2 breaths, a colossal, 4-meter-tall, 5-meter-long draconic beast emerged from the darkness. Its body was covered in scales, and its claws gleamed like blades. Thunder Crystal Wyvern. Lin Yu blurted out, his voice tinged with shock. You recognize it? Gu Qianxue frowned. She had never seen such a creature before, not even in the Beast Codex. Lin Yu gritted his teeth and nodded, his voice low. One of the strongest races among beasts, the Dragon Clan. With powerful bloodlines and innate abilities to fight across levels, once they mature, they become absolute rulers. Run! Without a moment's hesitation, he issued the only command. The group immediately sprinted toward the cave's exit. In the narrow passage, the Thunder Crystal Wyvern's massive body wreaked havoc, smashing against the walls and dislodging countless rocks, slowing their escape. Gu Qianxue suddenly stopped, drawing her bow and charging an arrow. We can't just run. We have to buy some time. Don't be stupid. Lin Yu roared. You'll only provoke it further. Then what should we do? It's catching up. Her voice trembled slightly. Lin Yu extended his hand, his voice resolute. Take my hand. Gu Qianxue hesitated for a moment. Seeing the draconic claw descending like a mountain behind her, she swiftly placed her hand in Lin Yu's. Black. Lightning erupted, enveloping the two of them and propelling them out of the cave at incredible speed, narrowly avoiding the fatal strike. The Thunder Crystal Wyvern, enraged by its prey's escape, rampaged wildly, smashing against the cave walls. The entire cave trembled, and the entrance collapsed, completely sealing their retreat. Lingxi, Lingyue, clear the path. I'll hold it off. Gu Qianxue turned, her arrow aimed directly at the wyvern. Frost arrow, wave piercer. She unleashed her full power. The arrow, imbued with icy energy, struck the wyvern's forehead, momentarily stunning it. However, within seconds, the wyvern recovered as if unscathed. It's useless. Gu Qianshue's eyes dimmed with despair. The wyvern's mouth began to glow red. Lin Yu's face darkened. An elemental beam. Move now. Lin Yu, you go. I'll hold it off. Gu Qianxue gritted her teeth, determined to take on the burden. Shut up. I am a man. Lin Yu rebuked angrily, his gaze sharp as a blade. The element of lightning is my domain. Don't underestimate me. Gu Qianxue froze, staring at the thin and seemingly fragile youth before her, yet inexplicably feeling a sense of reassurance she couldn't put into words. Go. I promise I'll catch up. Lin Yu urged. Gu Qianxue took a deep breath, turned, and left. Lin Yu faced the Thunder Crystal Dragon with unwavering determination. He unleashed the last of his Chaos Divine Thunder, striking precisely at the dragon's energy core and forcibly interrupting its attack. Charge! 5 more meters. The exit was right ahead. However, a sudden wave of dizziness hit him. Lin Yu's legs gave out, and his consciousness began to blur. Lin Yu! Gu Qianxue and the others turned back in panic, only to see the Thunder Crystal Dragon roaring and charging toward them. There's no time. Lin Yu muttered to himself. With the last ounce of his mental strength, he detonated the purple energy cluster above the cave entrance, sending it straight at the dragon. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion completely destroyed the cave, and the entrance collapsed entirely. Gu Qianxue and the others were blown outwards, staring blankly at the ruins. Lin Yu. Yunyan whispered, tears streaming down her face. Did he plan to risk his life from the very beginning? Lin Yu. Gu Qianxue was on the verge of madness, attempting to rush back into the debris, only to be held tightly by her teammates. Let me go, she screamed and struggled, her eyes filled with despair. He promised me he'd come out. He wouldn't lie to me. In her ears, it seemed as if the boy's resolute words were still echoing, leave it to me. He lied. Gu Qianxue murmured, tears falling like rain. 3 days later, at Zhanghai No. 2 High School. Wanqing, what are you spacing out for? A girl approached Su Wanqing, noticing her dazed expression and couldn't help but ask. It's nothing. Su Wanqing snapped back to reality, though her gaze drifted away once again. That guy had taken 2 days off, and now it was the 3rd day, yet he was nowhere to be seen. Could something have happened to him? No, impossible. He's so strong, how could anything happen to him? On the 8th floor of the Tianjia Martial Pavilion, in the VIP residential area. Captain? Captain. Ha? What is it? Gu Qianxue came out of her deep thoughts. Curator Su is planning to send another team to the Thunder Ridge for a search. This will be the last time. Are you going? Of course I'm going. Give me a moment to change. For the past 3 days, Su Yaowen had sent people to the Thunder Ridge daily to search for the missing Linyu, but they found nothing. Even though the collapsed cave had been completely cleared, there was still no trace of Linyu. The only consolation was that the corpse of the Thunder Crystal Dragon was also missing, which gave a glimmer of hope that Linyu might still be alive. Deep within the cave, 100 meters underground in the Thunder Ridge, Linyu sat cross-legged on a pile of rocks, his eyes closed in concentration. Around him, black lightning rampaged, crashing violently against the walls. The aura surged to its peak before gradually subsiding. He opened his eyes, feeling the surging vitality within his body, and the corners of his mouth curved upward. His vitality points had reached 70, and he had successfully advanced to the mid-stage of the first rank. His gaze shifted to the corpse of the Thunder Crystal Dragon beside him, and he couldn't help but feel a sense of relief. 3 days ago, the lethal attack should have obliterated him, but he had gambled everything. At the last moment, he hid behind the Thunder Crystal Dragon. As it turned out, the dragon, which was at the peak of the 5th rank and nearly at the 6th, had used its body to block the fatal blow, buying Linyu a sliver of hope. Brother Dragon, I owe you one. Linyu sighed deeply, but in the next moment, he cast aside any sentiment and began calculating how to make use of the dragon's remains. Its horns could be forged into weapons, its hide into armor, and its dragon blood was an unparalleled cultivation resource. The breakthrough he had just achieved was thanks to it. 2 days ago, Linyu had awakened with severe injuries, his mental strength utterly depleted, and he was on the verge of collapse. He had barely clung to life with the healing items in his spatial ring, but the sealed cave entrance left him despairing. At the critical moment, he had taken the risk of absorbing a small portion of the dragon's blood. The pain was excruciating, like a purgatory, but it caused his vitality to surge and his mental strength to recover, allowing him to break through to the mid-stage of the first rank. An even greater surprise awaited him. He discovered that the Thunder Crystal Dragon's body contained a beast core. This energy core, unique to beasts of the 6th rank or higher, was a treasure coveted by all martial artists. Additionally, the primal energy crystals scattered throughout the cave were an unexpected boon, helping him advance his mastery of the laws of lightning to the 2nd rank, significantly enhancing his strength. This trip nearly cost me my life, but it was worth it. Linyu stood up, looking at the rock-sealed exit. It's time to leave. Outside the cave, the search team was packing up their equipment, reporting to Su Yaowen. The magnetic field here is chaotic, and the instruments' detection range is limited. We've searched inside and out, but there's no trace of any martial artist's energy signature. Curator Su Yaowen sighed and waved to signal the team to retreat. Turning back, he called out to the distant Qingqing squad. The Thunder Ridge recently underwent a mutation, and the space here could destabilize at any moment. It's time for us to leave. Yunyan and the others nodded silently, their faces filled with disappointment. You all go ahead. I'll search one last time, Gu Qianxue insisted. She wandered the area, her expression numb, her eyes dim. You idiot. You're just a rank 1 martial artist, why did you have to act so tough? She murmured. You saved my life, only to die so easily yourself. How am I supposed to repay you for that? The wind seemed to echo her quiet words. Captain, we really need to go, came an urgent voice from outside. Gu Qianxue gritted her teeth, preparing to leave. Suddenly, boom! The ground erupted as rubble flew everywhere. Damn it, that stone was thick enough to almost suffocate me. A slightly immature yet brash voice rang out, and a figure emerged from the pile of rubble. Covered in dirt and dust, Linyu stood there, his clothes torn, revealing unhealed wounds. Yet, under the sunset, his figure was bathed in golden light. Gu Qianxue spun around abruptly, meeting his bright and resolute gaze. Hey, what's with that melancholic look in your eyes? Come help me out, I'm about to faint here, Linyu said with a smirk, his tone weak but still as arrogant as ever. The next day, in the conference room of Jianghai No. 2 High School. Principal Wang, it's been days already. You can't keep holding on to the last spot for the tournament, can you? Zhang Tian, the principal of Jianghai No. 1 High School, squeezed his plump body into a chair, his tone impatient. Behind him stood several teachers and students from Jianghai No. 1 High, the most prominent being Xia Zichen, ranked first on the Genius Leaderboard. On the other side, Principal Wang Guodong of Jianghai No. 2 High School sat with his teachers and students, including Su Wanqing and Zhao Tianran. The atmosphere between the two sides was tense, as if a fight could break out at any moment. I understand that the spot usually goes to the top 3 on the Genius Leaderboard, but your student Lin Yu is still missing. If this drags on, it'll tarnish Zhanghai's reputation, Zhang Tian sneered. The tournament is in 2 days. If you keep delaying, won't it make us a laughingstock for the other cities? The Five Regions Friendship Tournament was a martial arts competition jointly organized by Zhanghai and 4 other cities. Each region sent 3 participants, with last year's champion getting an extra spot. Its purpose was to foster competition and boost morale. Lin Yu's disappearance had become Zhanghai No. 2 High School's Achilles heel. Exactly. What's so special about that Lin Yu? Even if he shows up, my brother Li wouldn't be afraid of him. The students from Zhanghai No. 1 whispered among themselves, their words clearly reaching the ears of those from Zhanghai No. 2. Li Ziwu, ranked 3rd on the Genius Leaderboard, had been bumped from the tournament roster after Lin Yu's sudden rise. Harboring resentment, he sneered, jumping all the way to 2nd place? He's probably just a fraud. Zhang Tian took the opportunity to press, Principal Wang, if Lin Yu has the ability, let him come out and fight us. Otherwise, this last spot should go to us. Principal Wang Wodong sighed helplessly. After all, the reasoning was not in his favor, and the atmosphere at the scene turned tense. Suddenly, a contemptuous voice came from outside the door. Who here has a death wish and dares to challenge me? The entire crowd froze. Following the voice, they turned to see Lin Yu walking in slowly, hands clasped behind his back. He cast a scornful glance at Li Ziwu. Is it you? You're Lin Yu? Li Ziwu's eyes widened, his tone filled with disbelief. Alright, enough talking. See you at the martial arena, Lin Yu said with a yawn, his tone casual. Let's get this over with. I still need to catch up on sleep. What a waste of my time. He strode ahead, leaving behind a room full of stunned onlookers. The martial arena was roaring with noise once again, packed with students leaving no space to move. Brother Lin, go for it. Teach those guys from No. 1 High School a lesson, cheered the students of No. 2 High School. Brotherly, show them what a real genius looks like. The No. 1 High School students retaliated with their own shouts. In the audience, the principals and teachers from both schools had gathered, along with experts from the Heavenly Martial Hall. Even members of the renowned Allure Squad were present. Yun Yen, from the squad, lazily yawned. Kids playing house, what's there to watch? A few minutes later, Lin Yu and Li Ziwu stood on opposite sides of the martial arena. You're not bringing a weapon? Li Ziwu frowned, irritated by Lin Yu's nonchalant attitude. To deal with you? Why would I need one? Lin Yu replied casually, his eyes filled with disdain. But what about you? Aren't you empty-handed as well? Li Ziwu sneered and activated his innate ability, Steel Body. In an instant, his body hardened like steel. Lin Yu, you're just a newly advanced first-tier martial artist, while my vitality value has already reached 30. The gap between us is unimaginable. Before he could finish his sentence, Lin Yu's figure appeared before him like a phantom, delivering a single punch. Pain exploded in Li Ziwu's chest as his eyes widened in disbelief. How is this possible? Known for his defense, he couldn't even withstand a single blow from Lin Yu. His vision blurred, and his consciousness collapsed. Before he passed out, he heard Lin Yu's cold voice. You talk too much. But you were right about one thing, the gap between us is indeed enormous. On the battlefield, Li Ziwu lay unconscious, and the crowd erupted into chaos. The entire fight had lasted less than 3 seconds. Call a doctor, someone shouted in panic, but Lin Yu paid no attention. He turned and walked away casually. Sweeping a glance in the direction of Zhanghai No. 1 High School, he left behind a single remark, you wanted the spot? I gave you the chance. If you can't cut it, don't blame me. After the match, Lin Yu brushed off Wang Wodong's questions with a few perfunctory responses before leaving the martial arena. Just as he stepped outside, a stunning figure appeared before him. Lin Yu. Su Wanqing smiled softly, her beauty radiant like a lotus emerging from water. Though faint dark circles lingered under her eyes, they did nothing to detract from her charm. Lin Yu. Another cold voice called out. Gu Qianxue approached from another direction, her gaze fixed directly on Lin Yu. In the distance, members of the Allure Squad observed with knowing smiles. A showdown is brewing, one of them teased. Little brother Lin Yu has such bold taste. Already has a girlfriend, yet still dares to flirt with our captain. Look at Su Wanqing's face, clearly guilty as charged. As for our captain, when has she ever shown such interest in anyone? Exchanging glances, the squad members understood each other instantly. Su Wanqing and Gu Qianxue's eyes met, and a burst of vigilance ignited between them without a word. Gu Qianxue thought, this little short you, looking like a porcelain doll, only has her looks. Hoof. Su Wanqing thought, this icy lady seems graceful, but isn't she a bit older? And so fierce too. TCH. Ahem, Lin Yu coughed, breaking the tense atmosphere. The two women snapped back to reality, shaking their heads and suppressing their chaotic thoughts. Gu Qianxue was the first to speak. Lin Yu, are you feeling better? Yesterday. She trailed off, recalling the scene of carrying him back to the heavenly martial hall, a dazed look flickering in her eyes. Much better. Thanks, Lin Yu replied indifferently. Gu Qianxue nodded, her tone slightly somber. I came to say goodbye. Our mission is complete, and we need to return to school for the handover. Who knows when we'll meet again? It's only Kyoto Martial Academy. See you in 2 months, Lin Yu said with certainty. Gu Qianxue was momentarily stunned before breaking into a radiant smile. See you at Kyoto Martial Academy, Junior Lin. She turned and left, her smile one that even the Allure squad had never seen before. TSK, the captain can actually smile that sweetly. Oh my, little brother Lin Yu. Hey! Don't cover my mouth, it hurts. After the commotion, Lin Yu turned to look at Su Wanqing, who was standing quietly nearby. Shall we talk at my place? Okay. Clang, the door opened. The training room was spotless, with everything neatly arranged. Lin Yu froze. You hadn't been back for so long, so I just tidied up a bit, Su Wanqing explained softly, her eyes blinking with anticipation. Oh, right, sure. Lin Yu chuckled wryly. Tidied up a bit? This was practically a full renovation. By the way, how's your absorption of the heaven and earth energy going? Lin Yu changed the subject. My vitality value is 60 now, Su Wanqing replied nonchalantly. What? Lin Yu was shocked. Just a week ago, it had only been 30 points, and now it had doubled? The Devour trait was truly terrifying. Speaking of which, about the inter-school competition the day after tomorrow. Su Wanqing brought up the main topic. Kyoto's side is sending a second-tier expert. Principal Wang said getting into the top 3 would already be an achievement. Principal Wang is too young, Lin Yu chuckled. Principal Wang? Su Wanqing was confused. Not important. Aim for second place. Why? Because first place is mine, Lin Yu said confidently. Su Wanqing was momentarily stunned, then pouted. If you don't want to explain, then don't. At Zhanghai City's train station, an unlisted train slowly pulled in. When the doors opened, dozens of people stepped out, dressed in luxurious attire with haughty expressions. Brother Gingyuan, this place is so shabby. They don't even have a 5-star restaurant. Yao, stop whining. Focus on the task at hand, Lu Jingyuan said indifferently, though his gaze was sharp. This year's first place still belongs to Kyoto No. 1 High School, someone declared confidently. Lin Ziyi, I heard there's an S-grade talent over there. Too bad you weren't here earlier, otherwise, you could have faced him. TCH, S-grade talent? Let me deal with him first. Then Kyoto No. 1 High can see what true strength looks like. Lu Jingyuan shook his head with a cold sneer, his gaze fixed in the distance. S-grade talent? Perfect. You'll serve as my stepping stone to fame across the nation. Put more strength into your waist. Don't slack off. Lin Yu, it hurts, it really hurts. Endure it. Pain is normal. It'll pass soon. Su Wanqing gritted her teeth, her face pale, but she still followed Lin Yu's instructions to complete the sword moves. Lin Yu nodded in satisfaction. Not bad, you're close to mastering it. The mid-tier martial skill, Azure Cloud Sword, even just at the beginner level, is enough for you to shine in the competition with your innate talent. But it still hurts so much. Su Wanqing complained pitifully, though her movements didn't stop. Your Mountain River Sword may be proficient, but it holds no advantage against exotic beasts. On the battlefield, they won't wait for you to charge up, Lin Yu mercilessly pointed out. The Azure Cloud Sword, however, is fluid and combines speed with power. It's far more suitable for you. Got it. Su Wanqing muttered, not daring to say more. Lin Yu stood to the side, nodding silently. She might complain a lot, but her body was being surprisingly honest. This Azure Cloud Sword was something Lin Yu had meticulously selected at the Heavenly Rank Martial Hall, perfectly tailored to Su Wanqing's potential. Based on his understanding of their opponents in the alliance competition, Su Wanqing breaking into the top 4 wasn't impossible. And the current hellish training was paving the way for just that. Raise your hands higher and take half a step back with your foot. Lin Yu directly moved to adjust Su Wanqing's posture. I know already. If you know, then fix it. Idiot. Lin Yu, you hit me again. Got a problem? And no. 2 days later. Knock, knock. The door was rapped on. Lin Yu, his hair messy from sleep, rubbed his head and opened it to find Wang Guodong, Xiao Zichen, and a few teachers standing outside. The group glanced inside and immediately spotted Su Wanqing curled up on the bed, her clothes slightly disheveled. Xiao Zichen frowned and muttered, "This guy, utterly shameless." Lin Yu scratched his head helplessly and explained, "We were practicing until late last night, I just woke up." Wang Guodong, however, gave a knowing smile. "Ah, young people, full of energy. Practicing martial arts." Lin Yu emphasized sternly. Yes, practicing martial arts." Wang Guodong awkwardly echoed, but he cast a meaningful glance at the teachers as if to say, "Take notes." The door closed, and conversation resumed within the room. "Time to get up, idiot. First of all, I've been awake. Second, stop calling me an idiot." "Sure thing, idiot." Outside the door, everyone exchanged smiles, sighing, "Ah, youth." On the 5th floor of the heavenly rank Martial Hall, the arena was 5 times larger than a regular venue, and the event's live broadcast had already begun. "Those folks from the capital are so arrogant, 15 minutes late and still not here." Zhang Tian grumbled unhappily. "They've been champions for 10 consecutive years, they have the right to be." Wang Guodong sighed, casting a glance at Lin Yu. Truthfully, he wasn't confident either. After all, while Lin Yu was strong, he was only ranked 51st on the genius ranking. The opponents, on the other hand, were all elites within the top 50. "Welcome to the 5 Regions Alliance competition," a crisp female voice announced over the broadcast. As the host's introduction concluded, the team from Capital No. 1 High School finally arrived, Lu Jingyuan, Wan Yao, and 2 others, all of whom held notable rankings. The moment Lu Jingyuan entered, he captured the attention of the entire audience. He raised his gaze toward Jianghai City's private box, extending a single finger in a provocative gesture. Lin Yu met his gaze with a cold smile, refusing to back down. "Pupil techniques? Nothing special." Lu Jingyuan froze momentarily before sneering, "Interesting, but far from enough." After a lengthy opening ceremony and speeches from the leaders, the alliance competition finally got to the main event. What surprised Lin Yu slightly was that the referee turned out to be Gu Junwo, a 9th-rank powerhouse. This hadn't happened in his previous life, but it didn't matter. He was accustomed to the small changes that came with rebirth. Besides, Gu Junwo's presence suited him just fine. He had a favor to ask of this powerhouse. In 10 days, an alien beast known as the Gale Plume would descend upon Jianghai City, bringing destruction and death. But for now, the battle's prologue had just begun. First match of the round of 16, Su Wanqing from Jianghai City versus Xiaoyu from Tiandu. "Will both contestants please take the stage," the referee announced. Hearing her name, Su Wanqing's face shifted slightly, revealing a hint of nervousness. "What are you afraid of? These past 2 days of training weren't for nothing. Go show them your strength." Lin Yu's voice was as steady as a mountain, instantly calming her. Su Wanqing nodded and then stepped onto one side of the arena, while Xiaoyu took her place on the other. "Begin!" The referee's command echoed, and Su Wanqing drew her sword first, charging straight at Xiaoyu. "Sister, why so hasty? I wanted to exchange pleasantries with you first." Xiaoyu chuckled lightly, a long flute suddenly appearing in her hands as a cold glint flashed in her eyes. The sound of the flute resonated, unleashing invisible sound waves laced with killing intent. But as the sound waves neared Su Wanqing, their power diminished significantly, only to be cleaved apart by her sword. Purple mist spread across the battlefield. This was Su Wanqing's first-rank ability, Erosion Mist, capable of weakening or even absorbing energy-based attacks. Her opponent, Xiaoyu, possessed an A-rank talent, Requiem Flute, whose soundwave attacks were her trump card. Yet, they were completely countered by the Erosion Mist. What a perfect matchup! Lin Yu chuckled in the private box. Dark matter, when strong enough, could even swallow light. What were mere sound waves compared to that? Xiaoyu, however, wasn't laughing. Her soundwave attacks were neutralized one after another, and her expression grew increasingly grim. The intelligence she had received on Su Wanqing's abilities had been vague, leaving her with no effective strategy. "I refuse to believe your mist can absorb endlessly." Xiaoyu gritted her teeth and unleashed a flurry of soundwave attacks, but none hit their mark. "This is ridiculous, does that stuff ever saturate?" Xiaoyu fumed, her composure unraveling. "Are you done attacking? If so, it's my turn now." Su Wanqing spoke coldly, raising her sword to counterattack. "Humph. Even if I can't beat you, you won't get close to me," Xiaoyu scoffed. A flash of soundwave energy transported her to another spot. This was the second trait of the Requiem Flute, short-range teleportation via soundwaves, which gave her confidence in dealing with Su Wanqing's basic, Mountain River Sword. But to her shock, Su Wanqing didn't even bother charging up her technique, she simply charged straight at her. Hey! You're not playing by the rules. Xiao Yu shouted, teleporting repeatedly while cursing internally. The faulty intelligence had left her utterly frustrated. First, I'm not your little sister, Su Wanqing said, her sword slicing through the air like the wind. Second, this isn't a game of chase. It's one-sided pursuit, she added, her second strike closing in. And third, if you're not hiding any other tricks, you'd better prepare to surrender, she declared, her third strike cutting off Xiao Yu's escape route. Forced into a corner, Xiao Yu finally lost her composure and cursed aloud. As a Tiandu student, being pushed to this point by someone from Jianghai was an utter humiliation. Alright, you leave me no choice. Xiao Yu sneered, raising the flute to her lips and playing a deep melody. Visible sound waves rippled outward, forming a domain centered on her. This was her ultimate move, Requiem, a domain technique. You have a domain too? Su Wanqing frowned, quickly analyzing. The domain was vast, but its effects were unclear. Rest in peace within my Requiem. Xiao Yu commanded coldly. This beginner-level martial skill specialized in controlling the battlefield, subduing all enemies within its range. So it's still just sound waves, Su Wanqing scoffed, her sword flashing as her strikes grew sharper and more forceful. The first technique of the Azure Cloud Sword, Azure Clouds Descend. The sword's momentum tore through the soundwave domain, shattering it instantly. The domain's collapse caused Xiao Yu to suffer backlash, leaving her stunned. Whose mountain river sword is this fast? Xiao Yu murmured hopelessly, overwhelmed by the inaccurate intelligence she had relied upon. Winner of the first match of the round of 16, Su Wanqing from Jianghai City, the referee declared, signaling the match's conclusion. Oh my god! Su Wanqing from Jianghai City has swept aside Xiao Yu from Tiandu with overwhelming force. Could Jianghai City really become the dark horse of the year? The host Lele shouted excitedly. However, to ensure the fairness of the upcoming matches, detailed information about the contestants will not be disclosed for now. Let us all look forward to Jianghai City's performance. Before the words had fully settled, the opponents for the next match had already taken the stage. Tiandu, Lin Ziyi versus Wudu, Lu Yuyu. At the chief referee's stand, the 9th-tier powerhouse Gu Junwo watched the match coldly, giving a faint comment, decisive strikes, calm under pressure, quite impressive. When he saw Su Wanqing returning to the lounge and being greeted by Lin Yu, a trace of understanding flashed across his eyes. So that's how it is. How was it? Easy, right? Lin Yu asked with a smile. Su Wanqing remained silent, simply staring fixedly at him. What is it? Did one match knock your brains out? Lin Yu teased, but to his surprise, Su Wanqing suddenly lunged forward and hugged his waist tightly. Whoa, breaking news! The students in the viewing box erupted in commotion, with Shini Fei even exaggerating. Calm down. My man Lin here, getting the school beauty of second high? Easy peasy. Lin Yu was stunned by Su Wanqing's sudden move, completely caught off guard. A few seconds later, Su Wanqing let go, her face flushed, and said softly, "Thank you, Lin Yu. Without you, I would have lost in the first round." She was very clear that if it hadn't been for Lin Yu teaching her the Azure Cloud Sword to counter Requiem, and for reminding her of the characteristics of Devour, she wouldn't have had a chance to win. Can you predict the future? Su Wanqing couldn't help but ask. Lin Yu flicked her forehead without hesitation. Idiot, who has such an ability? Why are you hitting me? To wake you up. Predict the future? Dream on. But if you listen to me from now on, I guarantee your journey will be smooth sailing. Su Wanqing muttered under her breath, why does this guy boast so seriously? Yet, in her heart, she couldn't help but gain a newfound respect for Lin Yu. In the second match, Lin Ziyi easily defeated her opponent. Wudu's martial artists were renowned for their beast-taming skills, and Lu Yuyu was a genius in support, capable of enhancing her beast partner's strength to the late first tier. Even so, Lin Ziyi didn't use any innate talents or martial techniques, she won with a single strike, her strength chillingly overwhelming. Lin Ziyi. Lin Yu mused. The broadcast announced again, third match of the round of 16, Zhonghai City's Lin Yu versus Tiandu's Ji Changkong. Another one from Tiandu? Su Wanqing frowned and cautioned, Lin Yu, be careful. You're worried about me? Lin Yu raised an eyebrow. No, I'm not. She instinctively denied it but then added softly, alright, maybe just a little. Lin Yu laughed. You're worried about the wrong person. In my eyes, they're either defeated opponents or soon-to-be defeated opponents. At the arena entrance, Lin Yu and Ji Changkong crossed paths. So, you're Lin Yu? The one with the S-tier talent? Yeah, but I don't know you. Ji Changkong sneered coldly. I'm Ji Changkong. You'll remember me soon enough because I'll defeat you and avenge Xiao Yu. Lin Yu scoffed. Such a chatterbox. He turned to leave, while Ji Chunkong's face darkened, his eyes locked onto Lin Yu's retreating figure with fury. The match began. Ji Chunkong waved his right hand, specks of light flickering as energy beams spread across the arena like a web. His A-tier talent, floating cannon, was on full display. You have nowhere to run. I'll crush you instantly and make Shanghai City understand what it feels like to be at the bottom. Ji Chunkong roared arrogantly. Lin Yu smirked coldly. The loudest and weakest ones are always the first to fall. Chaotic divine thunder. Black lightning gathered behind Lin Yu, colliding head-on with the light beams of the floating cannon. It was a pure contest of raw power. In Tiandu's private box, Lin Ziyi sneered. This guy is doomed. Daring to face Ji Chunkong's floating cannon head-on, what a reckless fool. In the audience, everyone held their breath. Lightning and light beams clashed incessantly, with the explosions echoing deafeningly. Suddenly, after a massive blast, the result was revealed. Lin Yu stood firmly in the arena, while Ji Chunkong lay outside, disheveled, his clothes torn, his skin scorched black, unable to move. Impossible. Lin Ziyi shot to her feet, even spraying the tea she had just sipped. Lin Yu called out to the medics, "Come save him." Then, he turned to glare coldly at Tiandu's box, a meaningful smirk playing on his lips. You all, just wait. What a Lin Yu. What a Shanghai City. After being at the bottom for so many years, do you really think you can rise up now? Tiandu First High's principal, Zhang Wenyuan, slammed his fist on the tea table in anger, his fury reaching its peak. Lin Ziyi. Understood, Lin Ziyi replied coldly, her gaze resolute. Good. I'll await your good news. Meanwhile, the atmosphere in Shanghai City's box was entirely different. Ha ha. I told you this kid had something. Even in a direct confrontation, we've got nothing to fear. Wang Guodong laughed heartily, showering Lin Yu with praise. Zhang Tian, though still displeased with the events of the past few days, let out a snort. Humph, not bad. When it came to external matters, his stance aligned perfectly with Shanghai City's. Lin Yu's performance had completely ignited Shanghai City's morale. They were no longer the underdogs, they were fighting back with force. Outside the private box, Lin Yu was chatting with Gu Junwu. It seems your trip to the Thunder Mountain Range was quite fruitful, Gu Junwu said, admiration gleaming in his eyes. After all, Lin Yu had not only demonstrated extraordinary strength but had also saved Gu Qinshue's life. The weapon you commissioned will be ready tomorrow. That fast? Lin Yu was surprised. Gu Junwu smiled silently. After all, he had specifically requested the help of a senior expert from the capital, someone who rarely took action. How could the efficiency not be high? By the way, about the items from the mission. Lin Yu probed cautiously. What items? Gu Junwu replied with a look of confusion. Weren't the mission results already brought back by Qianxue? Don't tell me you're hoarding something? Lin Yu instantly understood. Gu Junwu was turning a blind eye, clearly implying, the relic of the Thunder Crystal Dragon, you handle it yourself. Alright, mission report concluded. Now, this is my personal thanks, Gu Junwu said solemnly. Thank you for saving Qianxue. If there's anything within my power, not excessive, just ask. Lin Yu's eyes lit up, his lips curling into a grin. Then I won't hold back, heh. Seeing the sly smile on Lin Yu's face, Gu Junwu couldn't help but regret, did I speak too soon? At the end of the first day of matches, the advancement list was finalized. 2 from the capital, 1 from Tiandu, 1 from Wudu, 2 from Xingfu Mountain, and 2 from Shanghai City. Shanghai City's Xia Zichen was unlucky, facing Lu Jingyuan in the first round and losing without suspense. That night, Su Wanqing trained diligently under Lin Yu's supervision. Raise your sword higher, put in more strength. While instructing her, Lin Yu analyzed, tomorrow's opponent, Ruan Yao, specializes in charm techniques. Mental strength will be key. If you really can't hold on, then. The next day, the second round began as scheduled. First match of the quarterfinals, Shanghai City's Lin Yu vs Tiandu's Lin Ziyi. Wow, it's Shanghai City against Tiandu again, and both contestants have the surname Lin, how amusing. Yeah, if Lin Ziyi loses, Tiandu will be completely wiped out. They'll really be at the bottom then. Amid the murmurs of the crowd, Lin Yu and Lin Ziyi made their entrance. Lin Ziyi's gaze was dark and menacing, like a predator locking onto its prey, eager to tear Lin Yu to shreds. In contrast, Lin Yu appeared relaxed and lazy, as if victory was already in his grasp. Begin the match. In terms of attack, I'm not your equal, but I refuse to believe you're strong in every aspect. Lin Ziyi roared, his aura surging as yellow light enveloped his fists. An A-level talent, Lion King Fist. It concentrated vital energy into the fists, enhancing strength, speed, and even defense. A versatile, all-encompassing enhancement ability. As long as you leave an opening, I'll tear you apart. With a sudden burst of speed, Lin Ziyi charged forward, his fists wrapped in yellow light, aiming directly at Lin Yu. Lin Yu shifted slightly, his body cloaked in black lightning, easily evading the attack. This speed? Come on, faster, Lin Yu taunted playfully. Heh, as you wish. Lin Ziyi sneered coldly, his probing attacks growing faster and faster as he observed Lin Yu's movement patterns. After several exchanges, Lin Ziyi suddenly smirked. Your quick movements seem to have a limit. 10 meters, about the maximum range, isn't it? He leapt into the air, yellow light on his fists intensifying as countless fist shadows rained down. The violent winds from his punches engulfed the 10-meter radius around Lin Yu, cutting off all escape routes. It's over. Lin Ziyi bellowed as the storm of fist winds roared toward Lin Yu. Lin Ziyi's power is incredible, he can unleash this many fist winds in an instant. What did you expect? Big brother Lin is ranked first on the Heaven Capital Genius list. Losing to him would be an honor for Lin Yu. With no escape routes left, Lin Yu's in serious trouble this time. An S-level talent's attack is so overwhelming, how strong can his defense possibly be? At this close range, even if he tries to clash head-on like yesterday, the residual energy from the collision would severely injure him. Most spectators believed Lin Yu was now cornered, the outcome seemingly decided. In the Jianhai City viewing box, everyone held their breath, their faces filled with worry. Yet at the center of the arena, Lin Yu stood coldly and resolutely. Not bad, you're clever, able to see through my movement patterns. Defense was indeed my weakness. His tone was calm, yet sharp with confidence. But I'm sorry to say, that was a few days ago. You're too late now. Second level of the lightning law, condense. Countless black lightning bolts coalesced into a circular shield, hovering in front of Lin Yu. The incoming fist winds vanished upon contact with the shield. With precise control, Lin Yu maneuvered the shield, effortlessly avoiding the residual force of the attacks and advancing toward Lin Ziyi unscathed. This is impossible. How can your lightning be used like this? Lin Ziyi's expression was filled with disbelief. Lin Yu sneered. There's a lot you don't know. First level of the lightning law, silence. A beam of concentrated lightning shot straight toward Lin Ziyi. He retreated swiftly, scoffing, humph. I'm not Ji Changkong, I won't foolishly take your attack head-on. Speed? I'm no slouch either. What followed was a series of attacks where Lin Yu's lightning repeatedly missed, while Lin Ziyi counterattacked with fist winds during his evasions. The two were locked in a stalemate for a while. Ha, is that all you've got? Without your S-level talent, you would have lost ages ago. In the end, you're just some lucky punk. Lin Ziyi mocked, trying to provoke him. Lin Yu sighed inwardly. As expected of an enhancement-type talent, his physical attributes were absurdly high. However, Lin Yu wasn't in a hurry. After breaking through in the lightning law, his energy consumption had decreased significantly, allowing him to sustain a prolonged fight. Yet, he suddenly changed his mind, he decided to win in a different way. With a flick of his right hand, his spatial ring glowed faintly. A long spear materialized in his grip, its tip a striking blue-violet, and its shaft a gleaming silver-white. This was Thunderbolt, a spear crafted with the horn of a lightning crystal dragon. Oh, you want to fight up close? I'm game. Lin Ziyi smirked, pulling out a massive blade and gripping it with both hands. Close combat is my specialty. Without your S-level talent, you'll regret this. Lin Ziyi brimmed with confidence. After all, most spectators had never seen Lin Yu use a spear. But in the front row, Su Yaowen smiled knowingly, he had witnessed Lin Yu's astonishing spear skills on surveillance footage. Take this. Lin Ziyi launched his attack first, wielding the blade in a display of the Overlord blade technique. His domineering aura pressured his opponent, a signature move that had secured him many victories. As the blade's glow approached, Lin Yu's eyes sharpened. He thrust his spear forward. Raging Thunder Spear, renowned for its unparalleled speed. Sidestepping the attack, Lin Yu's spear struck the blade directly. Clang! The metallic clash sent a numbing shock through Lin Ziyi's arms, weakening his grip on the blade. Lin Yu followed up with a relentless flurry of spear strikes, as swift and fierce as a storm. Clang! 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 The spear shadows overwhelmed Lin Ziyi, leaving him struggling to defend. Frustration boiled within him. I swing once, and he stabs a dozen times. This guy is cheating. Sensing the dire situation, Lin Ziyi roared in anger, unleashing an even stronger aura with his ultimate move, Earth-Splitting Slash. But Lin Yu had already seen through it. With precise spearwork, he guided the blade's trajectory away. Lin Yu spoke coldly, "I'm done playing. Let's end this." The spear's momentum surged again. The essence of the raging thunder spear lay in each strike being faster and stronger than the last. Lin Ziyi was completely suppressed, unable to counter at all. Every strike from the spear sent waves of pain through his arms. Finally, after dozens of exchanges, Lin Ziyi's blade was struck from his hands, leaving him utterly defeated. With his weapon gone, Lin Yu's spear pointed directly at Lin Ziyi. Lin Ziyi raised his arms in a futile attempt to block, relying on brute strength. But the spear's tip was indomitable, its force like a raging torrent. He had no chance of stopping it. In the next instant, he was sent flying, crashing to the ground. Looking up, he saw Lin Yu's spear tip hovering at his throat. "You've lost." Lin Ziyi clenched his teeth in silence, furiously punching the ground, leaving a dent before turning and walking away. The first match of the quarterfinals, Shanghai City's Lin Yu wins. Thunderous applause erupted throughout the arena, cheers echoing like a tidal wave. The live broadcast chat rooms exploded with excitement except for those in Heaven Capital's viewing box. Their entire team had been eliminated, all at the hands of Shanghai City. Zhang Wenyuan slumped into his seat, his eyes vacant. An S-level talent, is it truly invincible? The fierce clash between Lin Yu and Lin Ziyi ignited a frenzy among the audience. However, the subsequent matches proved to be anticlimactic. In the second match, Lu Jingyuan faced Fang Zhiheng. What seemed like a battle was more of a farce. Lu Jingyuan stood motionless while Fang Zhiheng flailed around like a madman, ending the match in a farcical manner. The third match was even duller. Qin Bing from Xingfu Mountain activated a defensive formation, withstanding 20 minutes of relentless attacks from his opponent before they conceded out of frustration. All the pressure now shifted to the final match. The final match of the quarterfinals, Su Wanqing from Shanghai City versus Ruan Yao from the capital. As the two young women stepped onto the stage, the audience erupted into fervent discussion. Senior Ruan Yao is already stunning, but Su Wanqing is absolutely breathtaking. Her figure is perfect, and her face is so adorable. Ruan Yao's seductive gaze is practically soul-stealing. "Senior, step on me. Sweet girl supremacy. Su Wanqing, I'm a fan now." Of course, aside from appearances, the battle of strength was the real focus. Most people favored Ruan Yao, simply because she hailed from the capital, the symbol of power in Huagua. Ignoring the chatter, Su Wanqing turned her head to glance toward the private viewing box. Lin Yu stood there, arms crossed, his lips forming the clear words, "You can do it." Su Wanqing smiled softly, her confidence unwavering. She would win because Lin Yu had said so. The battle begins. Ruan Yao's face was adorned with a playful smile. "Little sister, your purple mist looks quite impressive. Can you tell big sister its secret?" Su Wanqing returned the smile. "Sure, but can big sister also tell me what would convince you to surrender?" As soon as Su Wanqing finished speaking, she felt a wave of dizziness, as though an invisible force was tugging at her. She immediately focused her mind, quickly dispelling the interference. "Enchantment?" Su Wanqing narrowed her eyes and muttered softly, "This one is certainly tricky." Ruan Yao's innate ability, Fox Charm, Grade A, allowed her to silently and subtly charm others through her aura, gaze, or voice, a skill particularly adept at catching opponents off guard. Seeing her attempt fail, Ruan Yao's smile didn't falter. A soft whip appeared in her hand as she said, "Little sister, big sister is going to teach you a lesson now." The moment she spoke, the whip extended abruptly, snaking towards Su Wanqing like a venomous serpent. Su Wanqing raised her sword to parry, but the whip wound around her blade instantly, rendering it immobile. Worse yet, the whip slithered along and coiled around her body, bringing a seductive sense of helplessness. Suddenly, Su Wanqing unleashed her erosion mist, rolling waves of purple smoke surging forth. The whip recoiled as if struck by lightning, retreating instantly. "This mist is such a nuisance," Ruan Yao muttered with a frown. Seizing the opportunity, Su Wanqing advanced with her sword, closing in on Ruan Yao in an instant. However, a pink mist rose around Ruan Yao, and as soon as Su Wanqing came into contact with it, she felt her strength ebb away, forcing her to retreat swiftly. The two stood several meters apart, locked in a stalemate. In the viewing box above, Lin Yu observed the scene with a calm expression. He knew that the advantage lay with Su Wanqing. While Ruan Yao's enchantment aura was powerful, as long as Su Wanqing avoided close combat, the threat was limited. On the other hand, Su Wanqing's erosion mist could ignore any energy-based attacks entirely. Su Wanqing hesitated no longer. Raising her sword, she called out, "Heaven fall." A wave of cyan energy surged forth, enveloping her sword and charging directly at Ruan Yao. Ruan Yao flicked her whip, which transformed into a ribbon that layered upon itself, forming a three-dimensional barrier. The cyan energy wave crashed against the barrier, bending it into a terrifying arc, but ultimately failed to break through. The barrier restored itself as if nothing had happened. Ruan Yao's use of the Phantom Whip, an intermediate martial technique, was truly extraordinary, flexible yet resilient, endlessly adaptable. On the battlefield, the whip transformed into ribbons that danced wildly, weaving into a ribbon cage that obscured Su Wanqing's vision. A sense of danger permeated the air, momentarily clouding her mind. Little sister, you're so careless. Big sister is already by your side. Ruan Yao's voice, laced with enchantment, slithered into Su Wanqing's ears like a venomous serpent. Su Wanqing immediately snapped to attention, forcing herself to focus. She took a step back, swinging her sword to tear through part of the ribbons. Yet her strike seemed to vanish into nothingness, leaving her still trapped. With her vision obscured, she was like a fish on the chopping block, completely at the mercy of her opponent. Stop struggling, little sister. You won't escape. Ruan Yao's voice came and went, as if a lullaby, slowly eroding Su Wanqing's mental defenses. Her head grew heavier, and the murmurs in her ears became more pronounced. Yes, relax. Just fall asleep, and it will all be over. No, I can't. Su Wanqing shook her head vigorously, grasping a fleeting moment of clarity and swinging her sword once more. It's useless. That move won't break my defenses, Ruan Yao chuckled lightly, her eyes filled with confidence. Su Wanqing remained silent. Memories of Lin Yu teaching her sword techniques flashed through her mind. Lowering her sword slightly, she summoned a massive gravitational force, pulling all the surrounding ribbons toward her. This was the second technique of the Azure Cloud sword style. Azure Cloud, return to the abyss. A vortex roared to life as cyan sword energy erupted, shredding the ribbons in an instant. With her cover gone, Ruan Yao's figure was exposed to Su Wanqing's right. Without hesitation, Su Wanqing slashed her sword. Ruan Yao dodged frantically but retreated into the corner of the arena. At this point, she had nowhere left to run. This strike will decide the winner. Su Wanqing raised her sword high as cyan energy waves surged like a tsunami, forming a pillar of light that pierced the heavens. This was the third technique of the Azure Cloud sword style. Azure Cloud, Break of Dawn. The pillar of light crashed down with a deafening roar, aiming directly at Ruan Yao. In the final instant, ribbons suddenly cocooned Ruan Yao, and the entire arena was engulfed in blinding light. Is it over? Someone whispered. With the power of Su Wanqing's strike, it should be enough, right? Wait. Ruan Yao is still standing. As the light dissipated, Su Wanqing was gasping for air, her energy nearly depleted. Ruan Yao's figure reappeared, her two fox tails swaying behind her. The innate ability Fox Charm wasn't limited to enchantment. Her fox tails were her trump card, capable of doubling her abilities, though at the cost of exponentially increased stamina consumption. With the defense of her doubled ribbons, she had forcibly withstood Su Wanqing's ultimate move. Little sister, you're truly impressive, forcing me to this point. But the game is over now, Ruan Yao said coldly as ribbons surged toward Su Wanqing like a tidal wave. Exhausted, Su Wanqing had no strength left to resist. The ribbons ensnared her, her sword falling from her grasp as her body was lifted toward Ruan Yao. The power of enchantment struck again, and her gaze began to dull. Little sister, your face is truly enviable, Ruan Yao murmured, her slender fingers brushing against Su Wanqing's cheek. But this match is mine. Just as she raised her hand to conclude the battle, her body suddenly trembled. Her arm froze mid-air before dropping weakly to her side. Su Wanqing, still bound by ribbons, stirred slightly, her eyes regaining clarity. How is this possible? How did you break free from my enchantment? Ruan Yao asked weakly. By concentrating all my mental energy and relinquishing control over the rest of my body. I pretended to be under your control, waiting for the moment you let your guard down to fight back, Su Wanqing replied calmly. This strategy had been taught to her by Lin Yu. She had seen through Ruan Yao's trump card from the beginning and set a trap of her own. Her true trump card was her innate ability, Moonlit Sword, a talent that allowed her to conjure a razor-sharp sword purely from mental energy, without the need for a physical blade. Referee, the match is over, Su Wanqing declared, her voice weak but resolute. Ha? Oh, right. The referee snapped back to attention and announced the result, Su Wanqing wins. As soon as the words were spoken, Su Wanqing collapsed, unconscious. The arena fell silent before erupting into thunderous applause. A faint cough broke the quiet. Su Wanqing slowly sat up, finding herself in a resting room. Awake? How do you feel? Lin Yu's calm voice came from beside her bed. My whole body feels awful. I'm exhausted, Su Wanqing murmured lazily as she lay back down, her voice tinged with a hint of coquettishness. All right, then rest well, Lin Yu said, standing up to leave. Wait. Su Wanqing rolled her eyes. Can't you show a little more concern for me? I just fought a tough battle. You're just exhausted from overexertion. It's not like you're seriously injured. I know your condition well, Lin Yu replied matter-of-factly. Lin Yu. Su Wanqing stomped her feet in anger. Don't shout so loud. It's not like I can't hear you. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Alright, then come find me when you do. I'll be in the training room on the 3rd floor. Lin Yu pushed the door open and left, leaving Su Wanqing fuming with anger, furiously pounding the pillow to vent her frustration. Time passed, though it was unclear how long. Finally, Su Wanqing found Lin Yu's room. Knock knock. Come in. Lin Yu sat cross-legged on the floor, eyes closed in meditation. When he saw Su Wanqing enter, he spoke in a calm tone. See? I told you it was just a small issue. It's already resolved now, isn't it? Su Wanqing didn't reply, her lips pursed, harboring a stomach full of grievances. You're up against Qin Bing tomorrow. No problem, right? Su Wanqing deliberately changed the subject. Qin Bing's formations are indeed troublesome, but that's about it, Lin Yu replied with an unruffled expression. Su Wanqing frowned, her heart tightening. Qin Bing was ranked first on the Star Mansion Mountain Genius list, and his formations had given countless opponents headaches. Even the mighty Lu Jingyuan had described them as very troublesome. Tomorrow. Lin Yu's tone suddenly turned cold. You should just surrender in your match. Why? Su Wanqing's eyes widened in disbelief. Because you can't beat Lu Jingyuan. Lin Yu's gaze locked onto her, unflinching and unapologetic. You. Su Wanqing was indignant, yet unable to refute him. Even if you want to probe his limits, it's not worth it. Better to conserve your strength, Lin Yu said coolly. Otherwise, today's exhaustion might just be the beginning. Su Wanqing bit her lip, yet a faint warmth surfaced in her heart. Are you worried I'll get hurt? Don't overthink it. I just think it's unnecessary. Lin Yu glanced at her. Besides, I've taught you so much. Consider yourself half a disciple. If word got out that my disciple was beaten to a pulp, it would be embarrassing for me too. The fleeting warmth vanished in an instant. Su Wanqing stomped her foot in anger. Who wants to be your disciple? Then what do you want to be? Lin Yu raised an eyebrow. I. Su Wanqing's face turned bright red, unable to say a word. Lin Yu chuckled lightly and remarked casually, alright, I've decided. You're mine now. Don't think about running away. After all, I've taught you so much, you can't escape. In Su Wanqing's ears, only one sentence lingered, you're mine now. That night, it was unclear who stayed awake until dawn. At the competition venue, the host's enthusiasm was palpable. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the final day of the 5 Regions Friendship Tournament. Today, the top 4 contestants will battle it out for the championship. As the host announced the names, the crowd erupted in thunderous cheers. Su Wanqing, Lin Yu, Lu Jingyuan, Qin Bing. In the first match, Su Wanqing chose to forfeit, directly conceding. No one criticized her, after all, her opponent was Lu Jingyuan, and surrendering was the wise decision. All eyes immediately turned to Lin Yu and Qin Bing. Lin Yu, Qin Bing, Qin Bing. The two stepped onto the stage. Lin Yu wielded his lightning spear, while Qin Bing held his formation disc. The winner would go on to challenge Lu Jingyuan, who was hailed as second to none, but above all others. The battle was about to begin. To be honest, I've considered many possibilities, but I never expected to face you in the end. Qin Bing stood in the arena, his expression calm, as if everything was within his grasp. There was no ripple of emotion on his face, yet his tone carried a sharp edge. They all say you're just a paper tiger relying on your S-class talent to bluff your way through. But now, I see you have some skill after all. Why not find out how much skill I really have? Lin Yu smirked, beckoning provocatively with his finger. Heh, I'd be delighted. The two took their positions, and the signal sounded suddenly. Match, start. Qin Bing moved instantly, his formation disc spinning rapidly as yellow light erupted. 7 transparent barriers appeared out of thin air, trapping Lin Yu securely within. That formation again. Lin Yu's in danger. Exactly. All of Qin Bing's previous opponents were stuck in this and couldn't break through. Lin Yu scanned the barriers, his expression calm. He knew them well, he had watched Qin Bing's previous match recordings countless times. The other contestants had struggled desperately, unable to breach the barriers, and ultimately had no choice but to admit defeat. Qin Bing raised his chin slightly, a hint of contempt in his eyes. If you can't break this formation, this will be the end of the road for you. Your formation is indeed impressive, but unfortunately, you're up against me. Lin Yu wasted no more words, raising his right hand.
Black lightning crackled and coiled in his palm, emitting a sharp, crackling sound.
It's useless.
No matter how strong your lightning is, as long as the formation isn't broken in one strike, it will automatically repair itself, draining your stamina until you collapse.
You're awfully chatty. The lightning split into 4 bolts, shooting toward the barriers. How could he?
Xin Bing froze, his expression instantly becoming serious.
It's not a coincidence.
Lin Yu's lips curled into a faint smile, his tone indifferent.
The 7-star formation prides itself on its defensive capabilities. The barriers share energy between them.
Most people aim to focus their attacks on a single point, but that only results
in the barriers regenerating endlessly, until their strength is exhausted.
However, if you strike 4 barriers simultaneously, the energy link is severed, and the formation collapses. Before his words even finished, the lightning surged violently. 4 barriers shattered on the spot, with no sign of recovery.
He actually broke Lin Yu's formation? Break it? More like he had it figured out from the start. Lin Yu's amazing.
In the arena, Xin Bing's face turned pale, his previous confidence replaced by panic.
How do you know the formation's weakness?
Because I know a little bit about formations, Lin Yu replied nonchalantly. It's nothing worth mentioning. In his past life, he had been mentored by a master, becoming proficient in various formations. Later, on the alien battlefield, he had achieved countless victories. To him, these formations were child's play. Unwilling to accept defeat, Xin Bing manipulated his formation disc again, summoning an offensive formation this time. From within the 5 barriers, a horde of beasts emerged.
Lin Yu sneered, the 100-beast formation? This is barely a mini version. He casually pointed. The formation's core is at the center of the barrier tops. The black lightning struck true, shattering the formation once more. Impossible. How do you know everything?
Xin Bing was on the verge of losing his mind, frantically attempting various formations.
Yet no matter how he changed tactics, Lin Yu easily identified the flaws and broke them with a single strike. Is there no formation that can trap him? Xin Bing's face twisted in despair.
When he looked up, Lin Yu's spear was already pointed directly at him.
You've lost. Step down. Xin Bing staggered backward, defeated. The Star Mansion Mountain's prideful genius had suffered his first complete defeat. Second match of the semifinals, Zhanghai City, Lin Yu wins. After a brief silence, the crowd erupted into cheers. Lin Yu is incredible. I've decided he's my new idol.
Lin Yu, however, raised his spear, its tip pointing directly at the capital's VIP box.
You're next.
His voice was low, but it carried undeniable authority.
Whoa, that's bold. Gu Junwu frowned, reminding him, Lin Yu, you have an hour to rest. That's unnecessary. Lin Yu shook his head. The last fight didn't take much effort. Let's finish this quickly so I can clock out early. Lin Yu is unstoppable. Cheers erupted once again.
In the VIP suite of the capital, Principal Cheng Tianyu nodded calmly.
Go ahead. Thus, Lu Jingyuan walked slowly onto the stage, standing face to face with Lin Yu. The final round of the Eastern Region's 5-domain friendship tournament begins now. As Gu Junwu's announcement echoed, his figure vanished in an instant. However, in the next second, Lu Jingyuan raised his hand and spoke in a calm tone. Referee, I forfeit. What? The entire audience was in an uproar, their faces filled with confusion. Even Lin Yu frowned. He had no prior dealings with Lu Jingyuan, the prince of the capital, so why would the latter voluntarily concede? Are you sure? Gu Junwu approached Lu Jingyuan cautiously, his tone probing. I'm sure.
Lu Jingyuan smiled faintly.
Brother Lin is brimming with vigor and strength.
I yield the championship of this tournament to him.
Gu Junwu shrugged helplessly and nodded. All right then. And so, the champion of this 5-domain friendship tournament is Zhanghai City's Lin Yu. As Gu Junwu's voice fell, the crowd erupted into applause and chatter. Lin Yu frowned slightly and began to walk off the stage. But just as his foot was about to step off the platform, he abruptly stopped. Swish! He whirled around, dodging Lu Jingyuan's sudden sneak attack with a sidestep. A sharp crack echoed in the air, and the surrounding space shattered like broken glass. The illusion before him collapsed, and reality returned. Lin Yu still stood on the battle stage, just one step away from leaving. The crowd erupted into a frenzy of discussion. What just happened? What's wrong with Lin Yu? Don't rush, my friend. Lu Jingyuan awakened the A-rank talent domain of deception, which can create illusions. No wonder. Lin Yu must have been caught in an illusion just now. On the stage, Lu Jingyuan stood poised, his folding fan in hand, exuding elegance. However, his eyes glimmered with excitement. Brother Lin, how did you realize you were trapped in an illusion?
Just luck. In the moment of elimination, Lin Yu replied coldly, though inwardly he sneered, who would concede without any reason. Heh, then brother Lin should be more cautious from now on. Before Lu Jingyuan's voice had fully fallen, his pupils suddenly dilated. Lin Yu's heart tightened, and he swiftly sidestepped. An instant later, the spot where he had stood exploded violently. Instant cast ocular technique? Lin Yu quickly discerned the detail, analyzing it thoroughly before sneering. It's merely a high-speed attack beyond the naked eye's perception. Seeing his attack miss, Lu Jingyuan sneered and unleashed his I-burst technique once again. Lin Yu, however, remained composed, channeling his lightning energy to meet the attack head-on.
The two forces collided mid-air and annihilated each other.
Since returning from the Thunder Mountain range, Lin Yu's strength had surged. His spiritual power had advanced to the late stage of the first tier, nearly approaching
the second tier. With the support of his enhanced spiritual power, he could easily lock onto Lu Jingyuan's attack trajectories and neutralize the pressure. Not bad, your reactions are quick.
Lu Jingyuan smiled faintly. However, petty tricks are not my style. Before he finished speaking, his figure slowly began to rise into the air, his gaze sharp and piercing.
In the presence of Principal Chang, I promised to defeat you in 4 moves. The last 2 don't count. Now, I'll get serious.
Lu Jingyuan raised his hand into a gripping motion, and Lin Yu suddenly felt the world spin.
When he reopened his eyes, he found himself in a
strange space, a water surface as clear as a mirror beneath his feet, a blue sky above him identical to reality, and nothing else in sight. Lin Yu stood cautiously in place. Suddenly, the water rippled and surged upward, forming a water curtain.
When the curtain vanished, a figure appeared. It was someone identical to Lin Yu. A replication ability? Lin Yu coldly assessed. The water curtain clone spoke with Lu Jingyuan's voice. Welcome to the realm of mirror flowers and water moon. Your opponent is an exact replica of yourself. Martial arts, talents, spiritual power, even memories are identical. Lin Yu, how will you save yourself? Before the words had fully faded, the clone attacked first. Wielding the thunder spear, it unleashed the thunderbolt strike directly at Lin Yu. Lin Yu sneered and counterattacked in kind. Their spear shadows intertwined, and the two were evenly matched, both retreating simultaneously. Then, black thunder roared and exploded violently.
The clone mimicked the move exactly, resulting in yet another stalemate.
Could it be true, as Lu Jingyuan said, that this clone is no different from the real one? Lin Yu frowned.
Attacking recklessly would only exhaust his energy, while the clone's pressure remained relentless and unyielding.
Wait! A sudden realization struck Lin Yu. He muttered under his breath, even the memories are the same? He turned abruptly and shouted, Lin Yu, as the martial god of the human race, you failed miserably in the Star Domain War, leading to an alien invasion and the destruction of Blue Star. You're the greatest sinner of humanity. The water curtain clone froze at the accusation, its attack halted. Then, mimicking Lin Yu's tone, it sneered, I am you, and you are me. If I'm a sinner to humanity, you can't escape that fate either.
Lin Yu stepped forward, his tone calm yet cutting.
Yes, I can't escape it.
But you deserve to die. The clone's voice suddenly grew agitated.
And you don't deserve to die? I don't.
Lin Yu's voice was steady but brimming with determination.
Reborn into this life, I have too much yet to accomplish. I will lead humanity to rise in the cosmos and defeat all enemies. So, I cannot die. The clone retorted, unwilling to back down, I can do those things too. You can't. Lin Yu's tone grew firmer. Why not? The clone roared in anger. Because you're nothing more than a copy in an illusion.
The moment you leave this place, you'll vanish into nothingness, Lin Yu sneered. So, you're destined to change nothing.
The clone fell silent, seemingly caught in an internal conflict. Lin Yu pressed on, if that's the case, why not end yourself?
A being as sinful as you has no reason to continue existing.
Lin Yu's final words struck like a thunderclap. The water curtain clone trembled violently, clutching its head and crouching on the ground, muttering repeatedly, why am I still alive? Why didn't I die? Moments later, it suddenly let out an anguished roar toward the heavens, what's the point of me being alive?
Before it could finish, the thunder spear pierced through the clone's body.
A faint smile appeared at the corner of Lin Yu's lips. The sins of the past cannot be undone. But in this life, I will reshape Blue Star's destiny. As for you, you're destined to vanish.
As the clone shattered, the illusion dissolved, and Lin Yu returned to reality. Not far away, Lu Jingyuan spat blood violently as the collapse of the illusion rebounded against him, shocking the spectators into a frenzy.
What just happened? Someone asked in confusion.
In just a few seconds, the tide of the battle had turned. Moments ago, Lu Jingyuan had been full of confidence, but now he was coughing up blood uncontrollably, while Lin Yu stood unscathed. Could Lin Yu have actually won? Someone in the crowd exclaimed, and the atmosphere instantly boiled over. In the Jianghai City VIP suite, the room erupted in celebration as everyone cheered. The rise of Jianghai begins today. Meanwhile, tutors from other regions consoled their students. Losing to a monster like that is nothing to be ashamed of. In the capital's VIP suite, although many wore worried expressions, Principal Chang Tianyu remained calm and composed. He knew that Lu Jingyuan still had one final trump card. Sure enough, on the martial stage, Lu Jingyuan suddenly burst into maniacal laughter. Lin Yu, you're impressive. Among those at the same level, only one other person besides him has ever broken my realm of mirror flowers and water moon. Now, let me show you my fourth move. Before the words had fully left his mouth, Lin Yu once again fell into an illusion. This time, he found himself in the clouds, surrounded by floating wisps of white, with a celestial staircase stretching endlessly before him. At the end of the staircase stood a towering white gate of immense grandeur. Welcome to the gate of heaven, came Lu Jingyuan's voice. He appeared before the grand gate, his four wings unfolding behind him like those of a deity. Here, I am the sovereign. All attacks are useless against me, and with a mere flick of my finger, I can decide your life or death. Lin Yu, this is the highest honor, you should feel fortunate. Lin Yu raised his head, a cold sneer curling his lips as he pointed at Lu Jingyuan. Sovereign? What nonsense! No one has ever controlled destiny. As he spoke, memories surged within Lin Yu. He recalled a past life, the so-called gods of that era who claimed to embody justice and light, looking down on all beings. Yet, in Lin Yu's eyes, they were nothing more than false gods, relying on their innate gifts and the protection of divine laws. By what right did they judge the fates of others? Lu Jingyuan didn't understand Lin Yu's anger. He merely raised his hand, and Lin Yu was instantly bound by an invisible force, unable to move. How does it feel to be at the mercy of destiny? Lu Jingyuan asked with a smug grin. Nothing special, Lin Yu snorted coldly. Suddenly, black lightning erupted from his body, shattering the restraints. In one swift motion, he counterattacked, hurling the thunderous energy toward Lu Jingyuan. However, Lu Jingyuan simply waved his hand, and the lightning was extinguished in an instant. Futile struggle. Lin Yu, you are strong, but in my presence, defeat is your destiny. Lu Jingyuan drew forth a massive holy sword. With just a casual swing, it disrupted the very space around them, its blade aimed directly at Lin Yu. Lin Yu reacted swiftly, transforming into a bolt of lightning to evade the attack. There's no escape. Here, I am the embodiment of divine will. Lu Jingyuan sneered, manipulating the illusionary space at will. No matter how Lin Yu dodged, the giant's sword relentlessly pursued him. At last, the blade struck Lin Yu, and an intense burst of light erupted amidst the sea of clouds. It's over, Lu Jingyuan declared, a triumphant smirk playing on his lips. To break through my gate of heaven, one's mental strength must surpass mine, he scoffed, casting a disdainful glance at Lin Yu. I am already a second-tier psychic. What can you possibly do to contend with my sovereign power? Before he could finish, his gaze abruptly locked onto a disturbance in the distance. The mists parted, and Lin Yu's figure emerged. Though slightly disheveled, he stood firm and unyielding. Impossible. How could you have withstood that strike? Lu Jingyuan's confidence began to waver. The suppression of the gate of heaven was still active. Lin Yu shouldn't have been able to resist. Desperate for victory, Lu Jingyuan swung his holy sword again and again, each strike aimed at Lin Yu. Yet no matter how many times he attacked, Lin Yu remained motionless, standing steadfast. Why won't you fall? Lu Jingyuan roared in frustration. Lin Yu calmly spat out a mouthful of blood, his gaze icy. To hell with your so-called divine will, no one can control my destiny. He raised his right hand, and countless bolts of lightning began to converge in his palm. This time, black and white thunder intertwined, as if the forces of creation and destruction were merging into one. I'll return your words to you, Lin Yu said coldly, a faint smirk tugging at his lips. Behold the true form of chaos god thunder, you're lucky to witness it. Chaos births all things, and all things return to chaos, he murmured. Black lightning brings destruction, white lightning fosters creation. Together, they form the ultimate power. Chaos god thunder's severance, a force capable of stripping an opponent of all their power. Against an opponent of the same tier like Lu Jingyuan, Lin Yu could deprive him of his strength for several minutes. In an instant, thunder filled the heavens and earth. No! My gate of heaven! Why can't I summon my power? Lu Jingyuan was utterly panicked. In the next moment, the black and white thunderbolts crashed down upon him. As the divine thunder descended, the illusion shattered. In reality, Lin Yu stood steadily in the center of the martial arena, while Lu Jingyuan, after a few feeble struggles, collapsed completely.
Director Gu, I've won.
You can announce the results now, Lin Yu said calmly. I hereby declare that the champion of this year's 5 Regions Friendship Tournament is Jianhai City's Lin Yu.
Gu Junhua's voice echoed across the arena.
The crowd erupted into a frenzy of cheers. Lin Yu even defeated Lu Jingyuan.
Jianhai City is unstoppable. Brother Lin, you're my idol from now on. Who dares mess with Jianhai City? This is insane.
Amid the shouts and applause, Lin Yu quietly left the stage. In Jianhai City's private box, Shinifei was the first to rush toward Lin Yu. Old Lin, you're my god, he exclaimed, only for Lin Yu to dodge effortlessly. Principal Jiang Tian beamed with pride, while the teachers and students surrounded Lin Yu, expressing their admiration.
You brat, you didn't let me down, Su Yaowen said sternly, only for Wang Guodong to expose him mercilessly. And who was the one shouting like crazy just now? Old Wang, can't you give me some face? Su Yaowen glared. What's face worth? Lin Yu, let me tell you, this guy in his younger days. Shut up, or I'll fight you here and now. Even as the two leaders bickered, their smiles betrayed their joy. Outside the box, Lin Yu walked to the railing, where Su Wanqing stood alone. Why aren't you celebrating with them? He asked. You're out here too, aren't you? Su Wanqing replied indifferently.
It's a bit noisy, Lin Yu shrugged, then flashed a mischievous grin.
Have you thought it over? Thought what over? Becoming my disciple, of course.
Lin Yu said with mock seriousness.
Standing before you is the champion of the 5 Regions Friendship Tournament, Lin Yu. Isn't that title enough for you? You're really set on being my master, huh? Su Wanqing gave him a sidelong glance, silently cursing his peculiar logic.
Of course. You've got talent, and your future master here is destined to become a martial god. Stick with me, and you'll have nothing to worry about.
Su Wanqing sighed and pinched the bridge of her nose. Fine, I accept. But I won't just be a disciple in the future.
What else would you be? Lin Yu asked, puzzled. Su Wanqing turned and walked away, leaving behind a cryptic remark, you'll find out someday.
Lin Yu scratched his head, pondering for a moment before concluding, whatever. Once she's my disciple, she can't run away.
After the tournament ended, Zhang Wanyuan of Tiandu scolded his students.
Remember, never make an enemy of Lin Yu.
Let this serve as a lesson, the path of martial arts is long. Xin Bing of Xingfu Mountain was the most shaken, even seeking therapy from a psychologist. As for Lu Jingyuan of the capital, supported by Ruan Yao, he glanced back at Jianhai City and murmured, Lin Yu, I hope you'll always remain ahead of me.
Late at night, Lin Yu knocked on Gu Junhua's door. Come in, Gu called. Director Gu, do you trust me? Lin Yu asked directly. What do you mean?
I can't explain, but I need you to stay in Jianhai City for a week. After that, you'll understand, Lin Yu said seriously. I'll vouch for this with my title as tournament champion.
You're leaving.
Where did we came the simultaneous question from Su Wanqing, Wang Guodong, and Su Yaowen in Jianhai No. 2 High School's principal's office.
It was the 6th day after the tournament.
During this time, Lin Yu had climbed the genius rankings again, reaching first in Jianhai
City, second nationally, and 10th in history.
Such achievements made Jianhai City treat him like their most precious treasure.
But now he was saying he wanted to go out? The three of them instantly grew tense. The school has nothing left to teach me.
The martial examination is approaching, and I want to clear my mind, Lin Yu explained calmly.
However, Wang Guodong and Su Yaowen were not so easily fooled.
The two exchanged a glance, forming their own judgments. Since the young man was unwilling to tell the truth, they decided to let him be.
Fine, but don't let it affect the martial examination. Understood.
Lin Yu then turned to Su Wanqing. Wanqing, come with me for a moment.
Su Wanqing was momentarily stunned but obediently followed him.
The two went to a secluded corner, and Lin Yu lowered his voice.
If I don't return in 5 days, go find Director Gu and tell him I've gone to Xingfu Mountain.
Hearing this, Su Wanqing's expression changed.
What are you going to do? Is it dangerous? I'll go with you. It's nothing, just a small matter. Director Gu is in Jianhai City, it's an extra layer of security.
Lin Yu gently ruffled Su Wanqing's hair, his tone light and reassuring.
Be a good disciple and stay here. When I come back, I'll bring you something nice.
Su Wanqing bit her lip but didn't insist further.
And one more thing, don't go out tomorrow, it's best if you stay in an air raid shelter. Why? No reason, just your master's orders.
Lin Yu turned and left, adding without looking back, if Director Gu leaves, you have a satellite phone, dummy. That night, at Jianhai City train station. Dear passengers, the train from Jianghai City to Xingfu Mountain is about to depart.
Please take your seats and have a pleasant journey.
Lin Yu leaned against the window, his gaze drifting into the darkness outside as memories of his past life surged within him. In his previous life, on an alien battlefield, a 7th-tier exotic beast, the Swiftwind Plume, which had awakened the law of wind, was severely injured but managed to escape to the back mountains of Jianghai City at the last moment.
Humans failed to discover it, and after recovering, it went berserk, ravaging the city with countless casualties.
By the time human experts arrived, the Swiftwind Plume used the law of wind to flee to Xingfu Mountain, triggering a beast tide and causing even greater disasters. In the end, numerous experts joined forces and set up an inescapable trap to destroy it. In this life, Lin Yu had planned ahead.
He had asked Gu Junwo to stay behind in Jianghai City, preparing to ambush the Swiftwind Plume.
If Gu Junwo failed, Lin Yu had a backup plan himself.
As for how a first-tier martial artist could confront a 7th-tier exotic beast,
Lin Yu's lips curled into a slight smile. The answer lay in the power of technology. More importantly, after the Swiftwind Plume was slain in his previous life, it left behind a sacred relic capable of awakening the law of wind. Naturally, Lin Yu wouldn't let such an opportunity slip by.
He was utterly confident in ensuring that the Swiftwind Plume wouldn't leave Xingfu Mountain alive this time.
The next day, there was news of a possible meteorite crash in the back mountains of Jianghai City. Inside the air raid shelter, Su Wanqing listened to the morning news in boredom, muttering, "It's just a meteorite, that guy Lin Yu is really." But in the end, she still didn't leave the shelter.
"Su Jie,"
Lin Xiaoxiao's voice called out.
"Xiao Xiao, why are you here?" Su Wanqing looked up in surprise.
"My brother told me to bring grandma here, but she wouldn't come, so I dragged her here." Lin Xiaoxiao grinned innocently. Su Wanqing gently pinched her cheek and said softly, "Xiaoxiao is such a good girl. Let's just wait here for a while." Her trust in Lin Yu deepened even further.
At that moment, in the back mountains,
"Director Gu, Lin Yu insisted that you stay, but it's just a small meteorite.
Don't you think?" Gu Junwo raised his hand to interrupt. "You all return to the capital first. I'll investigate further and return once I'm sure there's nothing wrong."
After his subordinates left, he unfolded his spiritual net, carefully probing every corner of the back mountains. Suddenly, his spiritual sense touched upon a hidden cave, and a foreboding feeling arose. In an instant, Gu Junwo appeared at the cave entrance, his gaze fixed on the pitch-black interior. From the darkness, two narrow, blood-red eyes suddenly lit up. Each eye alone was 2 meters in length. A giant exotic beast. Gu Junwo took a step back, his eyes narrowing. "And it can perfectly conceal its aura, it's intelligent." He immediately realized that its earlier ability to evade detection was no coincidence. At that moment, a massive bird-like exotic beast, tens of meters in length, burst from the cave and soared into the sky with an imposing presence. "This kid left me quite the surprise." Gu Junwo stared at it and let out a cold laugh. Without hesitation, Gu Junwo's figure flashed, shooting straight into the clouds. Man and beast faced off tens of meters apart in the sky. With his acute 9th-tier warrior senses, Gu Junwo instantly discerned that this exotic beast was gravely weakened. More importantly, its features revealed it didn't belong to Blue Star. The exotic beasts of Blue Star were almost completely isolated from the outside world. Though wild in nature, they rarely attacked humans unprovoked, so long as humans didn't invade their territories, the chaotic zones. But this beast was different. From its gaze, Gu Junwo sensed an intense killing intent, as well as an arrogant pride unique to its kind. Even on the brink of death, it remained unyielding. "If you're not from Blue Star, then you definitely can't be allowed to stay," Gu Junwo declared coldly, his killing intent surging. 7th-tier exotic beasts and above were rare on Blue Star, prized as valuable research specimens. However, this Swiftwind Plume was ferocious and violent, prompting Gu Junwo to decide on immediate extermination. Behind him, tens of thousands of flying swords materialized. Swordsmanship was a martial path revered by countless warriors, and Gu Junwo was no exception, though his talent was only rated as B tier. With the critical strike ability, and he hadn't been graced by the universal laws, forever limited to the 9th tier, through relentless effort, he had pushed his swordsmanship to its zenith. Critical strike allowed him to imbue weapons with special energy, unleashing devastating power. Gu Junwo's sword techniques could amplify their might up to 5,000 times. Each of the myriad flying swords could effortlessly tear through an ordinary 6th-tier exotic beast. With a wave of his hand, the swords all shot forward, targeting the Swiftwind Plume. Sensing the aura of death, the Swiftwind Plume's arrogance instantly turned to terror. It had thought it could rampage freely after arriving on this weak planet, but on just the second day, it encountered a 9th-tier warrior. Filled with unwillingness, it couldn't afford to hesitate and flapped its wings to flee, heading straight for the center of Jianghai City. The swift wind plume was incredibly fast. Empowered by the law of wind, its speed was on par with that of the 9th-tier Gu Junwu. Watching it flee toward Jianghai City, Gu Junwu roared in anger and quickly dialed a number.
Su Yaowen, activate the first-level defensive formation immediately. Now, do it.
Without waiting for a reply, he hung up and gave chase. Over Jianghai City, the massive swift wind plume blotted out the sky, casting a vast shadow. The citizens who hadn't yet evacuated were paralyzed with fear, their screams filling the air. The swift wind plume flapped its wings, unleashing countless wind blades that tore through buildings like paper. Gu Junwu clenched his teeth, diverting some of his flying swords to clear the falling debris, but this only widened the gap between him and the beast. Meanwhile, on a section of wall at Xingfu Mountain, two soldiers were chatting. I heard there's a powerful exotic beast causing trouble in Jianghai City, and even Director Gu can't handle it, one slacking soldier remarked. The other pointed at a screen. The live stream's over, that beast already ran away.
Escaped? Even Director Gu couldn't stop it?
The first man looked utterly shocked. I heard it was beaten half to death, then suddenly vanished. It probably used some special means, the other sighed. Meanwhile, deep within the chaotic white tier zone of Xingfu Mountain, a young man leaned against a large tree, breathing lightly.
He was Lin Yu, holding a white tier token that allowed him access to this area. After hours of clearing out first-tier exotic beasts, he had successfully set up an array core on the mountainside. They're here. A fierce wind roared, snapping the tree in half. Lin Yu looked up, and sure enough, the near-dead gale feather hawk descended from the sky. With a cold sneer, Lin Yu pressed the button in his hand. Instantly, four massive barriers rose from the mountainside, sealing the mountaintop into a closed space. The gale feather hawk panicked, flapping its wings in an attempt to flee, only to find its wings bound. Lin Yu stepped out of the shadows, his gaze icy. The high-tier array treasure heaven-severing domain, anything below tier 7 can't destroy it. No flight, no sound transmission. Today, you're not getting away. The moment Lin Yu appeared, the previously cautious gale feather hawk immediately relaxed. The reason was simple, Lin Yu was too weak. A first-tier warrior in front of a 7th-tier exotic beast was nothing but an ant. Even in its dying state, the gale feather hawk still retained 5th-tier strength, and this human wasn't even worth scratching. After futile attempts to attack the heaven-severing domain, the gale feather hawk simply sprawled on the ground, completely ignoring Lin Yu. As for Lin Yu,
he calmly pulled out a military-grade sniper rifle right in front of it, leisurely loading the weapon. The first specialized syringe round pierced the gale feather hawk's skin, the serum quickly spreading through its body. It didn't react, not even when the second shot followed. The tiny sting felt no different from a mild itch. After firing 2 rounds, Lin Yu retreated to observe from a distance. Within minutes, the gale feather hawk suddenly opened its eyes, flailing its wings wildly, clearly sensing something was wrong with its body.
Lin Yu smirked, the serum was working.
The so-called military serum number 3 was a type of neurotoxin, targeting the minds of exotic beasts and killing them silently. Despite the gale feather hawk's sharp senses, the poison had already begun sapping its strength. It tried to attack Lin Yu, but its wings faltered, and its body was powerless. Lin Yu's second method, military serum number 5, had successfully weakened its strength and speed, reducing the once mighty 7th-tier beast to the level of a 4th tier. Enraged, the gale feather hawk lashed out with wind blades, but Lin Yu's absolute defense easily nullified the attacks. This high-tier treasure could withstand strikes below tier 6, leaving the gale feather hawk helpless. Seeing its efforts were futile, the gale feather hawk's sanity shattered completely. It went on a rampage, flapping its wings and launching a frenzy of attacks at Lin Yu, but it couldn't so much as graze him. Lin Yu's chaotic divine thunder added insult to injury. Every time the beast tried to channel its wind laws, the thunder's disrupt property would instantly interrupt it. Every struggle the gale feather hawk made turned into a joke at Lin Yu's expense. Furious, it attempted to ram Lin Yu with its massive body, but Lin Yu's lightning-fast reflexes allowed him to easily dodge. The beast was left in a state of frenzy, its wind blades, body slams, and law-based attacks all neutralized. Lin Yu pressed forward relentlessly. Every time the gale feather hawk tried to catch its breath, he would inject another dose of serum, deepening the poison and further weakening it.
The quiet mountainside echoed with the gale feather hawk's desperate cries.
Unable to escape, unable to fight back, the 7th-tier beast fell into utter despair. For 3 days and nights, it struggled but could never shake off Lin Yu's pursuit.
Lin Yu, calm and methodical, drained the last remnants of its strength.
On the third day, Lin Yu gazed at the near-dead Gale Feather Hawk and remarked, "A 7th-tier exotic beast truly has a tough life."
It actually withstood
the neurotoxin for 3 days. Finally, with the injection of the final syringe, the Gale Feather Hawk collapsed to the ground, unable to rise again.
Lin Yu stood before it, a victorious smirk on his face.
The outcome had long been decided. As the Gale Feather Hawk fell with a deafening crash, a violent gust swept through the area.
Lin Yu remained unmoving, his gaze fixed coldly on the massive creature, waiting in silence.
He had already spent 3 days and nights, he wouldn't let any accidents occur now. 15 minutes passed, and the Gale Feather Hawk still showed no signs of life.
To be sure, Lin Yu summoned his chaotic divine
thunder again, striking several times until he was certain there was no trace of life left.
Only then did he cautiously approach.
With a cold chuckle, he muttered, "Dead for sure." Then, wielding a specially crafted long sword, he drove it straight into the Gale Feather Hawk's skull. The blade probed through the enormous head until Lin Yu finally found his target, a palm-sized golden crystal. The moment the crystal emerged, brilliant
golden light engulfed the mountaintop, accompanied by an earth-shaking roar.
The energy in the sonic wave immediately put Lin Yu on high alert.
Cursed miscalculation, he growled under his breath. Without hesitation, Lin Yu stored the golden crystal and the Gale Feather Hawk's corpse into his spatial ring.
Then, using the speed of his chaotic divine thunder, he swiftly retreated. He understood that the Gale Feather Hawk had poured its last remaining energy into the crystal, and its roar would inevitably attract every exotic beast within dozens of miles. Sure enough, moments later, the mountaintop was overrun with countless exotic beasts, the earth trembling beneath their stampede.
Lin Yu fled relentlessly.
Half an hour later, he finally found refuge in a hidden cave. Staring at the imposing walls of Sacred Might City in the distance, he muttered, "Finally safe."
He then retrieved the origin crystal, preparing to absorb it.
This crystal was a treasure of the universe, capable of bestowing the power of laws. Lin Yu silently celebrated his fortune. Had it not been for the Gale Feather Hawk's death, he wouldn't have gotten such a priceless gem. Absorbing such a treasure would undoubtedly cause a commotion. After setting up traps with his chaotic divine thunder, Lin Yu sat cross-legged and began to meditate, initiating the absorption process.
Meanwhile, atop the walls of Sacred Might City, 2 soldiers stood guard.
The tall, thin one suddenly nudged his companion.
"Look over there."
The burly soldier raised his binoculars, his face paling instantly, his legs trembling.
"A beast tide.
A massive beast tide is charging straight for the city walls.
Quickly, alert the higher-ups."
10 kilometers ahead of the beast tide, 4 young women staggered forward. They were members of the Allure Squad.
Zhang Lingxi and Zhang Lingyue had already lost consciousness, their waists severely injured. Yun Yan and Shang Guanyi struggled to carry them as they fled.
Both were battered and bruised, their ammunition nearly depleted, narrowly escaping the clutches of pursuing exotic beasts multiple times.
"We're almost out of ammo. Xiaoyi, is there any safe route left?"
Yun Yan panted, turning to look at Shang Guanyi, who wore a look of despair.
"No. We're surrounded." Hundreds, if not thousands, of exotic beasts emerged, encircling them completely.
Yun Yan and Shang Guanyi gritted their teeth, shielding their unconscious companions beneath a defensive treasure, preparing for a final stand. The beast horde roared and charged. The 2 women fought back with all their might, but exhaustion, pain, and hopelessness quickly eroded their resolve.
Soon, Yun Yan's defenses were breached.
A claw tore through her combat suit, blood spraying everywhere. Her limbs grew numb, the pain fading as her consciousness began to blur. So this is how it ends, she thought bitterly, closing her eyes to await death's embrace. Just as she was about to lose consciousness completely, a bolt of lightning descended from the heavens. Thunderous streaks of electricity swept through the area, reducing the beast horde to ashes in an instant. In her haze, Yun Yan thought she saw a glimmer of hope, but her throat was parched, unable to utter a sound, and she finally fainted.
"Chaos Divine Thunder, go."
With a sweeping motion of both hands, Lin Yu commanded black and white lightning to descend like divine punishment from the heavens. The bolts struck the beast horde mercilessly, leaving nothing but scorched earth in their wake. First-tier exotic beasts were instantly reduced to ashes, while second-tier beasts suffered devastating casualties, incapable of any resistance. The power of his top-tier destructive talent was undeniable, particularly in group combat. The beast horde had become nothing more than tools for him to amass battle achievements. 10 minutes earlier, Lin Yu had emerged from a cave after absorbing an origin crystal. His vitality value skyrocketed to 105 points, marking his official entry into the early second tier of martial arts. Meanwhile, his spiritual energy surged to 150 points, also reaching the early second tier. He had even successfully mastered the law of wind. However, the bad news was that outside the cave lay an endless beast tide. The death wail of the gale-wing beast had alarmed the exotic beasts throughout the entire chaos zone, drawing forth the surging tide. With a second-tier physique, second-tier mastery of the law of thunder, and first-tier mastery of the law of wind, Lin Yu's speed was comparable to that of a fourth-tier martial artist. At full capacity, he could even contend with a fifth-tier opponent. The law of wind further allowed him to recover stamina as he traveled. Utilizing his speed, he managed to shake off the beast tide and escape the danger zone. Just as he was about to rest, he encountered a familiar face. Lin Yu, it's you. Shangguani smiled weakly, joy flickering in her eyes. Lin Yu glanced at her briefly. Come over here. I'll take you all out of here. Once again, chaos divine thunder rained down, and the exotic beasts fell, wailing in agony. Taking advantage of the opening, Lin Yu flashed to the side of the four women. With a burst of lightning, they all disappeared from the battlefield. Back at the Sacred Might City wall, the defensive forces had already mobilized. Heavy weapons lined the front lines, and medical personnel swiftly carried the injured women away for treatment. As she was being taken, Shangguani grabbed Lin Yu's hand, her voice faint and strained. Captain. West Side. Lin Yu frowned. What a hassle. Despite his words, he had already turned and transformed into a streak of lightning, vanishing outside the city wall and heading straight westward. The beast tide in the Xingfu mountain region quickly became headline news across the country. Su Wanqing had just finished her training when she saw the report, her heart skipping a beat. Xingfu Mountain, isn't that where he went? Lin Yu had been away from Jianghai City for 4 days, with only 1 day left until their agreed-upon meeting. Yet, his satellite phone was unreachable. Anxiety gnawed at Su Wanqing, and in the end, she dialed Gu Junhua's number. Director Gu, it's Su Wanqing. Oh, it's you. What's the matter? Gu Junhua's tone was warm, as he had a favorable impression of Su Wanqing. Lin Yu went to Xingfu Mountain 4 days ago, and now I can't reach him. Gu Junhua frowned. What was that kid doing there? I don't know. He said to contact you if I couldn't reach him. After hanging up, Gu Junhua chuckled wryly. That kid really treats me like free labor. Though the beast tide at Xingfu Mountain was significant, it wasn't beyond the government's control. Gu Junhua had originally planned to stay out of it, but thinking of Lin Yu's potential and his own daughter, he ultimately decided to act. By the waterside in the Chaos Zone, Gu Qianxue was battling a third-tier exotic beast alone. A barrage of blue arrows shot forth, each splitting into 4 smaller ones that struck the beasts with precision, killing them instantly. After the Thunder Mountain expedition, she had absorbed a large quantity of origin crystals, allowing her mastery of the law of ice to break through to the third tier. Her new ability, Split Arrows, was a testament to her progress. I hope Yenner and the others make it back to the city wall safely, she murmured, pulling her bowstring taut once more before releasing another volley of arrows. To divert the attention of powerful enemies, she had chosen to act alone, buying time for her teammates. Though her strength was formidable and she could escape at any time, she remained steadfast in holding off the beast horde. The timing should be about right. Gu Qianxue loosed her final arrows and turned to leave. But at that moment, a hand shot out from the water, dragging her into its depths. She held her breath, her eyes scanning the surrounding dangers. Humanoid water ghouls at the early third tier, spiny fish at the mid-third tier. Their numbers were staggering. A coordinated attack came at her in an instant. In the water, her mobility was severely hindered, leaving her unable to counterattack and barely able to dodge. Several humanoid water ghouls grabbed hold of her ankles, pinning her in place. Activate your defensive barrier. A voice called out from above. It was Lin Yu. At his command, Gu Qianxue immediately activated her defensive artifact. The next moment, black and white lightning crashed down, engulfing the pond in destructive energy. Zap! Electric arcs surged, sweeping across the water's surface. Gu Qianxue's barrier shielded her, but the other exotic beasts weren't so lucky. They convulsed and writhed in the current, helpless against the onslaught. Third-tier beasts were charred and mutilated, while even the stronger ones were left paralyzed and unable to move. Get up here! Lin Yu's voice snapped her back to reality. She leapt ashore, only to find herself face-to-face with his grave expression. Behind you! In the blink of an eye, she spun around and fired an arrow, killing an exotic beast that had attempted a sneak attack. Let's leave this place. All right. The two swiftly broke through the encirclement of beasts and didn't stop until they reached a secluded pile of rocks. What are you doing here? Gu Qianxue asked. I had business in Xingfu Mountain. I ran into Yunyan and the others on the way, so I came over, Lin Yu replied calmly, his words concise.
How are Yunyan and the others? They're badly injured, but they're receiving treatment. They'll be fine. Hearing this, Gu Qianxue breathed a sigh of relief. That's good.
After a brief silence, she spoke softly, thank you.
For what?
For saving me back there, in the water.
Don't underestimate yourself. Even if I hadn't stepped in, you could have held out with your barrier. Lin Yu gave a faint smile. Gu Qianxue's face froze. Though his words were blunt, she couldn't deny their truth. Anyway, thank you for risking coming to find me.
She looked at Lin Yu, her gaze softening. This guy, his strength had clearly grown again. I thought we'd meet again at Kyoto Martial Academy, but I didn't expect it to be like this. Her disheveled appearance was reflected in Lin Yu's eyes. Her soaked battle attire clung to her skin, an undoubtedly awkward situation.
Stop staring. Gu Qianxue's face flushed red as she shrank back, embarrassed. Lin Yu quickly turned away, his expression slightly awkward. You should change your clothes. It's not convenient to move around like this.
Gu Qianxue bit her lip, muttering a warning under her breath, don't you dare peek. She immediately regretted it, as the remark only made the atmosphere more awkward.
Alright, you can turn around now.
When Lin Yu turned back, Gu Qianxue was once again composed, though her expression carried a trace of complexity. The two quickly analyzed the situation and reached a conclusion. The city wall was surrounded by the Beast Tide. The only way out was to kill the Beast King. But considering the Beast King might possess strength above the 6th tier, they exchanged a glance and unanimously abandoned this reckless idea. On the Sacred Might City wall, artillery boomed, and the defensive formations and firepower temporarily held back the Beast Tide's onslaught. Gu Junhua stood with his hands behind his back, his sharp gaze fixed on the battlefield.
At this stage, the attackers are primarily 3rd and 4th tier exotic beasts. It's still manageable. Despite this, unease lingered in his heart. The true terror of a beast tide didn't lie in the strength of individual beasts but in their endless numbers. Gu Qianxue had yet to return, and as her father, Gu Junhua couldn't help but worry.
Yet, as one of the city's high-tier combatants, he had to remain stationed at the wall, ready to respond to any sudden developments. I hope she's safe, he murmured, his deep gaze fixed on the horizon. On the other side, Lin Yu and Gu Qianxue decided to take a risk and investigate the rear of the beast tide. Taking advantage of the advancing battle lines, the two quietly infiltrated the high ground at the rear.
Do you see anything? Lin Yu asked.
Gu Qianxue put down the binoculars and analyzed. The beast tide is continuing to advance, but the position at the rear seems to be constrained. She pointed toward the distant forest. The beasts are converging from both sides, forming an inverted Y shape. The Beast King might be hiding there, Lin Yu's gaze fixed on the depths of the forest.
Gu Qianxue nodded but frowned.
The perimeter is densely packed with beasts, there's no way we can sneak in unnoticed.
Who says it's impossible? Lin Yu smirked and pulled out two thin, transparent garments. Gu Qianxue's eyes lit up. Invisibility cloaks? You actually have these.
These high-grade artifacts not only concealed their aura but also provided a basic invisibility effect, making them undetectable to beasts below.
The 6th tier. Shocked and impressed, Gu Qianxue couldn't help but admire Lin Yu. He always managed to procure the most unexpected items. In that case, let's move.
With determined eyes, the two leaped toward the forest's depths. Under the protection of the invisibility cloaks, Lin Yu moved like a ghost in the forest. Even if he danced in front of a 4th-tier beast, or gave it a kick, the beast would think it had seen a phantom. Utilizing this advantage, the two gradually explored deeper into the forest. The deeper they ventured, the denser the moisture and the more numerous the beasts, signaling that something significant lay ahead. However, as they advanced, the dangers multiplied, forcing them to slow their pace. Lin Yu, you touched me, Gu Qianxue suddenly whispered.
Whom?
Lin Yu looked puzzled, glancing at the 2-meter gap between them.
But, this.
Gu Qianxue lowered her gaze, feeling several cold, slithering sensations around her waist. She suddenly realized they were the branches of a mutated tree. Its trunk curved like a snake, as if observing what had obstructed its path. The two held their breath in tacit understanding, retreating slowly until they were out of the tree's range. Only then did they exhale in relief.
This won't work, Gu Qianxue frowned. Blindly searching will lead to nothing but exposure. Lin Yu nodded. You're right. But I have an idea. As he spoke, he pulled out a bundle from his bag, revealing a B-grade preset bomb. You have that too? Gu Qianxue was dumbfounded.
Lin Yu scratched his head awkwardly.
How I got it isn't important.
While its power is effective against 4th-tier beasts, I only need it to cause disruption, attract the beasts, and create an opening for us.
Gu Qianxue immediately caught on. Alright, I'll scout for the area with the densest concentration of beasts.
A few minutes later, she returned with her report. The northwest has the highest beast density.
Lin Yu swiftly set up the bomb. We only get one shot. Push through in the chaos. 3, 2, 1. Boom!
A massive explosion tore through the forest, flames bursting everywhere. The beasts erupted into a frenzy, roaring and charging toward the explosion. Taking advantage of the chaos, Lin Yu and Gu Qianxue dashed forward at full speed, unobstructed. 15 minutes later, they reached the core of the forest.
Gu Qianxue suddenly pointed ahead. Lin Yu, over there.
It was a clearing, and at its center sat a white-furred monkey, the 5th-tier beast Tongtian white ape. Surrounding it were several massive black rocks, 6th-tier obsidian stone statues. These are 6th-tier beasts with defenses akin to impenetrable walls. They can even merge their defenses, making it nearly impossible for even 7th-tier warriors to break through.
Gu Qianxue's expression turned grave.
Lin Yu's gaze locked onto the white ape at the center, his eyes gleaming.
That creature is the key.
Tongtian white ape, a mental-type beast adept at shared cognition.
It's directing the beast tide. This has to be the mastermind. Gu Qianxue spoke without hesitation.
This is too difficult.
We can't break through those defenses. It's better to retreat and report this to the higher-ups.
Yet, Lin Yu merely smiled calmly.
Who says we can't break through? What other tricks do you have?
Gu Qianxue was already numb to Lin Yu's endless surprises.
I'm out of artifacts, but I do have a way to disable its defenses temporarily.
Lin Yu was full of confidence. However, the task of killing it will rely solely on you, Senior Gu.
On the walls of Shangwei City, soldiers and high-ranking officials of Xingfu Mountain observed the encroaching beast tide.
The assault, led by 4th tier beasts and supported by 5th tier ones, rendered ordinary weapons and formations ineffective, resulting in increasing casualties among the soldiers. Hovering 100 meters above the city walls, Gu Junwo surveyed the battlefield. He had just repelled several waves of 5th tier beasts, and even slain a few mid-6th tier ones, yet the beast tide showed no signs of abating. This meant the Beast King had yet to reveal itself.
It's not an offensive-type Beast King. Could it be a mental-type one? He deduced instantly.
If the Beast King refrained from charging,
it must be hiding in the rear, commanding the tide. As long as the mental-type Beast King remained, the beast tide would persist. After pondering briefly, Gu Junwo decided to take the initiative.
He stepped onto his flying sword, transforming into a streak of light as he rushed toward the rear of the beast tide. In Zhanghai City, at Zhanghai Second High School, it had been 5 days since Lin Yu had taken leave.
I told you we shouldn't have let him go alone. And now look, he's gone off the grid. Su Yaowen was visibly anxious, grumbling endlessly. The last time Lin Yu had disappeared for days before returning. Now, it was happening again. As the most promising talent of the new generation in Zhanghai City, how could Su Yaowen, the dojo master, not be worried? The martial arts exam was just a day away. If Lin Yu missed it, no matter how gifted he wouldn't be admitted to university and could only hope for special recruitment. But how could he be recruited if he wasn't even found? Old Su, worrying won't help. Just wait, someone consoled him. Ugh! Su Yaowen let out a heavy sigh. Back in the depths of the forest, Lin Yu and Gu Qianxue quickly discussed their strategy.
Lin Yu would break through the obsidian stone statue's protective barrier, while Gu Qianxue would use her martial techniques to deliver a decisive blow to the Tongtian white ape. With a surprise attack and the ape's weaker defenses, Gu Qianxue's peak 4th tier strength stood a good chance. Once successful, they would retreat immediately.
Senior Gu, are you ready?
Let's do it.
Gu Qianxue drew her bowstring taut, an icy arrow charged with energy at the ready.
Lin Yu activated the Chaos Divine Thunders, stripping trait, instantly dispelling the protective energy of the barrier.
A bolt of black and white
lightning tore apart the defenses, and Gu Qianxue's deep blue arrow followed, piercing straight through the Tongtian white ape's skull.
A furious roar echoed, alarming the surrounding beasts.
The guardian creatures immediately charged, launching waves of light and branch-like attacks at Gu Qianxue, damaging her invisibility cloak and nullifying its stealth effect.
Run!
Lin Yu shouted, unleashing more Chaos Divine Thunder to disrupt the pursuit. The two broke through the encirclement with their speed, temporarily escaping to the forest's edge.
But the situation didn't improve.
The outer beasts had already formed a blockade, leaving no way out.
With Gu Qianxue's damaged invisibility cloak, their exposure was complete. You go first, I'll cover the rear, Gu Qianxue said resolutely. Lin Yu gave her a deep look, skipping any unnecessary words. He retrieved an absolute defense artifact from his spatial ring and handed it to her. Hold on. I'll be back. With that, he activated the laws of concealment, vanishing swiftly. Utilizing the remnants of his stealth effect, he slipped through the blockade effortlessly. The moment Lin Yu left the jungle, he witnessed an even more terrifying scene. Not only had the beast tide not diminished, but its numbers and levels had increased. Suddenly, the beast horde on the left side erupted into chaos. Clearly, the death of the Tongtian white ape had taken effect. Lin Yu understood that this Tongtian white ape was merely the core of part of the beast tide. There were other exotic beasts in the jungle orchestrating the situation. At this moment, Lin Yu encountered Gu Junwo, who had rushed over. After Lin Yu provided intelligence, Gu Junwo quickly locked onto the targets and eliminated the controllers. In the jungle one by one, including the Tongtian white ape, a total of 1 6th tier and 3 5th tier exotic beasts were cleared. The beast tide finally collapsed. On the walls of Shangwei City, soldiers watched the retreating beast tide and erupted into thunderous cheers. Xingfu Mountain Military Campsite. Thank you for today, Gu Qianxue expressed her gratitude to Lin Yu earnestly. You're being too kind, Senior Gu. If it weren't for you attracting the beast horde, I wouldn't have been able to escape. Lin Yu recalled the perilous situation over the past 2 days, his emotions still unsettled. How are they doing? He asked with concern. They're out of life-threatening danger, but their injuries are severe, and their spirits are completely drained. They'll need to stay bedridden for the next few months to recover. Still, being alive is what matters. Gu Qianxue managed to show a rare smile. Yes, it's good to be alive. Lin Yu sighed. This experience had made him clearly realize his own weakness. Despite having S-level talent, the road ahead was still long. Only by becoming stronger could he protect more people. Lin Yu, Director Gu wants to see you, a soldier conveyed the message. I'll go with you, Gu Qianxue suggested. All right. Lin Yu nodded, his gaze resolute. Xingfu Mountain, Temporary Military District Office. You too, why did you go to such a place? Gu Junwo's voice carried a tone of reprimand. Lin Yu and Gu Qianxue stood with their heads lowered, like children who had made a mistake. They recounted the entire incident in detail, and Gu Junwo shook his head and sighed. You actually dared to confront the Beast King, your lives are truly hanging by a thread. Though he scolded them verbally, his eyes were filled with concern. Don't let there be a next time, do you understand? Understood. Alright, take a break, then leave Xingfu Mountain immediately. This place has been unstable lately. Lin Yu walked to the door, then suddenly turned around and called out, Director Gu. What is it now? After all, we managed to kill a sky-reaching white ape. The reward? What do you want? A high-grade magical treasure. Get lost. Gu Junwo grabbed the notebook on the table and threw it over, but Lin Yu was already prepared and slipped away cleanly. Ha ha. Gu Qianxue covered her mouth and chuckled softly. You get out too. Gu Junwo glared at her. Got it, you big bully. Finally, after several urgings from Gu Junwo, Lin Yu boarded the train back to Jianghai City that evening, personally escorted by Gu Qianxue and Gu Junwo. As a reward, Gu Junwo allowed him to choose a high-level magical treasure, but with a condition. Kid, make some noise at the martial arts exam for me. If you fail, I'll take the item back. Lin Yu chose the concealment robe. The effect of hiding his aura combined with his speed advantage would definitely allow him to handle most dangers. At the farewell, Gu Junwo gazed at Lin Yu's departing figure and suddenly asked Gu Qianxue, what do you think of this kid? Gu Qianxue was momentarily stunned, her tone somewhat uncertain. Pretty good, strong talent, decisive in action. Don't beat around the bush, just do what you want to do. Gu Junwo's gaze turned profound. The future belongs to you young people. This kid is even stronger than some others. Blue Star Calendar, June 6, 3001, National Martial Arts Exam Day. The broadcast in Jianghai City kept looping. Welcome to the National Martial Arts Exam. This session will be conducted as an online virtual test. The 5 major exam venues nationwide are East China, Central China, South China. Candidates will undergo a practical test in a virtual secret realm. The base score is determined by their realm and talent rating, while the practical score is earned by killing exotic beasts. The final result is calculated proportionally. The examination site for the East China region is a dual-level secret realm, Yungue Mountain, classified as white and green levels. Candidates should note that death in the virtual world will result in immediate termination of the exam. The broadcast announcements echoed one after another, as students from Jianghai No. 1 High School and No. 2 High School had already gathered outside the Tianjia Martial Arts Hall, waiting to enter. Old Wang, where's that kid? Su Yawen saw that most of the candidates had entered the virtual pod and went over to Wang Guodong to chat. No news, still hasn't returned. Wang Guodong shook his head helplessly. It's really a pity. If he were here, Shanghai City would definitely shine this year. Pity about what? A familiar voice interjected. Su Yawen was stunned for a moment. He turned his head to look and immediately jumped up excitedly. Lin Yu. You brat, you're finally back. Lin Yu stood to the side and greeted tentatively, Director Su, Principal Wang, long time no see. Su Yawen rushed over and looked him up and down. Are you okay? Don't worry, I'm perfectly fine, just a bit tired from taking the night bus. Lin Yu smiled nonchalantly. Hurry up and get in if there's nothing else. Time waits for no one. Su Yawen said as he pushed Lin Yu toward the examination hall. The martial arts exam had a total score of 1,000 points, with 300 allocated to basic scores, including 200 for realm and mental strength, and 100 for talent. The remaining 700 points were for practical combat. Scoring above 700 generally guaranteed admission to a prestigious school, but Lin Yu was clearly not satisfied with just that. With an S-level talent and dual second-tier strength, his basic score was 290. Although not a perfect score, it was unsurprising. After all, there were always medicine jars who relied on rare resources to boost their scores, earning empty reputations. A mere 10 points, not worth mentioning. Lin Yu sneered inwardly. As for the remaining 700, I'll take them all. Virtual program preparation complete, initiating mental transmission. 10%, 50%, 99%. Transmission complete. Candidate Lin Yu from Jianghai City, East China region, welcome to the Cloud Return Mountain examination area. Lin Yu's spiritual body was transported to a safe plane, with the target Cloud Return Mountain visible in the distance. The mountain peak soared into the clouds, and the secret realm spanned over 1,000 miles, vast and boundless. Candidates were randomly distributed, prohibited from forming teams, and strictly forbidden from internal conflicts. If discovered, their results would be invalidated. All candidates have been transmitted. The martial exam begins. As soon as the electronic voice fell, Lin Yu shot out like an arrow leaving the bow. Director Gu asked me to make some noise. Lin Yu's lips curled into a smile. How about taking first place and slaying a beast king along the way? Damn, Brother Wang, you're awesome. You took down a mid-stage tier 1 beast so quickly. A group of boys surrounded the buzzcut guy, shouting excitedly, as if they wanted to lift him to the heavens. Just now, the crewcut man swiftly and decisively took down a spirit fire monkey with a few moves. A stream of data immediately flashed across the wound of the exotic beast and steadily merged into his wristband. Points plus 10. This martial arts exam stipulates that the corpses of defeated exotic beasts will be preserved, serving both as a test of psychological resilience and to enhance realism. If someone gets weak-kneed at the sight of a corpse, how could they be worthy of becoming a martial artist? Although teaming up is prohibited, candidates traveling together is not against the rules. After all, some people lack experience and can hardly move on their own. The official regulations state that as long as the exotic beast is independently killed by a candidate and the wristband recording proves valid, points will be awarded. Support-type candidates can form simple teams, with points evenly distributed. While the rules aren't perfect, they aim to accommodate everyone as much as possible. No big deal, no big deal. The crewcut man chuckled foolishly and scratched his head. Listen up, guys. I'll focus on mid-stage level 1 exotic beasts, you handle the early stage ones yourselves. Brother Wang is so righteous, everyone cheered. At that moment, a short boy suddenly pointed into the distance, trembling. Be Brother Wang, what is that? The buzzcut man turned back disdainfully. Look at you, so scared. What could it be? Before he could finish, his expression froze instantly. In the distance, a black sphere of light was hurtling toward the summit of Yungui Mountain at a terrifying speed. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be a person. Black lightning coiled around his body, and wherever he passed, strange beasts dissolved into streams of data that surged into his wristband. Is this guy even human? How can he be so outrageous? Wait, let me check. A male student quickly opened his wristband and pulled up the Eastern China region leaderboard. First place, Lin Yu, points, 2,000. It's him. Lin Yu from Jianghai City, the legendary S-grade talent. Damn, a big shot. We shouldn't compete with someone like that. Let's quickly find some weak exotic beasts. Lin Yu controlled the Chaos Divine Thunder to sweep through the exotic beasts while keeping an eye on the leaderboard. The second place was Lu Jingyuan, the third was Lin Ziyi, both familiar names. However, Su Wanqing's name had disappeared.
Scrolling down for quite a while, he finally found her at rank 13,351 with a score of 100 points.
This girl better not be slacking off and sleeping. Her score is ridiculously low. Lin Yu muttered, deciding to go find her. After all, she was his disciple, destined to go to Kyoto High Martial Arts together in the future. Right now, she could barely qualify for a decent school. This was absolutely unacceptable. Using his mental power to lock onto the exotic beast strained by the devour trait nearby, he quickly began his search. Screech! Su Ting pulled a short sword out of a beast's body, watching the data stream flow into her wristband, grinning from ear to ear. Ting Ting, you're amazing.
This method is brilliant. Her best friend Chu Wei, standing nearby, couldn't contain her excitement and added another strike.
No choice, our Ching Ching is always so helpful.
Ask her for a little favor, and of course, she wouldn't refuse. Su Ting raised her chin proudly.
Who is Su Wanqing to you? This is the first time I've heard you mention her. My cousin. We're really close. I just didn't bother to say anything.
Su Ting smiled proudly.
So jealous, having such an amazing cousin. The martial arts exam is as good as yours. Hee, that's why I brought you along, isn't it?
Su Ting glanced at the leaderboard on her wristband, rank 6,300, 250 points.
Ching, let's look for more exotic beasts ahead. Help your cousin earn more points. Once I get into a good school, I'll definitely thank you properly.
Not far away, Su Wanqing's face was full of mixed emotions, but she could only nod silently. After entering Yungue Mountain, she had run into this cousin Su Ting and Chu Wei. The two women unceremoniously treated her as a tool. Dear cousin, help your elder cousin out. This is a matter of great importance in life. Thus, Su Wanqing was responsible for beating the beasts until they were on their last breath, then letting Su Ting and the others finish them off to earn points. This was also the reason why her own score remained stagnant. Although there were loopholes in the martial exam, and it was common for candidates to exploit them, she was actually being forced by her cousin to do this. Feeling unwilling, Su Wanqing suppressed her emotions and had no choice but to continue leading the charge for them.
Hey beauty, what are you looking for? Want your big brother to help?
Suddenly, a hand reached out from the side and rested on her shoulder. Su Wanqing coldly flicked her sleeve, her tone unfriendly. Get lost.
Whoa, such a temper.
Before the other person could finish speaking, Su Wanqing suddenly turned around, ready to lash out, but was startled by the figure in front of her.
My dear disciple, it's been 6 days. Have you missed your master?
Lin Yu grinned foolishly, standing in front of her.
Lin Yu, you're okay, that's great. Su Wanqing's eyes reddened, and she threw herself into Lin Yu's arms. Hey, why are you crying? Aren't I perfectly fine?
Lin Yu felt a bit awkward, but he couldn't just push her away, so he let her vent her emotions in his arms. As the sobbing gradually subsided, Lin Yu softly spoke, Don't be afraid, I'm back. Such a small scene can't hold me. Su Wanqing raised her head, glaring at him with reddened eyes. Who would worry about you?
Then just now, sand got in my eyes.
Su Wanqing turned her head away, her face full of pride.
Ah, yes.
Lin Yu smiled, but his expression suddenly froze. In the distance, two figures were walking toward them.
Ching, why did you take so long?
Su Ting's voice abruptly stopped, her gaze falling on Lin Yu.
Who are you? Ting, isn't this Lin Yu, the one who ranked first in the joint competition? Chu Wei whispered. Oh, so it's him.
Su Ting's eyes lit up, her smile growing wider as she approached Lin Yu.
You're Lin Yu, right? Ching often talks about you.
Lin Yu's gaze instantly turned cold.
Stop.
Su Ting froze, her steps coming to a halt.
I'm not familiar with you.
If you have something to say, talk to Wanqing.
Once you're done, I'm taking her away.
Lin Yu's tone brooked no argument.
You're taking her away? Su Ting panicked. If Su Wanqing left, who would help her boost her score? Do you have a problem with that?
Lin Yu cast a cold glance at her, his gaze sharp as a blade, chilling to the bone. Su Ting shuddered in fear, unable to utter a single word.
Since there are no objections, let's go.
Lin Yu turned to look at Su Wanqing.
Is there anything you want to say to them?
Su Wanqing shook her head.
Then let's go.
Activating the dual laws, Lin Yu directly disappeared from the spot with Su Wanqing.
Su Ting stomped her foot in anger, gritting her teeth as she stared in the direction the two had left. Su Wanqing, just you wait. When we get back. Are you stupid?
Lin Yu suddenly flicked Su Wanqing's forehead, causing her to crouch down in pain while clutching her head.
Willing to work for those two for free? It's not, they.
Su Wanqing wanted to explain but hesitated for a long time without saying anything.
Lin Yu sighed, Forget it, if you don't want to say it, then don't. But from now on, you don't have time to waste. He raised his wristband and pointed to the leaderboard. Lin Yu was ranked 5th, while Su Wanqing had already dropped beyond 15,000. The competition here is fierce. Relying solely on cultivation level isn't enough. You need brains and strategy. Look at Ji Changkong, his strength is average, but he managed to climb to 3rd place purely on talent. Su Wanqing nodded and said softly, "Got it." After speaking, she turned and was about to leave. "Where are you going?" Lin Yu frowned. "To earn points, of course." Su Wanqing looked innocent. Lin Yu rubbed his forehead helplessly. "This is the outer area. How many points can you get for early stage tier 1 beasts? How long will it take you to rack up points? Come with me to the inner circle." He pointed toward the depths of Yungue Mountain. "The beasts there are stronger and yield higher points. A late-stage tier 1 beast starts at 50 points, much faster than earning points in the outer area." Su Wanqing obediently nodded. "All right. Hold my hand." "Ah, if not my hand, what do you want to hold? Or should I grab you by the back of your neck?" Su Wanqing blushed and held his hand, her heart inexplicably trembling. "Hold tight, let's go." A golden-black intertwined light sphere flashed by, and the two instantly disappeared, heading straight for the inner circle. "Take out your sword, keep the corrosive mist active, and capture any passing exotic beasts if possible. Don't waste them." "All right." Su Wanqing followed suit, taking down one exotic beast after another with her sword, clearing out the early-stage beasts completely and rapidly increasing her points. Rank 10,000, Su Wanqing, points, 342 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. In the hall of the Heavenly Rank Martial Arts Pavilion, the crowd gathered to watch the Secret Realms display. Lu Jingyuan is truly impressive, with 3,500 points, firmly holding 1st place. That Ji Changkong isn't bad either. The floating cannon is really a point-farming weapon. Wait, where is Lin Yu from Jianghai City? Wasn't he just in 1st place? Why did he disappear? Someone pointed at the screen. Isn't that him? On the footage ranked 20th. In the camera shot, Lin Yu's figure swept past like the wind, so fast that only after images were left behind. Why isn't this guy killing the exotic beasts? His points have been stuck at 2,000 for a long time. Tired? Tired my foot, he's clearly heading to the inner circle. Zhang Tian's gaze sharpened, but even if he's heading to the inner circle, his points haven't moved for so long. What's this kid up to now? Secretary Su, pull up Lin Yu's surveillance footage from the past half hour. Understood. At this moment, Lin Yu's gaze carried a hint of coldness. His steps did not falter, and his sole objective was to keep moving forward. Of course, he wanted to hunt exotic beasts. The higher the points, the better. But the problem was, once he made a move, all the exotic beasts within dozens of meters would instantly turn into corpses. How would Su Wanqing earn points then? This was the inherent conflict of traveling together. The number of exotic beasts was limited, and the more people there were, the thinner the points would be spread. Lin Yu looked at Su Wanqing's busy figure and silently suppressed the impatience in his heart. Su Wanqing noticed his unusual demeanor and asked, "Should I stop killing them? Your points have been stagnant for too long." "No need." Lin Yu's voice was low and resolute. "Your goal is to enter Kyoto High Marshal with me, and you're still far from having enough points. Don't worry about my points." His tone left no room for negotiation, exuding absolute confidence. Indeed, with his understanding of his previous life, the density of exotic beasts in the inner circle was far higher than in the outer areas. In the core zone, there were even tier 2 beast kings waiting for him. The ultimate goal of 5,000 points was more tempting than anything else. About 15 minutes later, the two arrived at the inner circle of Yungue Mountain. The atmosphere here was entirely different, with the stench of blood filling the air and a thick sense of killing intent permeating the surroundings. At a glance, several late-stage tier 1 exotic beasts were already roaming around. Lin Yu glanced around: Cloud Luan Sparrow, Thunder Step Dog, Mountain Guarding Ox. They're not strong. Can you handle them? Su Wanqing nodded, her eyes flashing with battle intent. No problem, my blood energy value has already reached 90 points, I'm close to advancing to the 2nd tier. Lin Yu nodded with satisfaction. Good, these exotic beasts are enough for you to rack up points and reclaim your ranking. You're not staying here? Su Wanqing asked, puzzled. They're not worth my attention. Lin Yu chuckled lightly, turning to look toward higher ground. That was his battlefield. Su Wanqing did not try to stop him, only reminded him, be careful, don't get eliminated. The pain in the virtual space is no less than in reality. Lin Yu waved his hand without looking back. Wait for me to come back and check your points. Meanwhile, in the monitoring room of Jianghai No. 2 High School,
all the teachers were staring intently at the screen. Look quickly. Su Wanqing's ranking has surged to 300, her points are increasing rapidly.
On the screen, Su Wanqing was fiercely battling 3 Cloud Luan sparrows.
These exotic beasts were massive in size, with wings covered in sharp spikes, clearly not easy to deal with. She actually took the initiative to attack. That's too risky, an elderly professor said, frowning. But in the next moment, Su Wanqing's movements on the screen were as swift as lightning. Her sword, enveloped in purple smoke, swept across the 3 Cloud Luan sparrows, killing them in an instant.
I've always known this girl has extraordinary talent.
The elderly professor abruptly turned his criticism into praise, eliciting a wave of eye rolls from those around him.
Su Wanqing's points instantly surged by 150, her momentum unstoppable. Where's Lin Yu? Hasn't he made a move yet? Someone asked.
The screen switched to Lin Yu's live feed. His points were still stuck at 2,000, and his ranking was on the verge of falling out of the top 100.
What is he doing? Not hunting exotic beasts, does he plan to give up the guaranteed admission to Kyoto High Marshal? Discussions arose one after another.
But on the leadership seats, Wang Guodong and Su Yaowen exchanged a glance, their expressions grave.
This kid, his target is the core zone.
Wang Guodong said in a low voice, a trace of shock flashing in his eyes. Lin Yu was already standing at the peak of Yungue Mountain. Before him stretched a scarlet land interwoven with blood and slaughter.
This was the Beast King's domain.
The air around was thick with the stench of blood, and an oppressive aura surged forward, making one involuntarily shiver. Yet Lin Yu's face remained expressionless, the battle intent in his eyes growing even stronger. At the same time, the crowd watching from the outside completely erupted.
Has Lin Yu gone mad? He actually dared to break into the Beast King's territory.
Su Yaowen suddenly stood up, his face even darker than before.
This kid is looking for trouble. The blood-striped tiger is no joke.
Wang Guodong gritted his teeth, wishing he could rush into the screen and drag Lin Yu out. But Lin Yu in the scene remained calm and composed, the black thunder spear in his hand slightly rotating, as if he didn't take the so-called Beast King seriously at all. At this moment, a deep roar echoed in Lin Yu's ears, the sound as deafening as rolling thunder, striking directly at his soul.
It's here.
The corners of Lin Yu's mouth lifted slightly. In the next second, a massive figure slowly emerged from the shadows. It was a gigantic blood-patterned tiger, 3 times the size of an ordinary tiger, its entire body covered in blood-red patterns. Every step it took carried an oppressive force that shook the forest. It fixed its gaze on Lin Yu, its eyes gleaming with ferocity, as if looking down on an ant daring to challenge its authority. Lin Yu did not back down at all. Instead, he raised the tip of his spear and pointed it at the blood-striped tiger. Are you the king here? Then today, let me see if I can slay the king. The blood-striped tiger seemed enraged, letting out a thunderous roar. The surrounding air instantly froze, and an overwhelming aura of destruction surged forth. Outside, everyone held their breath. Isn't this courting death? Su Yaowen's voice changed. Shut up, watch. Wang Guodong's eyes were fixed on the screen, his expression complex. Lin Yu was unmoved by the oppressive aura. He gripped the black thunder spear in reverse, lightning surging around him, exuding a chilling killing intent. Come on, let me see if you're worthy of the title Beast King. Boom! The blood-patterned tiger suddenly leapt into the air, its scorching blood energy materializing, accompanied by devastating claws striking straight at Lin Yu. Meanwhile, lightning erupted beneath Lin Yu's feet, his figure moving like electricity as he instantly charged forward. Finished. The 2 old fellows, who usually prided themselves on their composure, sighed simultaneously. A late-stage second-tier blood-striped tiger, its strength is comparable to a third-tier. And Lin Yu is merely an early-stage second-tier kid. How could he possibly win? Cloud Summit Peak, Crimson Blood Peak. At the center of the peak, a red blood pool filled with a strong stench of blood was the lair of the blood-striped tiger. The Beast King, the blood-striped tiger, lay sprawled in the center of the blood pool, as massive as a small car, currently in deep sleep. Brother Jingyuan, this creature looks so terrifying. How about we leave? Ruan Yao said timidly. Lu Jingyuan, Ruan Yao, Lin Ziyi, and several other second-tier martial artists hid to the side, watching the blood-patterned tiger with eyes filled with both excitement and fear. It's not just terrifying to look at, its strength is even more horrifying. Qin Bing stood at the back, blood staining the corner of his mouth. He had tried to test the blood-patterned tiger's strength but was defeated in one move, retreating with serious injuries. Brother Qin, you'd better focus on recovering, Lu Jingyuan sighed helplessly. Such a formidable opponent, if there were another way, would he have needed to gather so many people? Everyone understands that the Beast King is not just a symbol of points, Lu Jingyuan said gravely. Defeating the Beast King not only brings a huge amount of points but also attracts the attention of the higher-ups. It's like the final, most challenging question in the martial arts exam.
Solve it, and you become a star. Everyone's eyes lit up as they nodded in agreement.
Becoming a star meant resources, status, and even the chance to soar to great heights.
So we need to devise a thorough plan. Lu Jingyuan began outlining the battle strategy.
Suddenly, a male student interrupted him.
Lu Xiao, look over there. Following the direction pointed out, they saw a familiar figure heading toward the blood pool. It was Lin Yu. It's him. Lu Jingyuan's eyes lit up.
If he joins us, our chances of victory will greatly increase.
He hurriedly called out, Lin Yu, want to team up? Let's deal with the blood-striped tiger together. If we join forces, we might not lose.
However, Lin Yu simply strode forward, casting them a cold glance.
What are they babbling about? He chuckled inwardly, unwilling to pay attention. Team up? What a joke. Why share a victory that can be enjoyed alone? Is this guy crazy? Challenging the blood-striped tiger alone?
Lin Ziyi sneered, her face full of disdain.
I admit he's strong, but challenging such a monster alone is simply courting death.
Xin Bing said coldly. Everyone could only watch Lin Yu leave, then sat around nearby, waiting to see the spectacle.
Heavenly Rank Martial Hall. Wang Guodong and Su Yaowen stared at the live feed.
When they saw Lin Yu walking alone toward the blood-patterned tiger, their hearts sank halfway.
This kid is too young, Wang Guodong sighed.
Failure might be a form of growth for him, Su Yaowen comforted.
By the blood pool.
Lin Yu casually kicked a piece of rubble, hitting the blood-striped tiger's head with precision.
Still sleeping? Wake up, I'm coming for you. The blood-striped tiger was instantly enraged, opening its massive bloody maw to roar. Lin Yu hurled another piece of rubble, hitting its jaw. What are you roaring for? We're fighting here, hurry up. He actually dared to provoke the blood-striped tiger directly. Lin Ziyi exclaimed. This guy is doomed. Xin Bing sneered.
The blood-striped tiger, enraged, pounced at Lin Yu, but the latter simply leapt lightly to evade the attack.
Too slow.
Lin Yu snorted coldly, the thunderbolt spear in his hand gleaming with a chilling light.
Thunderbolt spear technique, mastery. The spear tip pierced the blood-striped tiger's skin, instantly creating a palm-sized wound. Without pausing, the second strike, the third strike followed in quick succession. The wound expanded from palm-sized to bull-sized, with blood gushing out. He actually managed to injure the blood-striped tiger. Gasps of astonishment erupted from the crowd.
Lin Yu stood with his spear withdrawn, a faint smile playing at the corner of his lips.
A spear made from the horn of a 5th-tier thunder crystal dragon, do you think your mere 2nd-tier skin can withstand it?
The blood-striped tiger roared in pain, leaping furiously, its deafening cries spreading like soundwave attacks across the sky. But Lin Yu remained indifferent, his steps light as he thrust his spear forward once more. Out here, having a loud voice is useless, Lin Yu sneered.
It's all about strength.
Having fought countless battles on the alien battlefield, Lin Yu was long accustomed to the clash of blades and swords, his heart as calm as still water. Even the roars of starry behemoths had never made him bow his head.
As for this blood-striped tiger before him, it was nothing more than a petty clown.
Lightning slash repeatedly tore through the blood-patterned tiger's flesh, causing blood to gush out, yet the beast remained incredibly fierce. Its tiger claws swung with a sharp gust of
wind, pouncing to kill. Lin Yu sneered, he never relied on brute force to clash head-on. With a flicker of movement, he easily dodged. The two faced off, the atmosphere frozen in tension. The blood-patterned tiger bore wounds but moved as if unscathed. Born with vigorous vitality, such injuries were merely superficial. It knew that with its physical advantage, the enemy would eventually exhaust himself, and then it could crush him with a single paw. Insignificant human, you won't last long. Its eyes were filled with disdain. Not wasting any more time with you, Lin Yu suddenly spoke, planting his spear into the ground and closing his eyes. This bizarre
action made the blood-patterned tiger wary, yet it dared not attack rashly.
Seconds later, Lin Yu opened his eyes, and in that
instant, killing intent swept through like a storm. A vortex appeared at the tip of the lightning-slash-spear, distorting the very
space around it.
The blood-patterned tiger instinctively sensed danger and swung its claws with all its might, attempting to stop him.
Too late. Lin Yu said coldly, let's see if you can withstand this strike.
Gripping the lightning slash tightly, phantom images emerged, mirroring Lin Yu's movements in perfect synchronization, as
if an army of thousands were charging forth.
The mid-tier martial technique, Thousand Army Spear, with its passive effect, Thousand Strike Momentum, amplified the power with the aid of the phantoms.
The first strike, Shockwave.
The phantom and thunderbolt simultaneously attacked the blood-patterned tiger's claw.
Clang!
A loud explosion sounded as the spear tip pierced through the palm of the blood-patterned tiger.
It actually penetrated? Watching from afar, Ruan Yao covered her mouth in astonishment.
A warrior at the early stage of Tier 2 could break through the defense of a late-stage Tier 2 beast. This power was simply terrifying. The blood-patterned tiger roared in pain, withdrew its claw, and staggered back several meters.
Lin Yu pressed forward relentlessly, the phantom moving once again. Escape? It's useless.
He aimed and hurled the spear.
This throw was called Heaven and Earth.
Thunderbolt transformed into a streak of light, swiftly piercing through the blood-patterned tiger's left leg.
Immediately after, the spear exploded, blowing off the tiger's left leg at the root.
Blood gushed out, instantly staining the ground red. The blood-patterned tiger became utterly berserk, its crimson body swelling as its aura surged wildly.
Lu Jingyuan exclaimed, "It's going to self-destruct. Run!"
The self-destruction of a late-stage Tier 2 beast would turn everything within 100 meters into a death zone. But Lin Yu remained as immovable as a mountain, coldly smiling at the blood-patterned tiger. "The self-destruction of a beast king is truly spectacular," he said softly.
"Unfortunately, you encountered me."
With a raise of his hand, the Chaos Divine Thunder descended, enveloping the blood-patterned tiger in black and white radiance.
Its swollen body rapidly shrank. "Strip away!" Lin Yu shouted.
Lowly, as the lightning transformed into blades, piercing through the blood-patterned tiger's body. Its internal organs instantly turned to charcoal, and the mighty beast king fell. Lin Yu approached with his spear, using its tip to prod the blood-patterned tiger's corpse. After confirming, he said indifferently, completely dead."
Everyone was speechless. Was this guy being cautious, or just showing off?
Regardless, the fact that Lin Yu single-handedly slew the blood-patterned tiger shocked the entire crowd. On the leaderboard, his points skyrocketed to first place, surpassing Qin Bing to claim the top spot.
From afar, the observing staff and students were dumbfounded, while the two elders exchanged glances. This kid came back from Xingfu Mountain and has grown this strong? Wang Guodong marveled. Su Yaowen shrugged, "Don't ask me, I'm just as confused."
But the fact is right in front of us. Shanghai City has produced a student capable of challenging a beast king alone. His name will become the legend of this martial arts exam.
There are only 30 minutes left until the end of this martial arts exam. All examinees, please pay attention to the time.
The cold mechanical voice broke the commotion in the arena, pulling everyone back to reality.
Alright, let's disperse. There's still half an hour left.
Hurry up and rack up some more points.
True, there's no chance for first place anyway. Just grab a minimum guarantee and call it a day.
The crowd on Crimson Blood Peak gradually dispersed, leaving everyone to seize their final opportunities.
Lin Yu.
Lu Jingyuan stood in place, silent for a moment, then sighed and turned to leave.
However, a flame of excitement burned in his eyes. Only an opponent like Lin Yu was worth his relentless pursuit.
At this moment, Lin Yu, after absorbing the points from the blood-striped tiger, turned and left without hesitation. He knew that there was no concept of looting here. The only thing beasts could provide was points. Over the next half hour, Lin Yu swept through the core area like a whirlwind. In the end, his points settled at 36,000, a full 6,000 points ahead of second-place Qin Bing, firmly securing the top spot. There are still too few exotic beasts in this secret realm, making it impossible to create a gap. Lin Yu felt somewhat helpless. With the powerful ability of the Chaos Divine Thunder, he could clear the field in an instant even if 100 second-tier exotic beasts gathered.
However, the complex terrain and scattered beasts were the real time wasters.
The martial exam has concluded, data transmission in progress. Candidates, please remain stationary and wait for the system to initiate the transfer. A flash of white light, and everyone returned to the real world. As Lin Yu stepped out the door, he was immediately met with Su Yaowen's fiery gaze. "Kid Lin, you've made a big name for yourself this time."
"Just wait and see, huh? Congratulations, Senior Lin. You're awesome, Lin bro."
The students of Jianghai No. 2 High School gathered around, enthusiastically celebrating Lin Yu's victory. Not far away, Xia Zichen stood in the shadows, his gaze complex, yet a faint bitter smile lingered at the corner of his mouth.
What genius of Jianghai No. 1 High School. Just a joke born in the wrong era. The day after the martial arts exam. In front of the Lin family's old residence, the crowd was bustling.
Reporters, admissions office staff, and parents bringing incense came in an endless stream.
All of this stems from last night's headline that went viral on the Huaguo News Network. Shocking.
A martial arts exam candidate from the East China region single-handedly confronts the Beast King. His identity turns out to be. The battle for East China's top spot heats up.
Qin Bing and Lu Jingyuan clash fiercely, but who is Lin Yu? News updates flooded everywhere, interrupting chats, training sessions, and even movie watching. Lin Yu became the focus of Huadhua overnight. As a result, Lin Yu's doorstep was surrounded tightly. Fortunately, Su Yawan had made arrangements in advance, relocating Grandma Lin and Lin Xiaoxiao to the Tianjia Martial Arts Hall for proper accommodation. At this moment, Lin Yu sat quietly on the rooftop of Jianhai No. 2 High School, gazing at this familiar small town. Before his rebirth, after achieving the title of martial god, he roamed the universe, rarely returning to Blue Star, let alone this small Jianhai city. In this lifetime, he would climb to even greater heights. His phone lit up, and he opened the chat history, his brows slightly furrowed. Last night, he had sent a message to Su Wanqing. 22:30. Lin Yu, I forgot to ask earlier, what was your final score? Is it enough to get into Kyoto High Martial? After not returning all night, he thought the other person had gone to sleep. But even now, there was still no reply. 9:30. Lin Yu, good disciple, are you awake? 11:30. Lin Yu, where are you? Lin Yu? Lin Yu felt something was wrong and left the school without hesitation, heading straight to the address left by Su Wanqing. Su Wanqing's family was well off, living in a 3-story villa in Jianhai City. However, she rarely went home, always saying, the martial arts exam is approaching, I need to focus on training. Lin Yu didn't think much of it at the time, as it was her personal matter. But during this martial arts exam, he met Su Wanqing's cousin Su Ting, someone who made him uneasy. Soon, he arrived outside the Su family's villa. After some inquiries, he learned more of the inside story. Su Wanqing's parents passed away unexpectedly when she was 3 years old, leaving behind this villa and a fortune. Her aunt's family moved in, claiming they would return the property to Su Wanqing when she grew up. However, when Su Wanqing entered high school, they intensified their exclusion of her and even denied their previous promise. The sensible Su Wanqing chose to stay at school for training, keeping her distance from these relatives. But after she returned to the Su residence last night, all news of her ceased. Lin Yu stood at the door, cloaked in stealth garment, his gaze icy cold. Several security guards at the entrance were dozing off, and the villa was calm and quiet. But Lin Yu knew that beneath this calm lay hidden storms of bloodshed. With a light leap, he jumped over the fence and sneaked into the villa. The rules of civilized society meant nothing to him at this moment. Stopping a passing servant, he asked coldly, "Where is Su Wanqing?" The lightning dancing at his fingertips immediately threw the other into a panic. "Bro, I'm just an errand boy, I really don't know. You still have one more chance." A trace of lightning surged into the opponent's body. The servant was drenched in sweat, repeatedly begging for mercy. No, I'll talk. I heard that Mrs. Su obtained a secret method that can transfer martial arts talent. She plans to transfer Miss Su Wanqing's talent to Miss Su Ting. The person should be in the basement, but I really don't know anything else. Lin Yu frowned, knocked the servant unconscious, and threw him into the flower bed. The secret method to transform martial arts talent? What kind of bizarre thing is this? Guided by the servant, Lin Yu found a hidden underground entrance beneath the flower bed at the back of the Su residence. The pitch-black staircase spiraled downward, and after a few minutes, faint candlelight finally dispelled the darkness, outlining the contours of the underground chamber. The walls were surprisingly made of rare metals, capable of soundproofing, while the floor was covered with an unknown liquid emitting a pungent odor. At first glance, this place was utterly unsuitable for human habitation, even worse than a prison cell. Thinking of someone imprisoning Su Wanqing in such a place, Lin Yu's heart burned with rage, and a chilling light surged in his eyes. He walked forward with heavy steps, his gaze locked on the compartment deep inside. Before he could get close, a sharp voice came from within. "Su Wanqing, if you had listened to me earlier and helped me earn some points in the martial exam, you wouldn't have ended up like this. But no, you chose to follow that Lin Yu and dared to show off your so-called individuality. Now, your talent is destined to be mine." Inside the compartment, Su Ting stood coldly laughing in front of the unconscious Su Wanqing. Su Wanqing's limbs were bound, the marks on her wrists and ankles shockingly deep, even oozing blood. What was even more horrifying was the eerie, semi-transparent substance floating behind her, as if it were devouring her soul. "Who's there?" Su Ting suddenly turned her head, shouting sharply. She had sensed an unusual presence. Lin Yu slowly removed the concealment cloak and revealed himself. He clearly had no intention of hiding, as the aura he emitted was deliberate. With Su Ting's level of strength, there was no way she could detect him while he was in a concealed state. "You are." Su Ting had just opened her mouth when Lin Yu struck her unconscious with a single palm. He cast a cold glance at her,
without lingering further, and turned to untie Su Wanqing's restraints. However, just as he moved, a sinister voice echoed, "A treasure to conceal your aura? Humans, how amusing." Lin Yu abruptly raised his head, his gaze locking onto a corner. There, unbeknownst to him, stood a cloaked person. Even with Lin Yu's spiritual power exceeding 200, he hadn't detected this individual. The person slowly stepped out of the shadows, removed the cloak, revealing a hideous deep blue face, wrinkled skin, piercing eyes. It was unmistakably a sea demon from the demon race. Worse still, Lin Yu instantly assessed the opponent's strength, 4th tier. Lin Yu's expression was grave as he decisively activated the power of dual laws, picked up Su Wanqing, and forcibly broke through the space to retreat swiftly. He knew very well that with his 2nd tier strength, he was no match for this 4th tier demon clan member, especially with the heavily injured Su Wanqing by his side. The sea demon was about to pursue but was stopped by another cloaked figure. This person exuded a profound aura, and upon seeing him, the sea demon immediately lowered its head respectfully and addressed him, "Your Highness. I have failed." "That girl was rescued," the sea demon said in a low voice, pleading for forgiveness. "No matter, she is merely a pawn," the cloaked figure said indifferently. "The sacrificial array is about to be completed. Go and make the final preparations." "Yes." Lin Yu carried Su Wanqing as he sprinted all the way, finally arriving at the Heavenly Steps Martial Hall in the city. Su Wanqing, slightly awakened by the jostling, saw Lin Yu and weakly called out, "Lin Yu," but was coldly interrupted by him. "Don't speak, saving your life is the priority." Murderous intent surged in Lin Yu's heart. He had already recognized that the so-called martial Dao talent conversion secret technique was actually a demonic clan's sinister method for extracting souls. He had witnessed it countless times on the alien battlefield. Human warriors whose souls were extracted ultimately became puppets of the demonic clan. In his previous life, his most beloved disciple had also perished because of this technique. Demonic clan, in this life, I will make you pay for your blood debts. Entering the training room, Lin Yu quickly placed Su Wanqing on the bed, took out recovery medicine from his spatial ring, and administered the potion to her. He calmly said, "Your physical condition is very poor. The medicine can temporarily stabilize your breath. Once you've recovered a bit, try circulating your vital energy and blood." Su Wanqing weakly nodded, trying her best to squeeze out a faint smile. "Thank you. Don't push yourself. If anything happens, speak up immediately," Lin Yu instructed, then turned around and dialed Su Yaowen's satellite phone to briefly inform him of the situation at the Su residence. After handling the matters, Lin Yu returned to the training room and saw Su Wanqing sitting cross-legged in meditation, striving to recover. He watched her intently, a trace of relief flashing in his eyes. "This girl, her willpower is truly terrifying," Lin Yu thought to himself. Ordinary humans under the demon clan's sorcery would have long been in unbearable pain and lost consciousness, yet Su Wanqing managed to endure for most of the day and even took the initiative to recover. "No wonder you're the disciple I chose, you truly have backbone." Lin Yu chuckled softly, his gaze revealing a rare trace of gentleness, yet it was laced with hidden menace. He knew this was just the beginning, the true revenge was only starting to unfold. The next day, the Heaven Rank Martial Hall dispatched a large number of martial artists to surround the Su family estate, quickly bringing the situation under control. Many of the Su family's servants, including Su Wanqing's aunt and uncle, were found wandering in a state of unconsciousness. Lin Yu was surprised upon hearing this but not entirely shocked. Su Wanqing's aunt had clearly come into contact with that sea demon. But why would the demon race trade with weak humans? There was only one answer: their souls had long been stripped away, turning them into puppets of the demon race. Su Wanqing was spared due to her frequent presence at school, while Lin Yu neither knew nor cared how Su Ting managed to escape unscathed. Though martial artists conducting the search found no trace of the sea demon, only remnants of magical energy in the basement. With that, the incident came to an end. In the training room of the Heavenly Rank Martial Hall, Su Wanqing sat by the bedside, her expression dazed. "What are you thinking about?" Lin Yu asked. "Nothing." Su Wanqing shook her head. "It's written all over your face, and you still say it's nothing?" Lin Yu raised an eyebrow. Su Wanqing was stunned and finally said softly, "Even though my aunt and the others aren't good to me, they are still." Before she could finish, Lin Yu already understood. Without offering comfort, he said sternly, "The path of a martial artist is one of life and death. You'll have to get used to it sooner or later, so let's start today." Su Wanqing was amused by his serious demeanor. "You talk as if you're so much older than me, but aren't you the same age as me? So what if I'm young? I'm still your master, aren't I?" Lin Yu snorted. "All right, master, what are your plans for the summer vacation?" Su Wanqing deliberately changed the subject. You're too weak, so I'm going to give you special training, Lin Yu said seriously.
Special training? What kind of special training? Su Wanqing asked curiously.
2 hours later, the two were already seated on a train heading from Jianghai City to the western border. During this period, Lin Yu applied for a green level token for Su Wanqing and switched to green level himself. In the final stage of the martial arts exam, Su Wanqing achieved enlightenment and became a second-tier
martial artist.
She earned a wave of points in the core area of Yungui Mountain, ultimately ranking 78th in the East China region with 12,300 points, securing guaranteed admission to Kyoto High Martial Academy.
However, Lin Yu had no intention of letting her enjoy a leisurely vacation. He decided to take her to the green-level chaotic zone Insect Valley town. Although it was green level, the area was evenly populated with first-tier and second-tier exotic beasts, making it an ideal place for training novice martial artists. On the train, Su Wanqing asked out of boredom, "Why do we have to go to the chaotic zone?"
"Of course, to hunt exotic beasts," Lin Yu replied matter-of-factly.
"Didn't the martial exam also involve killing quite a few?"
"That's different," Lin Yu explained. "In the martial exam, candidates are protected, and it's impossible to fully ignite their fighting spirit. But in reality, you must face life and death directly." Su Wanqing nodded without saying more and closed her eyes to rest. Lin Yu glanced at her, his expression serious. The appearance of the demon race was already a warning bell. He had to ensure Su
Wanqing grew quickly.
During the journey to the Worm Valley, he planned to intervene only in critical moments, forcing her to face the beasts independently and temper her will through real combat. Capital City, Tianjia Martial Arts Hall Conference Room.
The content regarding Kyoto High Martial's admissions ends here.
The meeting concluded, and the senior officials dispersed.
Gu Junwo and Kyoto High Martial's principal, Zhou Henian, walked at the back. This year, the East China region is brimming with talent. What do you think after hosting the friendly competition? Zhou Henian asked with a smile.
There are indeed a few promising candidates, Gu Junwo replied modestly.
Don't play coy. Which one caught your eye? Kyoto High Martial will definitely spare no effort in nurturing them. Zhou Henian's smile deepened.
Old Zhou, you must have heard, the internet is flooded with news about that person.
Gu Junwo teased. S-level talent, is this kid really that impressive? Zhou Henian said meaningfully.
Gu Junwo recalled Lin Yu's achievements, champion of the joint competition, killing the sky-reaching white ape during the Beast Tide, and single-handedly defeating the Beast King,
blood-striped tiger in the martial exam.
Thinking back to when he had told Lin Yu to stir up some commotion, he couldn't help but sigh, this kid, the commotion is a bit too big.
His name is Lin Yu, right? Zhou Henian confirmed.
Yes, Elder Zhou. With such a genius, this year's Kyoto High Martial Arts is bound to be lively.
Zhou Henian laughed heartily. After half an hour of jolting, the train finally stopped at the location of the Jianghai City's western border military district.
Upon disembarking, Lin Yu and Su Wanqing were greeted by a desolate scene. The western border's economy was underdeveloped, and the military district consisted of only a few simple barracks, a tavern, and several watchtowers. The tavern serves as a hub for missions, where warriors holding tokens can freely accept tasks ranging from hunting exotic beasts to gathering herbs.
Missions
are categorized into 5 levels, from D to S. Completing missions earns points, and the points obtained here are universally accepted throughout China. The two entered the tavern and casually accepted a C-level mission, picking 50 soul-awakening herbs and collecting 100 cicada wings from ringing drum cicadas, with a reward of 500 points. Such missions are considered standard for beginners. Lin Yu chose this task to help Su Wanqing adapt, and deliberately avoided selecting a more challenging one. As for himself, he had no intention of doing the work, he already had plenty of points. Gu Qianxue and Gu Junwo had given him a significant share of rewards last time, and his current accumulation had reached 100,000 points. Just as the two were about to leave, a man dressed in a black brocade robe with a gold chain around his neck stopped them. He was accompanied by several bodyguards wearing sunglasses, looking rather ostentatious. "Hey, what a beautiful young lady. May I know your name?" the man asked with a warm smile and a gentle demeanor. Lin Yu glanced at him and immediately made a judgment in his heart, some rich kid trying to show off. Su Wanqing coldly responded, "I don't know you." The man was unfazed and continued pestering her. After Su Wanqing casually gave her name, she turned and left, while Lin Yu silently followed. Sigh, what a beautiful name, and such a unique personality. The man watched Su Wanqing's departing figure, a trace of excitement flashing in his eyes. After leaving the tavern, Su Wanqing walked quickly. Lin Yu caught up and complained,
Why are you walking so fast? Su Wanqing glared at him. Why didn't you help me speak just now? I thought you handled it pretty well yourself. Lin Yu shrugged. Humph. Su Wanqing didn't bother to say more, leaving only one sentence, you're just a block of wood. Then she continued forward. Lin Yu helplessly followed, muttering to himself, a girl's thoughts are indeed hard to understand. The two entered the border, presented their green level token, and the soldiers let them pass. Shortly after, the man in the black robe, Zhao Jingze, caught up with his bodyguards. He handed the soldiers a wad of cash and obtained Lin Yu and Su Wanqing's whereabouts. Green level chaotic zone, just beginners. Zhao Jingze sneered and led his men to follow. Half an hour later, the two arrived at the small town of Insect Valley. A scene of desolation and decay unfolded before their eyes. Although the houses were still relatively intact, they were overgrown with lush greenery. Lin Yu explained, awakening soul grass prefers shade, it hides underground during the day and only appears at night. It's still early now, so let's handle the cicada wing task first. Where can we find the drumming cicada? Su Wanqing asked. Just wait, Lin Yu replied calmly, leaning to the side. Soon, a piercing insect chirping sound echoed. Sure enough, a swarm of blood-cry mosquitoes swiftly charged toward the two of them. Lin Yu had already donned his camouflage suit and stood aside to watch the show. This was Su Wanqing's special training. The blood-crying mosquito swarm rapidly closed in on Su Wanqing. Just as the conflict was about to erupt, a formation flag was suddenly planted into the ground, radiating golden light and forming a protective field with a 3-meter radius. The blood-crying mosquito swarm dared not approach for the moment. Miss Su, there's no need to be afraid. That friend of yours is unreliable. Protecting you is, of course, something that should be left to me. Zhao Jingze appeared beside Su Wanqing at some unknown point, striking a hero saving the damsel pose. The formation flag was clearly his magical artifact. As he spoke, he even raised his middle finger in the direction where Lin Yu had disappeared, his face full of smugness, obviously mocking Lin Yu for fleeing the battlefield. Hidden in the shadows, Lin Yu sighed helplessly. Is this Zhao Jingze brainless? After following for so long, he still dares to interfere? Su Wanqing showed no gratitude and said coldly, no need, thank you. She then walked straight out of the array flag's range, leaving Zhao Jingze with an awkward expression. Miss Su, I'm only thinking about your safety. Zhao Jingze persisted relentlessly, following her step by step. I said, no need. Su Wanqing's tone suddenly rose sharply, her gaze like a blade as she glared at him fiercely. Seeing Zhao Jingze finally stop, she snorted coldly, swung her sleeve, and turned resolutely to charge into the swarm of blood-crying mosquitoes. Such a personality, I like you even more like this. Zhao Jingze stood frozen in place, not only unshaken but laughing even more madly. Lin Yu watched coldly from the sidelines and murmured softly, beginner-level magical treasure, beast-suppressing banner, capable of creating a domain to prevent low-level exotic beasts from approaching. But it's only good for dealing with small fry. On the other side, Su Wanqing leaped onto the rooftop, her gaze locked onto the blood-weeping mosquito swarm, and a burst of cyan sword energy slashed out. Azure Cloud Skyfall, the sword energy swept through like a storm, instantly reducing a large portion of the swarm to fragments. Adjusting her angle, she struck again, nearly clearing out the blood-weeping mosquito swarm. These low-level exotic beasts only relied on numbers to win, but when faced with area attacks, they were utterly defenseless. After 2 strikes, Su Wanqing confidently raised an eyebrow and smiled at Lin Yu. How was that? Not bad, but you're getting ahead of yourself. Lin Yu's gaze passed over her, looking into the distance. As soon as the words fell, an even denser swarm of exotic beasts suddenly surged behind Su Wanqing. This time, it wasn't just mosquitoes, but also venomous scorpion demons, with writhing stingers, iron-bone spiders weaving webs. From the corners by the walls, all kinds of exotic beasts swarmed in, their numbers multiplying several times over. Su Wanqing's expression shifted slightly as she unleashed several waves of sword energy, barely managing to slay the nearest charging beasts. However, the insect swarms came endlessly from all directions, impossible to kill them all. The first lesson in real combat, Lin Yu's voice sounded from behind, is to never act rashly unless you're sure you can solve the problem. Otherwise, you'll only invite greater trouble. Oomph, who can't talk? You're just sitting back watching the show, yet you have the nerve to criticize others? Zhao Jingze sneered, mocking Lin Yu without holding back. Lin Yu glanced at him, his eyes full of disdain. So, you're saying you're brave? If I were you, I would never leave Miss Su aside. Zhao Jingze declared righteously. Since young Master Zhao is so enthusiastic, then I'll leave it to you. Lin Yu sneered, casually taking Su Wanqing's hand, activating the power of the laws, and instantly leaving. Zhao Jingze froze, just about to curse loudly,
but found himself surrounded by a group of exotic beasts, each eyeing him fiercely. On the other side, Lin Yu appeared in a deep alley of the small town with Su Wanqing.
Is it really appropriate for us to do this? Su Wanqing seemed a bit uneasy, clearly still conflicted about leaving Zhao Jingze behind. Do you think you can handle those groups of exotic beasts? Lin Yu retorted. Giving it my all, I probably could.
Before she could finish speaking, Lin Yu flicked her forehead. Lesson 2 of combat: if you can't solve it, run decisively.
Don't throw your life away. Lin Yu said coldly, how many lives do you have? Got it. Su Wanqing covered her forehead, muttering. As for Zhao Jingze,
Lin Yu sneered, he has protective treasures and bodyguards by his side.
He won't die.
After speaking, he pointed to the swarm of insects drifting not far away. First lesson practice: silently eliminate a swarm of insects without alerting the others. Lin Yu donned the concealment cloak and disappeared into the darkness.
As for Zhao Jingze, he couldn't be bothered to pay him any attention. The capital city, Kyoto High Martial Admissions Office.
At this moment, Yang Wenhao was excitedly making phone calls, competing to recruit this year's talented students.
The news of Lin Yu's enrollment, in particular, brought a big smile to his face. S-level talent, ranked first on the Eastern China leaderboard, scored an impressive 990 points in the martial arts exam, and even mastered mid-level martial techniques. Each of these achievements is enough to astonish, and all of them belong to Lin Yu alone. Such a genius must be recruited with the most generous resources. Yang Wenhao's face was full of joy, and he was already planning to personally go to the station to welcome Lin Yu. At this moment, the phone rang. After answering, a rough voice came through. Old Yang, have you eaten? Jiang Zhe spit it out quickly.
Yang Wenhao sneered, immediately recognizing the caller as the admissions director of Yanjing High Martial. I heard there's a promising talent in the East China region.
Could you possibly get lost?
They've already said they're coming to our Kyoto High Martial.
Don't even think about it. Yang Wenhao interrupted smugly. You're acting so quickly?
Jiang Zhe was stunned, his tone clearly unwilling.
This is the charm of our Kyoto High Martial Academy, they chose us voluntarily. Yang Wenhao laughed even more gleefully.
After hanging up the phone, Yang Wenhao smugly hummed a tune. Seeing his old rival suffer a setback, he was in an excellent mood.
Attempt 223, failed.
Lin Yu swiftly pulled Su Wanqing, who was surrounded by the swarm of insects, out of danger. They had been practicing all day. Each time Su Wanqing attracted the insect swarm, Lin Yu would take her to a different location.
Ha! Su Wanqing gasped for breath, exhaustion evident.
Even with the resilient physique of a martial artist, she couldn't withstand such high-intensity training. If you're tired, take a break and continue later. Lin Yu found a relatively safe spot and let Su Wanqing meditate on the spot to recover. He stood silently by her side, a satisfied smile appearing at the corner of his mouth.
Su Wanqing's progress was evident.
From initially exposing herself with every attack to now being able to eliminate half the swarm before being noticed, it was a monumental transformation. There's still time, no rush, Lin Yu thought to himself. During the break, Lin Yu focused on absorbing and enhancing his abilities using the beast source of the Thunder Crystal Dragon and the unexhausted Primal Crystal Stones. His mastery of the wind law became increasingly adept, to the point where he could casually condense wind blades with astonishing power. Additionally, as the top scholar of the East China region, he received precious exotic beast blood provided by Jianghai City, steadily improving his strength.
Not far away, Zhao Jingze stood with his bodyguards, watching coldly.
The several swollen red bumps on his face were evidently the masterpiece of some kind of bee-like exotic beast.
That guy actually dared to trick me.
Zhao Jingze glared at Lin Yu, his fists clenching tightly with a cracking sound.
Other than running fast, what does he have that's better than me? I really don't understand why Su Wanqing would take a liking to him.
Zhao Jingze suddenly had an idea and whispered to the bodyguard beside him, Go, lure that big guy nearby over here.
The bodyguard's face changed drastically.
Young master, that's a tier 3 early-stage exotic beast.
We can barely ensure your safety, but those two. Less nonsense, just do it.
Zhao Jingze snorted coldly, issuing a firm command.
Yes.
The bodyguard left reluctantly. Zhao Jingze looked at Lin Yu, a malicious smile curling at the corner of his mouth.
I want to see if Su Wanqing will regret it. Late night.
After a brief rest, Su Wanqing regained some energy and began absorbing the blood essence of exotic beasts to enhance her realm. But at this moment, rustle, rustle, rustle. Lin Yu suddenly opened his eyes, his mental energy instantly spreading out. A few dry leaves drifted down, followed by a slight tremor in the ground.
Underground?
Lin Yu sneered, sensing a 10-meter-long giant beast approaching. His gaze shifted to Zhao Jingze, who was hiding in the shadows, his eyes cold.
I didn't intend to bother with you, but since you've provoked me, don't blame me for showing no mercy.
Lin Yu took out the concealment robe and covered Su Wanqing, saying, "Some reckless fool has set their sights on us." Su Wanqing frowned and got up, but Lin Yu pressed her down. "Don't worry about it.
Stay put and watch me handle this."
Lin Yu swung his arms and took out the thunderbolt spear, its tip pointing straight at the ground.
"Today, I'll show you the skills of your master." With that, he raised his hand and hurled the spear. It tore through the air with immense force, hitting the ground precisely, followed by a resounding boom as it exploded.
Amid the sound of explosions, a giant centipede, 10 meters long with a shiny black carapace, burst out from the ground.
Its antennae were a meter long, and its densely packed legs were horrifying to behold. Tier 3 Early Stage Myriapod. Lin Yu calmly assessed.
From the shadows, Zhao Jingze observed the scene, the smile on his lips growing wider.
So what if he discovered it? He's not even running, how overconfident.
The myriapod wriggled its elongated body, slowly closing in on Lin Yu.
Big guy, perfect for testing my skills. Lin Yu was brimming with battle intent. With a casual wave of his hand, black lightning gathered around his fist. At his command, the thunder roared and surged forth. The lightning struck the millipede, but it only left faint scorch marks on its carapace. Its defense was astonishing. Impressive defense, but Lin Yu sneered. The airflow suddenly accelerated as dozens of wind blades were unleashed with a flick of his hand, hurtling straight toward the giant beast. The wind blades, imbued with the laws of wind, possessed immense destructive power. Enhanced by mental energy, each one was capable of severely injuring a mid to late second tier exotic beast.
Lin Yu was confident that even if dozens of alloy steel plates were placed in front of him, he could slice through them instantly.
So, what of the millipede's carapace?
The white wind blade struck the millipede's shell like a sharp knife, and after the sound of cutting, a noticeable dent appeared on the shell.
One isn't enough, then let's do it again, he sneered. The second wind blade deepened the dent, the third created a crack, and pale green blood began to flow out. The millipede writhed in pain and immediately twisted its body in an attempt to escape. Trying to run?
Lin Yu's gaze turned cold as the wind blades precisely sliced toward its legs.
Though its shell had strong defense, its legs were extremely fragile.
Under several wind blades, the centipede's legs were severed completely, its massive body collapsing to the ground, becoming a lamb waiting to be slaughtered.
Lin Yu seized the opportunity to press the attack, unleashing a flurry of wind blades.
The shell was sliced open, the body split apart. In mere seconds, the 10-meter-long monster was cut into 2 segments, yet it still struggled to escape.
Is struggling of any use?
Lin Yu sneered coldly, sending out wind blades once more, slicing it into several pieces in just a few moves.
In the distance, Zhao Jingze was dumbfounded, his voice trembling. A third-tier exotic beast couldn't even last a minute? Lin Yu is only at the early stage of Tier 2, this is just too absurd. He gritted his teeth in anger, and a bodyguard reminded him at this moment, "Young master, this is the person from the news." Zhao Jingze suddenly came to his senses, recognizing Lin Yu's identity, and his expression changed drastically. Damn, what bad luck, retreat. Although he was a playboy, he wasn't stupid. The person before him was the top scorer in the martial arts exam for the East China region, with universities vying to recruit him. Provoking someone like this was pure suicide. Lin Yu noticed the group leaving and a mischievous smile appeared on his lips. He stopped using the wind blade and switched to Chaos Divine Thunder, giving Su Wanqing a you-know-what-to-do look. Su Wanqing understood instantly and quickly retreated dozens of meters. In the next moment, lightning descended from the sky, striking precisely behind Zhao Jingze and his group. Dust flew, stones scattered. And the group was left in a sorry state. One of them, who ran slower, had their clothes set ablaze, leaving them charred all over. Zhao Jingze gritted his teeth in hatred. Lin Yu, I'll remember you. He spat out a harsh remark before fleeing in disgrace. Su Wanqing stepped forward, a sly smile on her face. Wasn't that a bit too harsh? I went easy on them, or do you think I would only burn their clothes? Lin Yu raised an eyebrow. Hee, master is so mighty. Su Wanqing gave a thumbs up, a warm feeling surging in her heart. Alright, break's over, back to training. The heart that had just warmed instantly turned cold. A month later, Zhanghai City train station. Brother, are you leaving? Lin Xiaoxiao hugged Lin Yu, tears streaming uncontrollably. Silly girl, don't cry. Brother is just going to school and will be back soon. Lin Yu gently stroked her head, his tone soft. The admission notice for Kyoto High Martial Arts Academy had already been delivered, and freshmen were required to arrive at the school a month early for special training. Lin Yu and Su Wanqing had spent a month sweeping through the western green level chaotic zone,
and just after returning to the city, they had to leave again. Lin Xiaoxiao was feeling down.
Then you have to message Xiaoxiao every day.
Lin Xiaoxiao extended her pinky finger.
Alright, pinky promise. Lin Yu smiled dotingly and hooked her pinky. Don't delay your brother any longer, the train is coming.
Grandma Lin pulled the reluctant Lin Xiaoxiao aside. At this moment, Lin Xiaoxiao suddenly blurted out, Sister Su, make sure to keep an eye on my brother and don't let him find another woman. The people around burst into laughter, and Su Wanqing's face turned as red as a ripe apple. She turned her head, pretending not to hear. Lin Yu sighed helplessly, Xiaoxiao, don't talk nonsense. But his tone was full of indulgence.
It's getting late, let's set off.
Su Yaowen, who was traveling with them, reminded, once we get to the capital, do your best and don't embarrass Jianghai City.
TCH, Lin Yu, don't listen to him. What face or no face?
Wang Guodong chimed in sarcastically.
The two immediately started bickering.
Lin Yu shook his head with a smile and boarded the train with Su Wanqing. As the train departed Jianghai Station, Lin Yu looked at the city gradually fading into the distance, then withdrew his gaze, his eyes resolute.
Capital city, here I come. 3 hours of travel, dull and monotonous, Lin Yu simply decided to sleep.
If it weren't for the loud commotion caused by absorbing the blood and energy of exotic beasts, he would have wanted to train.
Su Wanqing also leaned against her seat, fast asleep.
Over the past month, they rarely had such a peaceful rest. When they woke up, the train had just arrived at the station. Sunlight streamed through the window onto Lin Yu's face, bringing a comforting warmth. So comfortable, if only every day could be like this, he sighed, but quickly shook off his laziness. Beyond Blue Star, dangers lurked everywhere, and the mission of a martial artist was to constantly grow stronger. Just as he was about to get up, the weight on his shoulder made him pause. Turning his head, he saw Su Wanqing leaning against his shoulder, sleeping soundly, with a glistening strand of drool hanging from the corner of her mouth. Lin Yu couldn't help but laugh and cry, this girl. Lin Yu was captivated by the scenery outside the window and found himself reluctant to disturb Su Wanqing's peaceful sleep. A faint stirring in his heart left him somewhat dazed. The two remained in their still posture, as if time had frozen. Beijing has arrived, passengers, it's time to get off. The conductor's voice broke the silence.
Su Wanqing groggily opened her eyes. Master, are there enemies?
As soon as she finished speaking, her cheek was gently wiped by Lin Yu.
Fool, we've arrived in the capital.
Get up quickly,
Lin Yu said helplessly. Su Wanqing instantly woke up.
Seeing Lin Yu holding a wet wipe, her face immediately turned red with embarrassment.
I'll do it myself.
She snatched the wet wipe and ran toward the car door as if fleeing, with Lin Yu following closely behind. Outside the train station, the capital city was bustling and magnificent, filled with towering skyscrapers. Even the most remote corners were crowded with people. Su Wanqing marveled, so this is the capital of Hua Nation.
Lin Yu raised his eyebrows with a smile, already stunned? Wait until you enter the Kyoto Advanced Martial Academy, won't you be scared stiff? Su Wanqing retorted defiantly, you talk as if you've been there.
As the two bickered, a sudden commotion arose in the crowd. Look quickly, that's a vehicle exclusively for the Kyoto Advanced Martial Academy, someone exclaimed. A black special vehicle stopped under the watchful eyes of the crowd, and a man with a refined demeanor, dressed in a suit, stepped out slowly. This man was none other than Yang Wenhao from the
admissions office of the Kyoto Advanced Martial Academy.
He walked straight toward Lin Yu and said with a smile, Student Lin, welcome to the capital.
I've come specifically to pick you up.
Lin Yu was momentarily stunned, his mind filled with unanswered questions, when Yang Wenhao explained, I volunteered to come to the school, and I'll take this opportunity to introduce you to Kyoto High Marshal. Under the envious gazes of the crowd, Lin Yu and Su Wanqing boarded the black private car. Inside the car, Yang Wenhao began a detailed introduction. Kyoto High Marshal spans 20 square kilometers and is located on an independent
island on the eastern side of the capital.
The 5 major academies each have their own specialties. The True Martial Academy focuses
on martial arts cultivation, the Divine Mind Academy trains mind masters, the Body Refinement Academy pursues physical limits, the Arcane
Arts Academy specializes in formations and spells, and the Support Combat Academy gathers students with talents in support and healing. Before they knew it, the car had stopped at the school gate. The massive archway bore the words Kyoto High Marshal, radiating an
imposing aura.
Su Wanqing was so shocked that her jaw dropped, while Lin Yu maintained a calm exterior, secretly admiring it in his heart.
Wow, that's amazing, Lin Yu exclaimed theatrically. Su Wanqing immediately rolled her eyes, Master, that's way too fake.
Yang Wenhao completed the enrollment procedures for the two of them, handed over their identity plaques, and bid farewell with a smile. Student Lin, I wish you an enjoyable life at Kyoto High Marshal.
Following the information on the plaque, Lin Yu found his dormitory a private villa.
The dormitories at Kyoto High Marshal are divided into 3 tiers, with the lowest being standard shared rooms, and the highest tier being private villas. Although Su Wanqing's dormitory was a 2-person room, she secretly resolved to work hard to improve her credits and strive for better accommodations.
Here, strength is everything, and privileges are determined by the strong. The rules of Kyoto High Marshal are cold but undeniably fair.
Upon entering the villa, Lin Yu immediately felt the luxury of Kyoto High Marshal. On the first floor, the living room and kitchen are fully equipped, with high-end sofas, televisions, and kitchenware all provided free of charge for the students.
The
second floor houses the bedrooms and bathrooms, complete with wardrobes and toiletries. But what truly shocked Lin Yu was the third floor, a private training room. This training room was 3 times larger than any facility he had seen in Jianhai City, fully equipped with instruments, and even featured a rare virtual pod.
Lin Yu couldn't help but exclaim, worthy of Kyoto High Marshal.
Outside the villa, the scenery was breathtaking, with abundant elemental energy by the Spirit Lake, creating a perfect environment for cultivation. This level of treatment was nothing short of a dream. After marveling at the surroundings, Lin Yu took out the spatial ring gifted by Yang Wenhao. As his thoughts entered the ring, he discovered an astonishing wealth, 1,000 academic credits, equivalent to half a semester's expenses for an average student, 3 million huaxia currency in cash, 100 types of exotic beast blood, mental potions, and herbs, and dozens of tons of rare metals.
Yang Wenhao had also promised that the school would provide additional resources regularly. Lin Yu smiled with satisfaction. What a generous investment, it's definitely worth it.
After tidying up briefly, Lin Yu prepared to head out and familiarize himself with the surroundings. Upon leaving the villa, he was greeted by a campus road lined with luxury cars, each worth over $1 million, clearly belonging to other new students. Kyoto High Marshal was not a place for ordinary people, and the villas were even more exclusive. Lin Yu scoffed at the sight. No matter how fast these cars are, can they compare to top martial artists? It's nothing but pretentiousness. A few minutes later, he arrived at Jinwu Academy. This area was filled with towering buildings, and the tallest tower in the center bore the imposing characters Jinwu Academy. Lin Yu marveled, the size of this place rivals several upscale neighborhoods in Jianhai City. Upon entering the registration area, a dozen medium-sized arenas came into view, surrounded by judges dressed in red. Just as he stepped through the door, a male student approached him with a smile. A new junior, right? Looking to join Jinwu Academy? Lin Yu was speechless. Why would I be here if I wasn't joining? Another student nearby teased, Dog Jian, stop rambling and get to the fight. Do you still want your credits or not? With a goofy smile, the male student introduced himself. I'm Zhang Jian, a soon-to-be senior and your examiner. Junior, what's your name? Lin Yu. Lin Yu responded briefly. He had long understood the rules of the true martial academy. Here, strength reigns supreme. Talent and background are insignificant, only power matters.
The entrance assessment for
new students is extremely straightforward under the condition that senior students suppress their cultivation level. Lasting 1 minute means success in admission, while failure results in immediate elimination.
At that moment, a crisp voice rang out, Master, Lin Yu. A blue-haired girl, Su Wanqing, ran over, her face beaming with joy. Zhang Jian was instantly stunned. This junior, she's too exquisite.
Su Wanqing clung to Lin Yu's arm, her happiness overflowing. Hee, I passed the assessment.
Behind her followed a frustrated female student, muttering under her breath, this is a freshman? She's practically a monster. It turned out that Su Wanqing had just crushed the assessment with overwhelming force. The senior student couldn't even last a minute and ended up becoming her trial subject. Lin Yu chuckled lightly and said, not bad, you didn't embarrass your master.
Zhang Jian froze upon hearing this, and his expression subtly changed.
Only then did he realize that the freshman before him was the top scorer of the East China region. Originally planning to casually bully the new students to earn some credits, his heart now held only 2 words, it's over. The scene shifts, and Lin Yu is already standing on the arena, showing a kind smile to Zhang Jian. Senior Zhang, come on up. Zhang Jian stood in front of the arena, the corner of his mouth twitching slightly. Dog Jian, what are you hesitating for? Get up there. A fierce kick from behind sent him stumbling forward, directly invited onto the arena. Senior, please guide me. Lin Yu slightly bowed, his hands folded, displaying utmost politeness. Please go ahead. Zhang Jian stammered in response. Before he could react, the referees signaled the start.
Lin Yu made the first move. Chaos divine thunder descended from the sky, causing the air to reverberate with a deep sonic boom.
Damn, coming in this strong right off the bat.
Zhang Jian rubbed his temples, muttering inwardly. He had heard of the reputation of S-level talent, but this commotion was simply too terrifying.
Thunderbolts struck down violently, and he awkwardly lifted his foot to dodge. Just as he caught his breath, he had to evade another bolt. The scene became utterly ridiculous. Zhang Jian was hopping around on the arena like a helpless clown. The watching students all turned their attention to the spectacle, with many laughing uncontrollably. I say, isn't this freshman a bit too fierce? Are you sure it's the freshman bullying the senior? Or is it the other way around? What? The one getting beaten is actually the senior student?
1 minute passed in the blink of an eye for the spectators, but for Zhang Jian, it felt like pure torment. A streak of lightning grazed the edge of his clothes, and the faint electric arc instantly left him paralyzed. He gritted his teeth and cursed inwardly. If he took a direct hit, he'd probably be lying down for half a day. Time's up, assessment passed, a mechanical voice announced the result. Zhang Jian let out a sigh of relief, wiped off his cold sweat, and raised his hands in fear before Lin Yu could speak. Junior, no, the assessment is over. Lin Yu smiled faintly. Senior, thank you for your hard work.
Hard work? Not at all, not at all.
Quickly take your identity badge and go register over there.
I won't bother you anymore, I'm leaving now. Zhang
Jian dashed off in a hurry, leaving behind a parting remark. Whoever wants the credits can have them, I'd rather sweep the academy streets. Laughter erupted all around, but Lin Yu keenly noticed that many gazes were focused on him. No choice, being strong makes it hard to keep a low profile. He shrugged, took out his badge, and followed the procedure to register. The holographic projection displayed his basic information, and the True Martial Towers section caught his attention.
This is the Academy's rating system. Challenge the levels, the higher you go, the stronger you are.
A senior nearby proudly flaunted his record of reaching the 3rd level.
Junior, good luck.
Lin Yu nodded slightly, understanding the situation.
Coincidentally, Su Wanqing waved to him from the stairs on the 2nd floor.
The two headed to the True Martial Tower together, passing between bookshelves, and finally stopping at a white light circle. Senior, I'm here to challenge the True Martial Tower. Lin Yu greeted the elder who was reading a book nearby. The elder glanced at him, waved his hand casually, and a halo erupted with a majestic force of heaven and earth, causing even the air to tremble.
Go in, but don't overdo it.
If you can hold on, come out, the elder said indifferently. Just as he finished speaking, a student flew out of the halo, landing in a disheveled heap.
Otherwise, this will be your fate.
The elder chuckled lightly and buried his head back in his book. Lin Yu took a deep breath and stepped into the halo slowly, with Su Wanqing following closely behind. The old man watched the two disappear and smiled meaningfully. This young man is quite polite.
Let me see how long you can last.
After stepping into the halo, Lin Yu found himself in an entirely new world. Within a canyon-like space, scorching magma poured down from the sky, waves of heat surging as if he were inside a furnace. An invisible pressure enveloped the entire area, seemingly forcing him to retreat. Lin Yu immediately saw through the essence of this world. The oppressive feeling was the backlash of the high concentration of heaven and earth energy.
Normally,
the energy of heaven and earth is sparse, and the pressure is barely noticeable. But here, the energy surged like a tide, naturally forming an invisible pressure. His gaze was deep, fixed on the teleportation gate at the top of the canyon, which was the entrance to the 2nd level of the True Martial Tower. The higher one ascended, the greater the pressure, but at the same time, the vitality of heaven and earth became more abundant, naturally accelerating cultivation speed. Why does the True Martial Academy stand proudly as the best? With such a sacred cultivation ground, the answer couldn't be more obvious.
Lin Yu, I can't hold on much longer. Su Wanqing's panting broke the silence.
Her face was pale, as if she were being mercilessly suppressed by an invisible giant hand. Release the corrosive mist and use Devour to ease the pressure. Lin Yu's tone was calm. As the purple smoke rose, Su Wanqing's condition slightly improved.
You stay here to cultivate. Remember, if you can't hold on, retreat. Don't force yourself. Su Wanqing nodded, sat cross-legged, while Lin Yu continued upward as if strolling leisurely. He sneered inwardly, the mere pressure of heaven and earth's elemental force? Sorry, I'm already used to it. He had once fought on alien battlefields, enduring countless harsh environments. The current oppression was nothing but a trivial matter.
Along the way, Lin Yu's composure sparked discussions among the surrounding students.
Who is this guy? I've never seen him before. How can he be so relaxed? Could it be some secret technique? Stop guessing and focus on cultivating.
However, before the words were finished, a student, unable to withstand the pressure, let out a miserable scream and was directly flung away by the space. Lin Yu climbed step by step, until he approached halfway up, his body finally feeling some limits.
He calmly observed, currently, my body is still at the early stage of Tier 2.
While my willpower is strong against pressure, my physical body inevitably suffers damage.
Suddenly, black and white lightning leapt from his fingertips, encircling his entire body. He softly uttered a single word, condense. The second level of the law of thunder, Thunder Shield, took shape, instantly neutralizing most of the pressure.
Maintaining it for 2 hours was effortless for him. With lightning protecting him, he continued his ascent until he was just a dozen steps away from the entrance to the second level.
He stopped, sensing the density of elemental energy in the area, and nodded in satisfaction. This is sufficient. Now is the perfect time for a breakthrough. He sat down on the spot, absorbing the elemental energy of heaven and earth to break through the bottleneck of the mid-second stage. 2 hours later, Su Wanqing was already waiting outside the light barrier. Did you break through?
The elder set down his book, his gaze filled with admiration as he looked at Lin Yu.
Lin Yu smiled faintly. A lucky success. Being able to last 2 hours on your first try, not bad talent. Keep working hard.
The elder waved his hand, signaling him to continue reading quietly. Lin Yu bowed respectfully to the elder, thinking to himself, this true martial tower was created entirely by him, containing such elemental power, undoubtedly a 7th tier or higher expert.
Then he turned and left.
On his way back to the villa, he encountered a sunny blonde-haired youth.
Lin Yu, right?
The young man smiled confidently, his gaze profound. Lin Yu raised his eyebrows slightly.
You know me?
Of course, the #1 in the East China region, S-level talent, it's already well known.
Let me introduce myself. My name is Jiang Xian. I live next door to you. We're neighbors. Let's look out for each other from now on.
Lin Yu nodded and was about to leave, but Jiang Xian grabbed him.
Brother Lin, don't rush to leave. It's your first day at Kyoto High Martial Academy. How can you stay cooped up in the villa? Come on.
I'll take you to see some great places around here.
Jiang Qian's enthusiasm was evident as he pulled Lin Yu out of the villa area. Kyoto High Martial Academy, Council Hall.
Several academy leaders were holding an emergency meeting, including the Director of Academic Affairs Zhang Xingji, the Director of Administrative Affairs Zhang Linzhou, and the Director of Intelligence Zhou Mingyuan, among others.
Yes, I understand. Zhou Mingyuan hung up the phone, his face dark. This is already the 4th large-scale disappearance case within a month, occurring in Jianhai City, Pingchuan City, Linsong City, and Yunzhou.
What are your thoughts? The Intelligence Department's task is to gather information, handling simple cases independently and deciding on complex ones through meetings.
The school administration assigns complex cases to the Operations Department, which issues tasks for students to form teams and complete.
This arrangement is not only a school rule but also aims to cultivate students' practical combat skills. After all, every student has annual task quotas, and failure to complete them means they cannot graduate. Zhang Xingji adjusted his glasses, his tone heavy. The disappearance cases are all concentrated in coastal cities.
The militaries' search within the cities has yielded no results, which indicates the problem lies in the sea. Everyone understands this, right? The Intelligence Department will contact the East Sea Military District to discuss cooperation. Zhang Xingji continued to assign tasks. The Operations Department will first issue a reconnaissance mission, recruiting students with speed-based talents to investigate. Be sure to remind them not to go too deep. Understood. Zhang Linzhou nodded in agreement. Due to the limited information, the meeting ended quickly. However, after the meeting, Zhang Linzhou suddenly brought up, by the way, isn't that Gu family girl back?
Yes, she's broken through to the 5th tier.
Truly gifted, Zhang Xingji said with a smile.
But her team suffered heavy casualties during this mission, so we can't count on her for the time being.
Zhang Linzhou raised an eyebrow. So, am I the one exploiting the students?
I'm just saying, let her guide the freshmen for now.
She's got nothing better to do anyway.
Zhang Xingji waved his hand and joked with a smile, you are Director Zhang of the Affairs Office, handle it yourself.
Get lost. Zhang Linzhou blared angrily but said no more. Kyoto Advanced Martial Academy, Commercial District. Lin Yu had been following Jiang Xian for several hours, visiting the weapon workshop, resource store, and even playing a few rounds along the way. Jiang Xian is a talkative rich young master, while Lin Yu is a quiet person who goes along with things. Surprisingly, the two get along well.
Lin Yu, this is a newly released mental power potion.
It's 50% more effective than the regular ones. Want a bottle? Zhang Ziyan flaunted the potion.
No need, I still have plenty in my spatial ring, Lin Yu replied calmly.
Zhang Ziyan pouted. Alright then, let's head to the next place.
On the way, Zhang Xian kept talking about the interesting stories and rules of Kyoto High Martial, but Lin Yu always looked confused. Zhang Xian couldn't help but complain, Lin Yu, you really know nothing about Kyoto High Martial. Lin Yu could only sigh helplessly in his heart. He hadn't had the opportunity to come to Kyoto High Martial in his previous life, so he truly didn't understand these rules. In a few days, there will be freshman training. You need to prepare more stamina and mental power potions, or you won't make it through. Zhang Xian continued to chatter as they walked. We're here. Zhang Xian pointed to the large gate ahead, where the words gambling house were boldly written.
Lin Yu was taken aback. A gambling house? There's actually such a place in the Kyoto High Martial Academy? Hee, you don't get it, do you? Zhang Ziyan explained smugly, what they gamble here isn't money, but items. Items?
Lin Yu asked, puzzled.
You'll understand once you go in. Zhang Ziyan led him inside.
The display cases were filled with weapons, pills, and even martial techniques, but there were no descriptions. Everything had to be judged by appearance alone. Everything costs 10 credits, but whether it's worth it depends entirely on luck and judgment. Zhang Xian pointed at the display case.
For example, this knife might be a divine weapon, or it might break the next time you use it.
And this potion might save your life, or it could just be plain water.
How about it? Want to give it a try?
Zhang Xian looked at him expectantly.
Lin Yu shook his head. Isn't this just gambling? 10 credits are enough to cover an ordinary student's daily expenses. It's not worth it. Don't rush.
Zhang Xian grabbed Lin Yu's arm. I'm here, let's take another look.
Lin Yu glanced around and suddenly froze.
Not far away, a seemingly ordinary potion was emitting a green glow in his eyes, with faint wisps of white smoke.
What is it? Did you see something? Zhang Xian asked with a smile. Lin Yu pointed at it. Did you make this? Actually, I didn't.
Zhang Xian spread his hands proudly. This is my martial arts talent, an A-grade psychic ability called Void Insight, which allows me to see through the surface and directly perceive the essence.
Moreover, I can share abilities. What you just saw is its effect. The pride on Zhang Xian's face was practically overflowing.